Chapter 1, Ice and Fire. It was still very hot in Yongchang in September, even during the evening rush hour. The streets were full of long, bright legs and short skirts that popped up every now and then. They excited the weak spots of the adult men on the street. Chow Weidong also had this weak spot. After work, he didn't hurry back to his rented room in the urban village. He was sitting opposite the recreation club, smoking a cigarette and watching the technicians in uniform and stockings arrive at the club one after the other. As night fell, Chow Weidong stubbed out the lacoon in his hand, which had burned down to the butt, and extinguished the thought of ordering technician number 98 from the recreation club for an extra hour. It wasn't that technician number 98 wasn't sexy enough today, it was just that Chow Weidong wasn't in the mood. His mind had been occupied with just two things all day. One good thing, one bad thing. Chow Weidong was glad that he didn't have high blood pressure or heart problems. Otherwise, either of these two things would have been enough to make him ring the bell of the goddess of death. Chow Weidong's right hand, which had just extinguished the cigarette, was still slightly trembling. He looked up at the sky and let out a deep breath. Fuck. In his handbag, there were two pieces of paper lying quietly. One was his lottery ticket, which had won him more than 30 million yuan. When he first found out that he had won the lottery, Chow Weidong couldn't believe it was real. He excitedly checked the lottery ticket against the winning numbers countless times. He also sneaked out of work during the day to go to the lottery station near the company and checked again and again. Finally, he was sure that he had won the lottery. More than 30 million yuan, maybe this amount is a small sum for those online trolls who make millions of dollars a year and like to brag. But for Chow Weidong, a social animal who only makes a little over 8,000 yuan a month, it is an astronomical sum. Since discovering that he had won the lottery, he had pinched himself countless times. Time and again, he had checked to make sure that he wasn't dreaming. The truth was, he wasn't dreaming. Thinking about the lottery ticket, Chow Weidong's heart was pounding, and it felt as if there was a ball of fire in his chest, ready to set him alight. But he thought about the other piece of paper in his bag. Chow Weidong's mood was like a rotten eggplant, deflated. It was the paternity test report for his daughter. It confirmed that there was no blood relationship between the two. The moment he saw the identification report, Chow Weidong's chest felt like it was blocked with a ball of cotton wool. It made him unable to breathe. His heart ached. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that his daughter, whom he had always loved and cherished like the apple of his eye, was not his biological child. He couldn't believe that the beautiful woman he had longed for day and night would put such a green hat on him. Chow Weidong's heart was cold to the core. It was as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over his head from head to toe. It was like being hit by a double-edged sword. Lu Xiaoyan, Chow Weidong's wife, was a fellow villager he met while working in Yongchang. The two lonely people, who were both working away from home, moved in together after less than a month. After 6 months of a passionate life together, the two got married in a flash when they went back to their hometown for the Chinese New Year. That period of time was also the happiest time in Chow Weidong's life. He had endless energy at work during the day and after work in the evenings. But such good times always pass too quickly. The year after Chow Weidong and Lu Xiaoyan got married, his wife Lu Xiaoyan passed the civil service exam and returned to her hometown to hold on to the iron rice bowl. The salary of 2,500 yuan in her hometown was too low for Chow Weidong, so that he could afford the high monthly mortgage payments. Chow Weidong and Lu Xiaoyan finally discussed that he would continue to work in Yongchang. The couple then lived apart. Lu Xiaoyan, who returned to her hometown to work, soon gave Chow Weidong a lovely daughter. In order to provide a better material life for his wife and daughter, Chow Weidong worked overtime every day, doing the most tiring work in the company, renting the darkest and dampest urban village, and eating the cheapest fast food on the street. He just wanted his wife and daughter to have a better life. Some colleagues and friends really couldn't stand it anymore and advised him one after the other, "Chow, you can actually be a little kinder to yourself, you don't have to work so hard." At this time, Chow Weidong's face is always filled with a happy smile. He never explains himself. But this honest man, who was willing to give everything for his wife and daughter, was still cheated. His daughter is not his biological child. His wife, who he thinks about day and night, is still having an affair with another man. Disgusting, disgusting. Chow Weidong wants to vomit. After a few retches, he lit another cigarette. With the nicotine entering his body, the suffocating feeling in Chow Weidong's chest slowly eased a lot. Fortunately, he still had a lottery ticket that had won the jackpot. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on the corner of Chow Weidong's mouth. Shaking his head, standing up, and vigorously patting the dust off his buttocks, Chow Wei-dong walked towards his rented room. After returning to his room, he simply packed his belongings and then sent a message to the company's administrative assistant, a woman who looked a bit like a certain island country actress. What was her name? Miss Lin Yai. Pretty girl, I have some family business, so I'll be taking 2 days off. It was a long time before Miss Lin sent him a message back. Mr. Chow, I asked Mr. Liang, and he said that the work you're doing is urgent. If it's not something important, can you take your leave a few days later? Chow Wei-dong looked at the screen of his phone and sneered to himself. Mr. Liang? Every time I want to take leave, this guy has to pretend to be important and get in my way. Now that I've got money, I don't care if you're hot or cold, just go away. No way. My wife was caught at a nightclub soliciting an irregular service from a male technician. The police station told me to go pick her up, so I have to go back. Without blushing or flinching, Chow Wei-dong told a lie without feeling any remorse. Lin Xiaoyu sent back an expression of really? A few minutes later, she sent another message. Mr. Chow, your leave has been approved by Mr. Liang, who told you to go quickly and come back quickly. Ha, Liang is such a pushover. As long as I get hard, you'll do as I say. Thought Chow Wei-dong with contempt. He sent a smiley face with the words OJBK to the lovely Lin, then packed his bags, went downstairs, hailed a ride-hailing car, and headed straight for the high-speed railway station. Chow Wei-dong wanted to hurry back and divorce Lu Xiaoyan, then come back to claim the prize, and from then on live the life of financial freedom that countless losers dream of. If he claimed the prize before getting divorced, the prize would become the couple's shared property, and Chow Wei-dong didn't want to let that woman off so easily. Although, the lottery ticket in his hands could also be considered the couple's shared property. But, so what? A small piece of paper. If he didn't say anything, who would know? After a 2.5-hour ride on the high-speed train, Chow Wei-dong returned to Zhizhou County. After leaving the train station, Chow Wei-dong, who usually saves money and doesn't want to take a taxi, hailed a taxi this time and went straight to the Zhizhou International Hotel. He didn't choose to go home, but checked into the hotel instead. In Chow Wei-dong's opinion, that home was no longer his home. After checking in and entering the room, Chow Wei-dong sent a message to Lu Xiaoyan, meet at the Left Bank Cafe next to the International Hotel at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and let's talk about the divorce. In the past, it took more than half an hour for Lu Xiaoyan to reply to Chow Wei-dong's messages. And the replies were all short, weak, and uninformative words like, okay, yes, no, It was as if saying one more word would cause her to take off an article of clothing. But this time, she actually replied immediately. Lu Xiaoyan sent 3 messages in quick succession. Have you thought it over? Tomorrow morning? You're back? Where are you now? Okay, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I'll be there on time. Chow Wei-dong glanced at the 3 messages on his phone and didn't reply. He threw his phone onto the bed. He picked up a small card on the ground in front of the hotel. Chapter 2. After all, we were husband and wife. The next morning, at a little after 9, Chow Wei-dong walked out of the hotel, looking tired, and entered the Café Rive Gauche next door. He hadn't slept all night. The poor sound insulation in the hotel and the endless racket of the 2 young people next door had been torturous. Chow Wei-dong had listened to the good sounds all night long, leaning against the wall. Entering the cafe, Chow Wei-dong saw Lu Xiaoyan sitting at the window seat. He gave a cold smile at the corner of his mouth and walked over calmly. As Chow Wei-dong sat down opposite him, Lu Xiaoyan glanced at the time on her phone and glared at him. Chow Wei-dong, you're half an hour late. No, it's 9:28. We agreed to meet at 9 o'clock, so I'm only 28 minutes late. Chow Wei-dong responded nonchalantly. He shouted to the waitress in the distance, young lady, I'd like a raw coconut latte, not too cold. Lu Xiaoyan was infuriated by Chow Wei-dong's rogue behavior. She glared at him angrily. Chow Wei-dong, however, calmly met Lu Xiaoyan's gaze and carefully examined his soon-to-be ex-wife, whom he had not seen for a long time. She was wearing a white shirt and black trousers, the standard attire for a working woman. Her slightly plump figure made the white shirt and black trousers look round and full. The collar of her shirt was slightly open, revealing some snow-white skin, which made Chow Wei-dong feel a little dry in the mouth. Seeing Chow Wei-dong's gaze resting on her chest, Lu Xiaoyan was full of displeasure. She tugged at the collar of her shirt and said, "When did you become so smooth-talking?" "Did I?" Chow Wei-dong's gaze became even more unrestrained, and he let it roam all over Lu Xiaoyan's body. Lu Xiaoyan felt uncomfortable being looked at like this, and the Chow Wei-dong in front of her felt incredibly strange. This kind of insolent gangster behavior had never appeared in him before. She quickly decided to get it over with, get him to sign the divorce agreement, and quickly escape from this place. Lu Xiaoyan took out a divorce agreement from her bag and handed it to Chao Weidong. This is the divorce agreement, take a look and sign it quickly if there are no problems. It's not good for either of us to drag this out. Really? Chao Weidong took the divorce agreement, leaned back lazily, and read it while holding it up. After glancing at it casually, he sat up straight again, pressing the divorce agreement under his arm as his eyes continued to wander over Lu Xiaoyan. You really dare to ask for it? Chao Weidong sneered. Lu Xiaoyan paused for a moment and said, Wenwen definitely cannot stay with you, and the house should be left to her for her studies. You can keep everything else. The full name of Wenwen in Lu Xiaoyan's mouth is Lu Wenwen, the daughter of Chao Weidong and Lu Xiaoyan. After she was born, Lu Xiaoyan adamantly refused to let her take Chao Weidong's surname, and even threatened to divorce him. At that time, Chao Weidong didn't quite understand why. It wasn't until he received the paternity test report for his daughter that Chao Weidong finally understood the reason. Either my daughter stays with me and you get the house, or I get the house and you get the daughter. Chao Weidong stared at Lu Xiaoyan's face with delicate makeup and said. In fact, Chao Weidong didn't really want his daughter. After all, she wasn't his, so why should he want her? What he really wanted was the house. He had paid the down payment on the house, and Lu Xiaoyan had not contributed a penny. He had also made the monthly mortgage payments. Now, if he divorced his wife, he would have to give up the house, and most likely to the man who had cuckolded him, a man whose name he didn't even know. Wouldn't that make him the aggrieved party? Chao Weidong was unwilling to do that under any circumstances. That's why he proposed to take the daughter or the house. He knew that Lu Xiaoyan would never let him have the daughter. Wenwen is going to school soon, and without a house, she can't go to that school district. Do you really want her to go to a bad school district? Lu Xiaoyan's tone softened a little, trying to play on Chao Weidong's emotions. In the past, if Lu Xiaoyan had spoken to Chao Weidong in such a gentle tone, he would definitely have softened. But now, how could Chao Weidong, who already knew the truth, soften? Will playing on emotions work? Ridiculous. I can be ruthless. Chao Weidong said coldly. She's not my biological daughter, so how could I possibly leave her the house? You. Lu Xiaoyan was so angry that she almost stood up. She was about to lose her temper with Chao Weidong when a waitress with a good figure came over with a coffee. Here's your raw coconut latte, sir. Enjoy. The waitress said in a soft, sweet voice. Chao Weidong instantly beamed, praising, Thank you, young lady, you have a great figure. Since winning the lottery, he had become more and more confident, and his face had become much thicker when flirting with girls. Giggling, he said, Thank you. Being praised so bluntly, the waitress's face turned red, and she shyly turned away. Women are naturally jealous, and when she saw the hateful man in front of her actually flirting with other women in front of her, Lu Xiaoyan was furious. She yelled at Chao Weidong, who had wandered off, Chao Weidong, what do you want in order to sign? Chao Weidong looked away from the waitress's seductive back, took a sip of coffee, and said to Lu Xiaoyan, the conditions are what I just said. If you agree, I'll sign. Lu Xiaoyan originally wanted to continue to use her daughter as a moral leverage to blackmail Chao Weidong, but after seeing his rogue behavior, she gave up. I'll give you the down payment on the house and your monthly mortgage payments over the past few years, and you can keep the house for me. Lu Xiaoyan said in a conciliatory tone. Okay. But I have one more condition. What condition? After all, we were husband and wife, and I want tonight, you to spend the night with me. After tonight, we'll go our separate ways. Chao Weidong, you're fucking sick. Lu Xiaoyan directly poured the iced Americano in her hand onto Chao Weidong's face, then picked up her bag and stormed out of the coffee shop in a rage. Chao Weidong was not angry. He picked up the divorce agreement on the table and used it as a tissue to wipe his face. Then, he picked up the unfinished latte and slowly walked to the front desk of the coffee shop. After placing the coffee on the counter, Chao Weidong rested his chin in one hand and surveyed the waitress, who was pretending to be busy. In Chao Weidong's aesthetic judgment, the waitress in front of him had a superb figure and an average appearance, except for slightly buck teeth. However, Chao Weidong was not picky. He knew his own worth, and he reckoned that a beautiful woman with a perfect figure and appearance would not even look at a married man like him. This girl with the buck teeth was different. She attracted fewer men and was just right for him. Moreover, Chao Weidong could tell that with a little money spent on orthodontics, she could instantly become a beauty. Who wouldn't want to flirt with such a potential treasure? What's the young lady's name? Chow Weidong asked lazily. Sydney. Did you guys just? Sydney pointed in the direction Lu Xiaoyan had left and asked weakly, trying to change the subject for Chow Weidong. She couldn't handle the man's straightforward flirting. Getting a divorce. Chow Weidong replied lightly. Then he opened his phone and said to Sydney, "Here, let me add you. I can treat you to snail noodles sometime." Sydney thought to herself, this man is just too direct, what a downer, I'm speechless. Then she showed her QR code. Remember to message me. Chow Weidong waved his phone at Sydney and walked out of the coffee shop. As soon as he left the door, he received a message from Lu Xiaoyan, just one night. Chow Weidong's mouth curved up, and he quickly replied, Jizhou International Hotel, room 8605. Chapter 3, I've bought the medicine. Chow Weidong, who hadn't slept well the night before, fell asleep as soon as he returned to the hotel, even though it was daytime. He needed to refresh himself for the important event in the evening. He slept until noon, but was woken up again by the young man next door. He listened for a while with his ear pressed against the wall, but found nothing new, so Chow Weidong turned around and went into the shower. After the shower, he found that the battle next door had already ended, and there was nothing to listen to. Chow Weidong got dressed and went downstairs to find something to eat. He took out a pair of sunglasses from his bag and put them on, not to pretend to be cool, but because he knew that the county town was so small that he didn't want to run into any acquaintances. After all, he was about to become a rich man, and since everyone was not on the same level, it was best not to meet. He walked into a Shaxian snack bar next to the International Hotel and ordered a duck leg rice and a can of Coke. Chow Weidong, who was about to become a rich man, didn't even bat an eye when he ordered a drink with his meal. He watched a short video while eating the duck leg and drinking the Coke. In the video, a woman in a white coat said passionately, "Are you feeling inadequate because you're middle-aged and can't do it anymore? Or are you unable to satisfy your lover because of the pressure of work?" The following are the uses of these 3 common Western medicines. Let me talk about their advantages and disadvantages. If you need them, please like, save, and follow. After a few swipes, the short video platform pushed Chow Weidong a video that had received over 1 million likes. Chow Weidong cursed under his breath, "I'm only 27, and you're already pushing this kind of video at me, you idiot." After finishing his meal, Chow Weidong walked out of Shaxian Snack and, influenced by the video, turned into a Dashanlin pharmacy on the same street. Like a young virgin buying a condom for the first time, he carefully wandered around the pharmacy. He wanted to take a chance and see if he could find the kind of medicine on the video on his own. "What medicine do you need, handsome?" The only person in the store, a middle-aged woman in her 40s, came over and asked with a flirtatious smile. The woman was well-maintained and quite fair. Chow Weidong said a little embarrassed, "I travel a lot, and when I occasionally come home, doing that thing, sometimes, it's a little." Before he could finish, the middle-aged woman understood. "I understand, there's no need to be embarrassed." The middle-aged woman gave a small smile, then walked to a corner and took out 2 boxes of pills. "These are imported, and these are domestic. They are both taken half an hour beforehand, and quickly get you in the mood." The middle-aged woman gave a sly smile. "What's the difference?" Chow Weidong asked. "The imported ones are more expensive, and the domestic ones are cheaper." "I want the imported ones." Chow Weidong was generous, and always had the idea in his mind that you get what you pay for. Then, as if by magic, the middle-aged woman pulled out another box of Western medicine. "These ones delay the time, do you want them?" Seeing Chow Weidong hesitate a little, the middle-aged woman immediately added an explanation, "Don't worry, the 2 medicines can be used at the same time without affecting each other." "Okay. I'll take both." After scanning the QR code to pay, Chow Weidong quickly walked out of Dashanlin Pharmacy like a child who had done something wrong. A mature woman really understands men. Chow Weidong muttered to himself. He deliberately took a few big detours on the street before finally returning to Jizhou International Hotel. He was afraid that the middle-aged woman would find out where he was staying. At the hotel reception, Chow Weidong saw a young couple checking out. He took a few more looks. The woman was young and beautiful, full of vitality. The man was tall and handsome, but a little listless. Chow Weidong guessed that these 2 were the young couple next door. Sure enough, after going upstairs, Chow Weidong saw the cleaning lady cleaning the next room. Chow Weidong politely nodded to the lady, then swiped his card to enter the room. Once inside, Chow Weidong couldn't wait to open the 2 new boxes of gadgets he had bought, take out the instructions and study them carefully. After another beautiful afternoon nap, Chow Weidong got up feeling refreshed. For dinner, instead of going downstairs, he ordered takeaway, fried Dutch beans with pork kidneys and a leek and egg omelette. After eating and drinking his fill, he lay down on the bed, opened the short video app and scanned for people nearby, waiting for a message from Lu Xiaoyan. At 6 p.m., no message came. Chow Weidong comforted himself, it's after work, she probably doesn't have time. At 7 p.m., the message still hadn't come. Chow Weidong comforted himself, she's probably eating dinner. At 8 p.m., the message still hadn't come. Chow Weidong was getting anxious. He sent Lu Xiaoyan a message, aren't you coming? I have to get Wenwen to sleep before I can go out, at 10 p.m. It took a long time for Lu Xiaoyan to send back a message. Not long after sending this message, Lu Xiaoyan sent another, Chow Weidong, you're sick. Very sick. Chow Weidong rolled his eyes and muttered to himself, I've already bought the medicine. That night, late at night, at the Zhizhou International Hotel, in room 8605. Chow Weidong, have you taken your fucking medicine? I didn't. Don't fucking say anything. Knock, knock, knock. An inappropriate sound of hammering on the wall came from the next room. Early the next morning, Chow Weidong, looking tired, was curled up in the covers, looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, who was getting dressed. Swallow. Chow Weidong called out to Lu Xiaoyan affectionately. Lu Xiaoyan glared at the man in bed, pretending to be hurt, and said coldly, remember, 10 a.m., Civil Affairs Bureau. If you play any more tricks, I'm not finished with you. Chow Weidong pretended not to understand and still looked at Lu Xiaoyan affectionately, saying, swallow, is this how it ends between us? At this point, Lu Xiaoyan was already fully dressed. She grabbed her handbag, went out the door, and turned back, a little annoyed, saying, Chow Weidong, I already let you have your way last night, so don't think about it anymore. Remember, 10 o'clock, Civil Affairs Bureau. After saying this, she slammed the door and left, her steps a little unsteady. In the elevator, Lu Xiaoyan continued to curse Chow Weidong, you son of a bitch, you must have been on drugs last night. 10 a.m., Zhizhou County Civil Affairs Bureau. Chow Weidong appeared on time, wearing a flashy flowered shirt, sunglasses, and Lu Xiaoyan walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau together. Lu Xiaoyan had pulled some strings, and the divorce proceedings went very smoothly for the two of them. Soon, they walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Outside the door, Chow Weidong took off his sunglasses and stared at Lu Xiaoyan's pretty face and said, now, can you tell me whose child Wenwen is? A flash of panic crossed Lu Xiaoyan's face. She wasn't sure what Chow Weidong knew. She pretended to be angry and said, Chow Weidong, what nonsense are you talking about? Let's go. Chow Weidong said as he slipped an envelope into Lu Xiaoyan's soft bosom. As he pulled his hand out, he took the opportunity to fondle her hard. Then he strutted off in the direction of the Zhizhou County International Hotel. Lu Xiaoyan looked at Chow Weidong's back in a daze, feeling so strange. She opened the envelope, and inside was a report and a shopping receipt from Dashenlin Pharmacy. Chapter 4, Taking the Little Buck-Toothed Girl Out to Dinner. Chow Weidong had no intention of finding out who the other man in Lu Xiaoyan's life was. It didn't matter to him anymore. The priority was to go back to Yangcheng to collect the prize. After collecting the prize, Chow Weidong had no intention of resigning immediately, but planned to go back to the original company and lie down. He had worked hard for so many years in this company. Not a single day had he not worked hard, been cautious, and conscientious. Now, no matter what, it's his turn to relax and lie down. He deserves to enjoy himself. He'll show them, no matter how much they complain. And the girls at the company, he'll have to ask one of them out. But before he goes back, he wants to see if he can ask that girl with the buck teeth at the Left Bank Cafe out. At lunchtime, Chow Weidong packed 2 lunches of spicy snail noodles and hummed a tune as he walked into the Left Bank Cafe. There weren't many people in the cafe, and little buck-toothed Sydney was dozing at the bar. Chow Weidong stood in front of the bar and looked at her for a while. She woke up suddenly when she felt someone there. When she saw the lecherous Chow Weidong staring at her, she subconsciously took a step back. How can you suddenly appear like a ghost? Ghost is a Western term, here we call it a deadbeat. Humph. Sydney snorted, then turned her face away. Chow Weidong smiled and didn't say anything, but instead boldly stared at Sydney's chest. Sydney gathered her collar and said, Uncle, why did you come to see me? She deliberately emphasized the word uncle to tell Chow Weidong that there was too big an age difference and it wasn't appropriate. Chow Weidong didn't care, and he put the packaged snail noodles on the counter. You didn't have lunch, did you? I promised to treat you to noodles yesterday, so we have to keep our word. Here you go. I'll have an iced latte. After Chow Wei-dong had finished speaking, he took his share and found a seat by the window in the cafe. Sydney soon brought Chow Wei-dong his iced latte. As Sydney placed the coffee cup down, Chow Wei-dong took the opportunity to touch Sydney's hand. It's so smooth. Sydney snapped her fingers and slapped Chow Wei-dong's hand away. Chow Wei-dong burst out laughing. Sydney walked away with a stern face. The music in the cafe was very amorous and suitable for lovemaking. The two couples sitting next to Chow Wei-dong frowned slightly when they saw his coffee with snail noodles. The peculiar smell of snail noodles affected their mood. They wanted to complain to the owner, but there was only one waitress in the cafe who was also slurping noodles, so they had to give up. In the end, the couple fled. The only people left in the cafe were the ill-intentioned Chow Wei-dong and the crying Xueli. Chow Wei-dong, who was full and satisfied, wiped his mouth with a paper towel and slowly walked to the counter to scan the code to pay for the coffee. It was just a bowl of noodles, there was no need to cry. No. It's too spicy, Xueli said with a small mouth breathing out air. She had finally finished the bowl of snail noodles, which was so spicy it had made her head spin, and there was only a bowl of soup left. She really didn't dare touch it. Although she liked spicy food, this one was really too spicy, and she even suspected that the bad old man in front of her had deliberately spiked it. Chow Wei-dong lifted the bowl of snail soup that Xueli had left and took a big sip. It wasn't very spicy. Xueli was shocked by the rogue behavior of this old man in front of her. I drank the rest. I like it, Chow Wei-dong said, licking his lips with a perverted smile. Then he turned and walked out the door. At the door, he turned around again, put on his sunglasses and asked, "What time do you finish work?" 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Snow Pear answered truthfully, but she seemed to have a bad feeling about it and regretted it as soon as she said it. Okay, I'll buy you dinner tonight. Chow Wei-dong didn't wait for Snow Pear to refuse, and just walked out the door. No need. When Xueli said this, Chow Wei-dong's figure had already disappeared. At 5 p.m., Chow Wei-dong arrived as promised. Before leaving the hotel, he took a shower and changed his clothes. He was wearing a sky blue shirt, Western-style trousers and leather shoes, and had sprayed on some new scum perfume. He exuded the charm of a mature man. Even the little buck-toothed Xueli was a little taken aback. She had wanted to refuse Chow Wei-dong, but for some inexplicable reason, she just couldn't bring herself to do it. Let's go, what are you standing there for? Chow Wei-dong took the slightly dazed little buck-toothed Xueli by the hand and headed straight for the Zhizhou International Hotel. The most luxurious restaurant in the entire county was located on the top floor of the Zhizhou International Hotel, where Chow Wei-dong was staying. The interior is extremely luxurious. Although Xueli works next to the International Hotel, this is the first time she has been in the restaurant on the top floor. It is her first time seeing a restaurant with such luxurious decor, and she is both surprised and delighted. This is not the kind of place she has been to before. In the past, the little yellow-haired guy who used to date her would take her to food stalls full of cigarette butts and beer bottles. Everywhere there was the roar of ghost bikes and the noise of young people full of foul language. This place is nothing like that. It's got clean marble floors, dazzling crystal headlights, and melodious music. Eating here is a real treat. Sydney's gaze on Chow Wei-dong changed. Chow Wei-dong looked at Sydney's gaze and smiled slightly. Then, under the guidance of the waiter, the two arrived at the table Chow Wei-dong had reserved. Do you have any dietary restrictions? Chow Wei-dong asked Sydney as he flipped through the menu. No. Chow Wei-dong pointed at the menu and said to the waiter, who was standing humbly behind him, this, and this, that's all. After the order was placed, the waiter left with a smile. Chow Wei-dong deliberately threw the menu at Xueli across the table. Take another look, if there's anything you want to eat, we can order it again. Xueli took the menu and glanced at it, and once again, she was shocked. The dishes here were outrageously expensive, with the cheapest dish, stir-fried garlic choysum, costing 78 yuan. And none of the items that Chow Wei-dong had checked out were under 100 yuan. Is the uncle really that rich? Why did the woman divorce him? Could it be that the uncle is impotent? Snow Pear was daydreaming wildly, and then she looked at Chow Wei-dong with a strange expression in her eyes. Chow Wei-dong felt uncomfortable. Why are you looking at me like that? Nothing. Is this your first time here? Chow Wei-dong asked again. Yes. I'm curious, what would your friends do if they invited you out for dinner? Chow Wei-dong asked. Watch a movie, go shopping, go karaoke, etc. Shueli casually responded. At that moment, she suddenly remembered that a little yellow hair used to ask her out for barbecue all the time, and after that, he always wanted to go to a nearby motel with her. However, after the little yellow hair's friend mocked her for her buck teeth, the little yellow hair never came to see her again. What a jerk! So annoying. I wonder if the older man tonight will make any outrageous demands. If he does, should I agree to them? Shueli's face flushed slightly at the thought. At that moment, the waiter began to serve the food. First came a plate of prawns. Chow Wei-dong naturally peeled the prawns for Shueli, who had a small tooth, and fed them to her. At first, Shueli resisted this interaction. But Chow Wei-dong was adamant and insisted on feeding her. In the end, Pear had no choice but to comply. Feed me too, Chow Wei-dong demanded of Pear. Pear blushed and peeled a shrimp for Chow Wei-dong, then fed it to him. Chow Wei-dong shook his head and chewed the shrimp in his mouth, saying, "It's delicious." Chapter 5, Receiving an Award. After the meal, Chow Wei-dong did not make any excessive demands on the small-toothed Shueli. After going downstairs together, Chow Wei-dong called a taxi for her. The two then parted ways. For some reason, Chow Wei-dong felt that maintaining this distant relationship with the small-toothed Shueli was very good. With this kind of relationship, it would be very easy for him to return to Zhizhou in the future and eat her. If he just broke the ice, it would just be a boring mechanical exercise from then on. Hanging on and engaging in ambiguous relationships like this had a different kind of taste. It was fine to do it after the exercise. There was also the point that if he wanted to do it after just 2 meetings, what was the difference between him and an animal? As he watched the taxi carrying Xiabanjia disappear around the corner, Chow Wei-dong turned around and went back to the hotel. At the hotel reception, Chow Wei-dong noticed a receptionist with a good figure and quickly went up to her and struck up a conversation. After chatting with the pretty receptionist for a while and successfully adding her as a friend, Chow Wei-dong went upstairs and returned to his room. The room next door was full of snoring tonight. Chow Wei-dong sighed that tonight was destined to be a boring night. The little bucktooth in the taxi was distracted and lost. She felt a little suffocated. No, what did that bad uncle mean? Early the next morning, Chow Wei-dong hurried to the earliest high-speed train back to Yangchang. Before leaving, he didn't bother to harass Xiabanjia at the Left Bank Coffee again, but instead sent her a message. Brother is going back to Yangchang to work. In the future, if you go to Yangchang, remember to find me. I'll give you food, a place to live, and a place to sleep. Following this was an emoticon of a tongue sticking out, bobbing from side to side. The little buck-toothed girl replied with 2 words, "Scumbag." Chow Wei-dong was dumbfounded. When the hell did I ever treat you like a scumbag? Just licking your fingers makes you a scumbag? And if it happened somewhere else? On the high-speed train, Chow Wei-dong was a little upset by the inexplicable comment about him being a scumbag. However, his mood soon improved when a beautiful young woman with a baby arrived in the seat next to him. He wanted to strike up a conversation, but then noticed that the young woman's parents were also in the row behind her, so he gave up. The 2.5 hours of boredom were over. Chow Wei-dong got off the high-speed train and received a call from the company's general manager Liang. Liang Xiaojun, the new deputy general manager of Chow Wei-dong's company, Tianying Automation. He is his immediate supervisor. This person is average in ability, and his greatest ability is that he knows how to get things done. Very often, a very small thing can be infinitely magnified by him. If it is a good thing, then the credit must be his. If it is a bad thing, then he can definitely shirk all responsibility. With such abilities, he has risen all the way to become the company's vice president of technology. Chow Wei-dong is the company's pre-sales technical support engineer, and he was under Liang Xiaojun when he was still the department manager. With his previous hard-working nature, Liang Xiaojun was not too bad to him. But what Chow Wei-dong finds most annoying is that this guy pretends to be cool all the time, trying to assert his presence. If he takes a day off, he will ask questions and raise obstacles in order to assert his power. At work, too, this guy pretends to be cool just for the sake of it. Chow Wei-dong clearly remembers a project proposal that was initially decided by the company boss. Liang Xiaojun thought it was Chow Wei-dong's idea, so in order to show off, he started to oppose and obstruct in every way, and even asked Chow Wei-dong to make various changes. It wasn't until the boss attended the meeting and wanted to finalize the proposal that they realized Liang Xiaojun had changed the proposal beyond recognition. That time, the company boss was furious, and Liang Xiaojun had to kneel and lick his feet for a month before the boss's anger subsided. Afterwards, he even complained to Chow Wei-dong, saying that he should have said that the boss himself had decided on the plan. Chow Weidong pretended to be dumb and said that he didn't know either. In fact, behind the scenes, Chow Weidong was secretly happy for a long time. Since then, Liang Xiaojuan's attitude towards Chow Weidong has improved a lot, and he is afraid that this guy will occasionally give him a nasty surprise. It's hard to bear. On the phone, the new Vice President Liang Xiaojuan's pretentious voice rang out. Chow, how did you handle the family matter? Chow Weidong replied, it's all taken care of, I'm just about to go back to Yangchang. Once you get back, can you come to the company as soon as possible? There's something very important I need you to take care of. Chow Weidong could hear that Liang Xiaojun on the other end of the line was more or less a little anxious. With a wicked smile on his lips, Chow Weidong replied, oh, Mr. Liang, I booked a night train ticket and I'll probably arrive in Yangchang at around 11 or 12 o'clock. You can change your ticket. You can report it, and I'll approve it for you. Liang Xiaojuan's speech rate had obviously picked up considerably. Chow Weidong said, okay, I'll see what I can do. After that, Chow Weidong hung up the phone. Walking out of the high-speed railway station, Chow Weidong got into a taxi and headed straight for Yangcheng's toy wholesale market. In the toy wholesale market, there was a specialist store selling cosplay props. Chow Weidong bought a mask of Azu. The toy wholesale market was not far from the lottery center, and Chow Weidong, wearing the Azu mask, walked towards the lottery redemption center. On the way, he met a young boy wearing an Azu mask who gave him a gun-firing gesture. Chow Weidong responded with a biu, secretly thinking, there are so many Azus these days. After walking for about 20 minutes, Chow Weidong arrived at the entrance to the lottery redemption center. He walked in with the Yenzu mask on, strutting. As soon as he entered the lobby, several long-legged girls in black stockings and a few handsome guys in shirts and trousers surrounded him. Sir, are you here to collect a prize? One of the girls with outstanding temperament asked first. Chow Weidong, wearing the Yenzu mask, grinned hideously, no, I'm here to rob. You're a funny one, sir. No, I'm here to rob you of your looks. Chow Weidong gave a few pretty women a flirtatious wink through his mask, then stuck out his hand and reached for one of the prettiest women in the front row. The group of women backed away, laughing, while the handsome guys looked slightly embarrassed. Chow Weidong had done his research before coming here and knew that most of these people were financial salespeople waiting here for the lucky winner of the lottery to appear so that they could sell them financial products. Chow Weidong ignored them and walked straight to the prize redemption window. Before he reached the window, a reporter in a black professional skirt holding a microphone, accompanied by several camera operators, surrounded him again. Sir, it looks like you have won the jackpot. May I ask if you plan to donate after winning the lottery? The beautiful reporter asked. The cameras behind her all pointed at Chow Weidong. Chow Weidong straightened the Aztec mask on his face and said, donate. The beautiful reporter was full of excitement, and she wanted to ask how much to donate. Chow Weidong waved his hand to interrupt her and then said, but if you bother me again before I collect the prize money, I won't donate a single penny. After saying this, Chow Weidong shook off the crowd and walked over to the prize redemption window. A beautiful staff member with heavy makeup and a smile said to Chow Weidong, sir, are you here to redeem your prize? Please show me your winning ticket and ID card. Chow Weidong was a little nervous and hesitant, and was not at all carefree and at ease as when flirting with girls. The beautiful staff member smiled slightly, having seen this situation many times before. She pointed to the camera above her head and said to Chow Weidong, sir, don't worry, we are fully monitored here. Chow Weidong then carefully handed over the winning ticket and ID card. Please wait a moment, sir, said the beautiful staff member, as she began to check the authenticity of the ticket. After a while, the beautiful staff member looked up again and said to Chow Weidong with a smile, the ticket and identity information have been successfully checked. Congratulations, sir, you have won the 30 million jackpot. To be on the safe side, we suggest that you collect your prize by bank transfer. Wow! Chow Weidong took out all his bank cards from his bag and pushed them onto the counter at the window. Any one of them will do. Chow Weidong said excitedly. You can choose 3 of them, the pretty staff member continued. Chow Weidong chose the ICBC card, the ABC card and the CCB card. He put the others back in his bag. Chapter 6, Claiming the Prize 2. Claiming the prize, tax deduction, all the formalities completed, and the bank's SMS notification of the arrival of funds has also arrived. Chow Weidong felt as if he were in a dream, and he had finally become a rich man. He could not express that feeling in words. He sat dumbfounded in the chair at the prize-claiming window, with an uncontrollable smile on his face. He looked like a complete idiot. At this time, the beautiful staff member from earlier walked out of the window, bringing a few colleagues with her and walking over to Chow Weidong. "Congratulations, sir, you've won the jackpot. Shall we go take a photo to commemorate this moment?" Chow Weidong was still immersed in the wonderful feeling of becoming rich, and he nodded absent-mindedly. Then he was surrounded by the staff and led to a backdrop with the words "Super Jackpot" written on it. One of the staff brought a plaque that read, "Super XXX Jackpot, issue XXXXX, winning amount 30 million yuan. At this point, a group of reporters surrounded Chow Weidong and snapped away at him with their cameras. Chow Weidong finally came out of his daze and posed for the photographers in a number of flamboyant poses. After the photos were taken, a group of charity workers and reporters once again surrounded Chow Weidong. "Sir, before you received the prize, you said you would make a donation. How much are you planning to donate?" The beautiful reporter who had interviewed Chow Weidong at the beginning asked. Chow Weidong imperiously held up his index and middle fingers. 2 million? The reporter exclaimed, and the charity workers next to him also beamed with excitement. Chow Weidong shook his head. 200,000? The beautiful reporter continued, and the expressions of the people around her visibly became more disappointed. "It's a kwai, not a won." "Ah? 20 kwai. Are you here to make fun of us, sir?" A sweaty fat man in the crowd yelled. "You think it's not enough? I'll add a bit more, this much." Chow Weidong held up his index finger, middle finger, and ring finger. 300,000? Kwai. Chow Weidong corrected the beautiful reporter. "Woo!" There was a burst of booing from the crowd. "You won such a big prize and you're only donating 30 yuan? You're so stingy." "Yes. And you're wearing a mask of Daniel Craig, do you deserve it? You're so mean, typical of a poor man who has suddenly become rich. This guy is sick." In the crowd, everyone began to mock Chow Weidong furiously. Chow Weidong took out 3 $10 bills from his wallet, waved them over his head, and then put them away again. Now, there was no $30 left. After saying that, Chow Weidong gave a cheap smile, pushed away the crowd, and quickly left. When he reached the front door, the group of wealth management salespeople surrounded him again. Sir, I heard that you won the jackpot, would you consider our family's wealth management products?" Chow Weidong's gaze swept over the long, black silk-clad legs, and then he said lazily, "Bring me your business cards, I'll add you as friends when I have time." "Sir, add me now, I'll scan you." A handsome salesman couldn't wait to speak. "Go to hell, take your business card." Chow Weidong returned the handsome man's business card. The handsome guy's face fell like a donkey's. Chow Weidong ignored him and smiled as he collected all the black silk salesman's business cards, then strutted out of the lottery hall. Instead of taking a taxi or the subway, he retraced his steps towards the toy wholesale market. The reason Chow Weidong was walking like this was because as soon as he had exited the lottery hall, he noticed 2 people sneaking up behind him. These 2 people definitely had evil intentions. With a sneer on his lips, Chow Weidong quickened his pace and turned into an alleyway between the toy wholesale market and the lottery center. A security patrol car was parked at the entrance to the alleyway. "Police officer, I just came out of the lottery center to claim my prize and was followed by these 2 people behind me. I'm so scared, what should I do?" Approaching the patrol car, Chow Weidong came to a burly, upright-looking uncle and said, pretending to be panicked. Uncle Hat looked serious. "Where?" "Just outside." Chow Weidong pretended to be very scared and hid behind Uncle Hat, pointing outside the alley. "It's fine, just come with me." Uncle Hat spoke in a calm tone, then he gave a wink to the 2 young police officers in the car and walked to the end of the alley. Chow Weidong followed closely behind Uncle Hat, and the 2 police officers understood the situation and followed. At the end of the alley, Chow Weidong pointed at 2 sneaky figures in the distance and said, "That's them." Uncle Hat stared at them for a while, then said to Chow Weidong, "Just go about your business. Don't worry." "Thanks, Uncle Policeman." Chow Weidong turned around and walked towards the toy wholesale market. After a few steps, he started running. The 2 men who had been following him saw their target run away, and in a panic, they hurriedly chased after him. But after they had run a few steps, they were stopped by 3 burly figures. "Where are you 2 going?" Uncle Hat shouted angrily, and the 2 sneaky guys almost wet themselves. They were about to turn around and run away when the 2 young police officers next to Uncle Hat appeared beside them like ghosts. One put an arm around each of their shoulders and said, "Let's go back and have some tea." In the distance, Chow Weidong saluted Uncle Hat. "Over here." Uncle Hat waved his hand, and Chow Wei-dong disappeared into the crowd. Back at the wholesale market, Chow Wei-dong felt relieved when he noticed that there were no suspicious people behind him. He walked towards the store selling cosplay props again. To be on the safe side, he planned to change his disguise and take a taxi back to his accommodation. Before he could get there, he saw a child wearing a mask of a zoo crying loudly. The child was being held by an old woman in her 50s, who was speaking in a very strong accent. Good grandson, don't cry, grandma will take you home." As the old woman spoke, she pushed her way through the crowd at breakneck speed, forcing her way out with the child in her arms. Chow Wei-dong glanced at the child and thought to himself, "That's not right, isn't that the little Azu who just tried to buy him?" Chow Wei-dong remembered that the little guy wasn't with this old woman just now. And the child kept shouting in his mouth, "Let go, you old hag." You could tell at once that the child was a local. The old woman's accent was unmistakably not local. She couldn't be the little guy's grandmother. Human trafficker. Chow Wei-dong immediately made his own judgment. Perhaps it was because he had been a father for 2 years. Chow Wei-dong hated human traffickers with a passion. He didn't care about so many things, and rushed directly forward to stop the old woman, scolding her sternly, "Who are you? Why are you hugging my son?" Little Zhuo was also an extremely intelligent child. He quickly shouted, "Daddy, this granny is a bad person, help me, help me." The old woman looked at the two identical masks. She thought that the real father of the child had arrived, and her heart tightened. She stuffed little Zhuo in Chow Wei-dong's arms, then turned around and squeezed into the crowd, quickly disappearing. "Oomph, bad granny." Little Zhuo in Chow Wei-dong's arms yelled and stopped crying. Chow Wei-dong wanted to chase after the man and catch him, but there was a baby in his arms. He couldn't catch up. At this time, on the other side of the crowd, a beautiful figure hurriedly ran over. While running, the figure kept shouting, "Lolo, Lolo. Mommy. I'm over here." Little Zhu waved his hands vigorously towards the beautiful figure. Big Zhu Chow Wei-dong was stunned. He whispered, "She's the best." Chapter 7, A Misunderstanding from the Best. This is a beautiful woman in her 30s, extremely well maintained. She has exquisite makeup on her face, and is wearing a beige dress. Her body is extremely proportional, with no excess fat and no areas that appear to be thinner. This kind of woman is the best of the best according to Chow Wei-dong's aesthetic standards. Chow Wei-dong, under the mask of Azu, has already set his sights on a key position with his 2 eyes. At the same time, the anxious expression on the woman's face made Chow Wei-dong feel a strong desire to go up and take good care of her. Soon, the woman Chow Wei-dong regarded as the best in the world pushed her way through the crowd and came to him. The woman grabbed little Zhu and held him tightly against her chest. Chow Wei-dong wished at that moment that his big Zhu could take little Zhu's place. However, before Chow Wei-dong could enjoy the fantasy, his right cheek felt a sharp pain. The woman in front of him slapped him hard on the right cheek. His mask fell to the ground, revealing his handsome face. Chow Wei-dong was dumbfounded. The woman glared at him angrily and shouted, "Scum! How dare you steal my child, I'll kill you." Chow Wei-dong felt speechless. It seemed that this pretty woman had taken him for a human trafficker. Have you ever seen such a handsome human trafficker? I really don't know what to say. It was the first time Chow Wei-dong had been called a scumbag. In his opinion, there was a fundamental difference between a scumbag and a scumbag. "Beauty, I think you've got it wrong." Chow Wei-dong spoke up to explain. Yes, pretty girl, you've got the wrong person." Among the crowd, an older woman spoke up for Chow Wei-dong. "Mommy, uncle is a good person, he just saved me." The little boy in the pretty young woman's arms also spoke up for Chow Wei-dong. "Yes, if it wasn't for this handsome young man, your son wouldn't even know where that old hag was taking him, and you're hitting on him." An old man in the crowd also spoke up angrily to defend Chow Wei-dong, and he also stared hungrily at the beautiful young woman's body. Yes. Everyone in the crowd who had just seen the truth of the matter nodded their heads. The beautiful young woman's delicate and pretty face flushed at once. She whispered to her son in her arms, "Lolo, tell mommy, is this true?" "Yes, just now that uncle pretended to be my father and scared the bad granny away." "First, sir, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I'm sorry." The beautiful young woman hurriedly apologized to Chow Wei-dong with a red face. Although he had been slapped for no reason, Chow Wei-dong didn't really mind. In fact, he even had a desire to be slapped a few more times. What a bitch! Chow Wei-dong cursed himself inwardly for being such a disappointment. But then he thought, What if this young woman had been holding a whip? I dare not think about it, I really dare not think about it. Chow Wei-dong's thoughts returned to reality. He touched the half of his face that had been slapped, which still retained the scent of the young woman's perfume. Pretending to bear the pain, Chow Wei-dong said, "It's fine, as long as there's no misunderstanding. Hurry up and see if the child is hurt." After the beautiful young woman had checked little Azu over and found that he was fine, she took a step closer to Chow Wei-dong, extended her right hand, which had just hit him, and stroked his cheek lightly. "Sir, I'm very sorry, did I hurt you?" It's fine, Chow Wei-dong pretended to be embarrassed on the surface and took a step back. But he just happened to miss the beautiful young woman's hand. Chow Wei-dong was overjoyed. That hand was so smooth and fragrant. The beautiful young woman noticed that there were too many people around, and that her action just now was a bit too intimate, so she withdrew her hand. She apologized again, saying, "Sir, I'm really sorry. I was in a hurry just now, and I actually hit my benefactor. I apologize again and thank you for your help." The beautiful young woman put Xiao Azu down, then took his hand and bowed to Chow Wei-dong to thank him. "Ah, it's okay, beautiful lady. There are too many people here, it's not good, let's go somewhere else to chat." Chow Wei-dong laughed, and he has always been very generous with beautiful women, so how could he mind that little slap? "Okay, I'll buy you a coffee." The beautiful young woman pointed to the Starbucks not far away. "Okay." Chow Wei-dong agreed without hesitation. At this time, Liang Xiaojun, the vice president of Chow Wei-dong's company, called him inopportunely, and Chow Wei-dong directly pressed the phone without even thinking. "What the hell? Dare to affect my flirting?" The beautiful young woman led the way in front with little Azu in her hands. Chow Wei-dong followed behind, unbridledly admiring the charming back of the beauty. He kept exclaiming in his heart, "So beautiful. That figure, those curves, that skin, gee. If only he would be willing to break a rib and make her some soup." In the cafe, Chow Wei-dong learned the beautiful young woman's name, Lin Wanqing. Little Zui is called Lin Luoluo. He also told the young woman, Lin Wanqing, the details of what had happened. Of course, Chow Wei-dong naturally exaggerated the danger of the process, and Lin Luoluo was stunned to hear it. Lin Wanqing's face paled when she heard Chow Wei-dong's description, and her fear grew. Her gratitude towards Chow Wei-dong also grew. In the time it took to make a cup of coffee, Chow Wei-dong brought his bragging skills to the extreme, while also hanging up on Liang Xiaojuan's phone 10 times. "Lin Mimi, you have to be more careful next time. Human traffickers these days are really arrogant, daring to snatch people in public." After hanging up on Liang Xiaojun again, Chow Wei-dong reminded Lin Wanqing. "Mr. Chow reminded me that I was too busy. I just let Lolo go out with the nanny. She was a bit careless, so I'll replace her when I go back." Lin Wanqing's tone revealed her dissatisfaction. Chow Wei-dong thought to himself, "Nanny? No wonder I didn't see this gem when I first met Xiao Azu. It turns out that he was not present. I told you, my ability to spot beautiful women has not declined. Mr. Chow, can I add you as a friend? I'd like to take you out to dinner sometime. Lolo was shocked today, and I want to take him home early." Lin Wanqing said apologetically to Chow Wei-dong. Chow Wei-dong flashed his QR code with superhuman speed. "Of course you can." After the two had applied to be friends with each other, Lin Wanqing left Starbucks with Lin Lolo. As they walked, Lin Lolo kept asking Lin Wanqing, "Mommy, what does superb mean?" "It means that something is very, very good." "What about describing people?" "It means that the person is either a beautiful woman or a handsome man." "Oh, then Mommy is a supermodel." "Why do you say that?" Lin Wanqing asked her cute son with a smile. "That's what Uncle Chow said when he saw Mommy just now." "Supermodel." Lin Luoluo imitated Chow Wei-dong's mannerisms and showed Lin Wanqing. Lin Wanqing. In the coffee shop, Chow Wei-dong finally answered Liang Xiaojuan's call. "Hey, Mr. Liang." Chapter 8, A woman is worth 3 men, and she holds the key to wealth. Chow Wei-dong. Do you want to quit? I've called you a dozen times, and you hung up on me. What do you mean? Liang Xiaojuan's voice roared over the phone. Chow Wei-dong held the phone away from his ear, frowned, and waited for Liang Xiaojun to vent his anger. After the sound on the phone became quieter, he put the phone back to his ear and said indolently, "Mr. Liang, you've misunderstood me. I was on a plane and there was no signal." You were on a plane? You're lying to me. Yes, I did. I followed your instructions and changed my flight to get back to the office today, didn't I? Chow Wei-dong shamelessly lied. Chow Wei-dong, do you take me for a fool? You just hung up on me, hung up on me, hung up on me. It's not that I couldn't get through. Liang Xiaojun roared. And, where is the airport in that small 18th tier county in your state? You were flying in a pesticide-spraying drone? Ha! Chow Wei-dong's heart skipped a beat. Oops, careless, forgot to draft the lie. He gave an awkward smile on the phone. Oops, you're still smarter than me, Mr. Liang, you saw through it right away. I really didn't fly, I was just adding on an extra hour at the recreational club. It was really inconvenient to answer your call. Leisure and Entertainment Club? You're back in Yangchang? Well, you're back in Yangchang, so why didn't you go straight back to the office? Didn't I tell you that there was something very, very important that needed your attention at the office? And you had the time to go to a club? And you even had the time to pay for extra time? It's all for work. I had to relax at the club first so that I could be more energetic for the important work that lies ahead. Chow Wei-dong didn't feel the least bit guilty. Cut the bullshit, now, immediately, right now, come to the office, and I'll let it slide. Can I claim a taxi ride? If not, I'll have to take the bus, which will take at least 2 hours, and there's always traffic. Yes. Just do it quickly. Okay, Mr. Liang, see you later. Do. Liang Xiaojun hung up the phone directly. Then, Chow Wei-dong sneezed 3 times in a row. He muttered to himself, this old Liang must be cursing, damn it. In the conference room of Tianying Automation, Liang Xiaojun threw a large stack of materials at Chow Wei-dong. This is the information on the latest project of the multinational group BA. Study it carefully. The executive vice president of their South China region will come to our company for an inspection the day after tomorrow. I need you to explain our project plan at the meeting. Liang Xiaojun said anxiously, sitting opposite Chow Wei-dong. Chow Wei-dong no longer looked as honest as before, but lazily flipped through the information twice before speaking. General Manager Liang, do you take me for a god? You think I can come up with a good plan in a day and a half? Chow, I know this task is quite difficult, but I hope you can overcome it, work hard, put in some overtime, and get it done. Liang Xiaojun was very good at manipulating his tone of voice. What he didn't know was that Chow Wei-dong was no longer the same person as before. He was now financially free, and he would work overtime for you? You wish. However, Chow Wei-dong had no intention of confronting him head-on, but rather was thinking of a reasonable reason to refuse him. Chow Wei-dong continued to pick up the information, flipping through it randomly while thinking of a response. At that moment, he accidentally flipped to the information on the project's executive vice president of South China for BA. Lin Wanqing. English name, Alice, age, 30 years old, education, Master of Management. Graduated from the Royal Business School in the UK, currently the executive vice president of BA in South China. Chow Wei-dong quickly looked up at Liang Xiaojun and asked excitedly, this time the president of BA in South China is called Lin Wanqing? Well, Liang Xiaojun didn't understand why this kid was so excited. A woman? Well, no. What are you so excited about? Do you have a picture of her? Liang Xiaojun was a little speechless. Was the lazy man in front of him really the Chow Wei-dong he knew? He pointed at the pile of information Chow Wei-dong was holding and said loudly, if you hurry up and flip through 2 more pages, you'll see it. Chow Wei-dong quickly looked down and found the photo of Lin Wanqing. It was her. Lin Wanqing, who had slapped him 2 hours ago. Chow Wei-dong was beside himself with excitement. He was excited not because he would be able to meet this gem again, but because he had seen the word divorced in the file. This piece of news excited Chow Wei-dong to no end. She was divorced, and so was Chow Wei-dong. She was 30, and Chow Wei-dong was 27. 3 years older. Isn't this even more suitable? The famous writer Franz Kafka once said, a woman who is 3 years older is like a golden brick in your arms. Chow Wei-dong really wanted to hold this sweet, soft golden brick. Mr. Liang, I'll take the job, but I have a condition. Chow Wei-dong looked away from Lin Wanqing's information and said to Liang Xiaojun with a serious expression. Liang Xiaojun's face showed a happy expression, and his heart was filled with joy. That's right, this is the Chow he knows, the Chow Niao Ma. If you have any conditions, just mention them, I'll try to help you coordinate. Liang Xiaojun leaned back, crossed his legs, and regained his air of authority as a leader. I know that you must have asked other people to do the plan before me, but you were not satisfied with their work, so you urgently ask me to come back. Chao Weidong knew Liang Xiaojun too well, and his words directly revealed the truth of the matter. Liang Xiaojun was about to speak in his defense when Chao Weidong waved his hand to interrupt him. Just give me their proposal, and I'll make changes based on it. That's the only way I can come up with a qualified proposal before the day after tomorrow. Don't even think about it. I can't come up with a good proposal from scratch in just a day and a half. Liang Xiaojun thought about it for a while and felt that Chao Weidong was right. So he got up and said, "Wait a minute, I'll go get it for you." It wasn't long before Liang Xiaojun returned to the meeting room. He handed Chao Weidong a USB drive. "It's all in there." Chao Weidong accepted the USB drive and then said to Liang Xiaojun, "Liang, if I take the BA project, can you give me a new position?" "A new position? Why? Are you dissatisfied with your current position?" Liang Xiaojun asked in surprise. "No, I just really want to improve, so I want to switch to sales for some training," Chao Weidong replied. The idea of switching to a sales position had actually just occurred to him. Lying low means taking the easiest job. In Chao Weidong's opinion, the sales department is the perfect place to lie low. Unlike the technical department, where he is constantly being rushed around by Liang, it's a bore. Although the sales department has a low basic salary and income depends on commission, if there is no performance, you may not even be able to afford to eat. But Chao Weidong doesn't care. Whether he has sales or not is not important, and he doesn't lack money. Another thing is that salespeople have a lot of excuses to hang out every day. They also have a lot of time to hang out with girls, which is one of the reasons Chao Weidong wants to switch to sales. Finally, the most important thing is that the girls in the sales department are open-minded enough. This is crucial. "Okay, as long as you take this project, I promise." Liang Xiaojun answered generously. Chapter 9, Working Overtime at the Club. And who made this plan? For the next 2 days, you let him help me. Chao Weidong continued to make demands on Liang Xiaojun. "Ma Yaohui, Wang Xiaolu, come here." Liang Xiaojun yelled, walking to the door of the meeting room, without any quality. For Liang Xiaojun, Chao Weidong is an old workhorse, and since he has to rely on him for work, he has to pretend to be polite when speaking to him. But for Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu, 2 young newcomers to the company, Liang Xiaojun simply doesn't give a damn. He can treat them however he likes, and there's no need to pretend to be polite. This also greatly satisfies his need to act superior. The 2 young subordinates cautiously walked into the meeting room, their hearts in their throats. Ma Yaohui leaned over to Wang Xiaolu's ear and whispered, "I hope it's not about the new proposal again. We've only just joined the company and haven't figured anything out yet, and now General Manager Liang is asking us to work on such a difficult proposal. Has he lost his mind? He's such an idiot." Wang Xiaolu muttered in agreement. In the meeting room, Liang Xiaojun, with extremely poor manners, rested his feet on the table and looked at the 2 young men with slanted eyes. After a while, he pointed at Chao Weidong and said to the 2 young men, "I asked you to work on the proposal these 2 days to see what level you are at, but the result is a mess, a failure. Now I will give the proposal to Mr. Chao to work on, and you 2 will help him out and learn from him. Do you understand?" "Yes, Mr. Liang." Ma Yaohui nodded like a chicken pecking rice. "Got it, Mr. Liang." Wang Xiaolu also hurriedly promised. Then the 2 of them looked at Chao Weidong together, nodded and greeted him, "Mr. Chao." Chao Weidong nodded, then picked up the BA company's information in the USB flash drive, stood up and said to the 2 young men, "Let's go, boys." After saying this, Chao Weidong led Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu out of the meeting room. As Chao Weidong passed the administrative assistant Lin's workstation, he noticed that she was browsing a shopping website. So he shamelessly went up to her, leaned over Lin's desk, and stared at the computer screen, saying, "What about pajamas? Buy black ones, they're sexy." Lin was startled by Chao Weidong and quickly closed the webpage. She twisted her body to avoid him and said with a flushed face, "Ouch, you're annoying. If you slack off at work, I'll report you." Chao Weidong looked at the pretty face, which strongly resembled that of a famous actress from a certain island country, and said with a wicked smile, "Give me a leave note." Assistant Lin was no pushover, and immediately changed the subject. "Have dinner with me tonight, and I'll give you the leave note." Assistant Lin rolled her eyes. She was full of question marks. Chao Weidong had come back from his leave like a different person, flirting like crazy. He hadn't been like this before. Chao Weidong was secretly delighted and continued, I was just teasing you. I'll satisfy you later." When he returned to his workstation, the 2 young assistants followed him. Chow Wei-dong picked up a few proposals he had worked on before and stuffed them into Ma Yaohui's arms. Then he said, "You two take a laptop and follow me." "Follow you?" Wang Xiaolu asked in disbelief. "Yes, let's work somewhere else," Chow Wei-dong said mysteriously. The two young men returned to their workstations, tidied up a bit, and followed Chow Wei-dong out. As soon as they reached the door, they were seen by Liang Xiaojun. He hurriedly asked, "Chow Wei-dong, where are you going? Aren't you going to work on the plan?" "We'll do it at my place. I didn't bring my computer to the office, and there's a lot of information in it." Chow Wei-dong casually lied. "Fine, just get lost." Liang Xiaojun waved impatiently and told the three of them to hurry up and go. After the three left, Liang Xiaojun shook his head and muttered, "Why do I feel like Chow Wei-dong is a different person?" Chow Wei-dong led Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu into the recreation club. "Chow Gong, didn't you say you wanted to work on the plan at your house? Why are we here?" Ma Yaohui's eyes widened. He had just seen a technician in uniform float past him, and he was so excited that he almost jumped up. He asked Chow Wei-dong anxiously. "There's air conditioning here." Ma Yaohui. Wang Xiaolu. Ignoring the two men, Chow Wei-dong asked the manager for a foot massage room for 3 people. Once inside, he found 2 proposals and handed them to Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu. "You can copy the content of these 2 proposals, then change the names and dates, and that's it. After you've finished copying, I'll ask the manager to arrange for you to have 2 beautiful women." Chow Wei-dong added. These 2 young people were at a loss for Chow Wei-dong's flirtatious manipulation. How could they work on a proposal in a leisure club? "Mr. Chow, this is the first time we've come to this kind of place to work." Wang Xiaolu stuttered a bit when he spoke, and it was obvious that he was a good boy who had just graduated from school and was a bit uncomfortable in this kind of place. "You have to understand that many of our company's sales orders are closed in places like this. Why can their salespeople come here to talk to clients, but our pre-sales proposals can't come here to write them?" Chow Wei-dong's reasoning is one set after another. Ma Yaohui saw another beautiful woman in uniform just walking past the door and swallowed hard, saying, "Yes. I've always dreamed of working in a place like this. Well, when we're done, I'll treat you to the most expensive item in the store." Chow Wei-dong began to paint a picture of wealth for the 2 men. Afterwards, he asked the manager not to let anyone disturb his 2 friends. "I'll come back in 2 hours to see how you're doing." With those words, Chow Wei-dong followed the manager to a private room next door. A short while later, Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu saw a hot, uniformed beauty with a stunning appearance walk into Chow Wei-dong's room. Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu's energy immediately went up. They turned on their computers and, in the dimly lit foot massage room, threw themselves into their work. If they finished early, they could enjoy the luxury package. I don't know if it's formal or not. At 11 o'clock that night, 3 engineers from Tianyi Company sauntered out of the recreation club. Chow Wei-dong was in a springtime mood, while Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu were beaming from ear to ear. At the entrance to the club, Chow Wei-dong had just taken out a cigarette when Ma Yaohui immediately and conspicuously lit it for him. "Brother Dong, in the company from now on, you are my brother, my real brother." Ma Yaohui's face was full of flattery, and he was smiling so broadly that flowers could bloom on his face. "And you?" Chow Wei-dong looked at Wang Xiaolu. "The same goes for me, brother Dong." Wang Xiaolu quickly responded. Chow Wei-dong nodded with satisfaction, then took a drag on his cigarette and asked, "I didn't have time to check earlier, how's your project coming along?" "It's great, my first experience with a 688 project, it's so comfortable." "Thanks, Donga." Ma Yaohui was in a daze, still relishing the wonderful time just now. Cough cough. Chow Wei-dong coughed as he was choked. He took a breath and said, "I was asking how the BA project proposal is coming along?" Well, don't worry, Donga, I've copied it according to your requirements." Ma Yaohui's expression was slightly embarrassed, and he and Wang Xiaolu answered together. "Okay, you guys go back to work at the company tomorrow. If you run into Lao Liang, just tell him I'm still at home organizing the plan." "Understood." Ma Yaohui patted his chest and promised. "We understand," Wang Xiaolu said with a smile. Chow Wei-dong called a Didi for the 2 of them and sent them home. After the 2 men got into the car, a young woman with a slender figure ran out of the side entrance of the recreation club. She immediately put her arm around Chow Wei-dong's arm and said sweetly, "Boss, where are we going now?" "To a hotel room," Chow Wei-dong said indifferently. Chapter 10, Overnight. Chow Wei-dong specially booked a room with a computer at the nearby Hilton Hotel. When the two entered the room, the beautiful woman called Xian next to Chao Weidong directly wrapped her pair of snow-white arms around Chao Weidong's neck. The two were face to face, with only half an inch between them. Xian breathed in Chao Weidong's handsome face and said with a smile, "Boss, is this a night package?" Or a night package? Chao Weidong said with a wicked smile. Then he gently pushed away the beautiful woman in front of him and pointed to the only computer in the room and asked, "I heard your manager say that you can type?" Being pushed away by a handsome guy ruined the ambiguous atmosphere. The beautiful woman Xian was a little upset. She frowned slightly and said inexplicably, "Yes. That's good." Chao Weidong smiled knowingly, then took out a thick file and placed it next to the computer screen, saying, "Your service tonight is to help me record this information into the computer." Xian? She opened her beautiful eyes wide, looking at Chao Weidong in disbelief. Chao Weidong lit a cigarette, leaned back on the sofa in the hotel, crossed his legs, and said to Xian, "Hurry up, there's a lot of information." "You're fucking sick." Xian, the beautiful woman, cursed. After a long time, she turned on the computer. 3 hours ago, while Chao Weidong was enjoying the service, he received a call from Liang Xiaojun. "Chao Weidong, be careful of that Wang Xiaolu. I just got word that he is a distant relative of Vice President of Sales Li Huaizhou. This Li Huaizhou has always had a problem with us. The day after tomorrow, he will also bring someone to participate in the Ba company's project review meeting. I'm worried that he will pick on your plan at the meeting and ruin the deal, and then we won't have an easy time." "Then why did you assign me that one what He felt that Lao Liang had definitely been kicked in the head. "I didn't just find out now." Liang Xiaojun on the other end of the phone sounded a little embarrassed. "And Chao Weidong, how the hell do you talk to your leader?" "Mr. Liang. Hey. You're an idiot. Fuck. Do. Chao Weidong hung up the phone. He had no choice but to reject the two minions plan. Make another one. But he didn't want to do it himself. This meant hard work for the fast-typing beauty Xian. She never imagined that she would be able to make money just by lying down and typing all night. Now she had to type all night to finish her work. This was really frustrating. The guy in the room must be a pervert, right? A pervert. Chao Weidong and the beautiful Xian stayed in the Hilton hotel room for the whole night. Early the next morning, the beautiful Xian walked out of the hotel with sore hands. Although she was exhausted both physically and mentally, fortunately, her perverted boss was quite generous last night and paid the service fee very well. Otherwise, she would really go crazy. However, she would never do this kind of thing again, no matter what she was told in the future. Typing so many words was even more tiring than helping a client pick their feet. Chao Weidong was not tired at all. He had slept almost the whole night until he was woken up by the beautiful Xian in the morning. Seeing the haggard look on the beauty's face, Chao Weidong felt very distressed. He promised the beauty that he would find a suitable opportunity in the future to recommend her to his boss as his personal secretary. After seeing off the future big secretary of Tianyi & Company, Chao Weidong continued to sleep with his head buried in the pillow. He was not worried at all about Liang Xiaojun looking for him. Because he had turned off his phone. He slept until lunchtime. Chao Weidong went downstairs to check out and returned to his rented room in the urban village. Looking at the simple furnishings in the rented room and the cheap clothes hanging on the shelves, Chao Weidong felt a myriad of emotions and sighed with emotion. Here he had spent an unforgettable period of beautiful times with his ex-wife Lu Xiaoyan. Here he had also spent countless lonely and desolate nights. Sigh, it's time to move on. Chao Weidong sighed. Chao Weidong was just like that. He had a characteristic: when he got used to something or a place, he would feel reluctant to change suddenly. This was different from going to a club. If he knew that the 98th technician at the recreation club had been replaced, he would not hesitate to order her. Men are such creatures. Sometimes they are nostalgic, sometimes they like the new, you can never figure them out. Chao Weidong, this unfathomable man, lit a few cigarettes in his rented room, flirted for a while, then went downstairs to take a taxi back to the company. In the taxi, Chao Weidong restarted his phone. There were more than 10 unread messages from Liang Xiaojun. Chao Weidong, have you finished your new proposal? Chao Weidong, why is your phone unreachable? Chao Weidong, as soon as you see my message, call me back at once. Chao Weidong. Chao. Chow, have you finished the plan? Chow, if you have finished the plan, please give me a call when you have time. Chow, you worked overtime, do you want me to order you a cup of coffee? Chow Weidong looked at the 10 or so remaining voice messages and didn't bother to open any of them. Then he muttered, this Liang is a real skinflint. He licks up the cream when he needs you, but pretends to be useless when you're not around. Hey, Liang. Chow Weidong dialed Liang Xiaojun's number. Hey, it's Chow. How's it going? I've finished the plan and I'm heading back to the office now. Great. We need someone like you to get the job done. Liang Xiaojun gave Chow a hard time. Order me a latte with less ice. Chow Weidong said without any fuss. No problem. On the other end of the line, Liang Xiaojun was very satisfied. He put down the phone, walked out of his office, and looked at the work area of the technical department for a while. These people in front of him, who were either busy or goofing off at their workstations, were all his subordinates. Liang Xiaojun's sense of vanity soared. He realized that he was back on track. The loss of face as a leader at Chow Weidong's was no longer important. Finally, he fixed his gaze. It landed on Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu. Liang Xiaojun strutted over to the two men. Ma Yaohui was the first to react. When he turned around and saw it was Liang Xiaojun, he nudged Wang Xiaolu at the next workstation with his elbow. Liang. General Manager Liang. Ma Yaohui and Wang Xiaolu nervously greeted him. The two men were about to stand up from their seats when Liang Xiaojun held up a hand to tell them to sit down. Then, in a manner that showed his full leadership potential, he asked, how did you feel about learning from Chow for a day? When Ma Yaohui heard this, he immediately perked up. He thought back to the 688 project. It was so memorable. Engineer Chow is very good. We learned a lot of positions yesterday. No. Knowledge, Ma Yaohui blushed as he said the wrong thing. Well, that's good. Young people should use their brains and learn more. Wang Xiaolu, go buy me 2 coffees, 1 latte with less ice and 1 whatever. Mr. Liang, you still haven't paid for the coffee I bought you last time. Wang Xiaolu stammered. Liang Xiaojun was taken aback by these words. Wang Xiaolu really knows how to pick the wrong moment to mention something. As the deputy general manager of Tianying Company, you can't be short of money. Well. Liang Xiaojun cleared his throat and said, I'll pay you back when I come back this time, so just go. Liang. Mr. Liang, why don't I go? Ma Yaohui volunteered. Liang Xiaojun changed his face as easily as he changed his mind, and with a stern face, he said, did I call you? Wang Xiaolu, go. Oh, I see. Ma Yaohui's flattery hit a dead end, and he sat down sulkily. Wang Xiaolu had no choice but to get up and go out. Liang Xiaojun looked at Wang Xiaolu as he left, a sneer curling the corner of his mouth, and muttered, Heh. Li Huaizhou. Chapter 11, Isn't it good to talk about a deep and profound love? When Chow Weidong returned to the company, there was a cup of coffee neatly placed on his desk. He nodded and thought to himself, well, Liang did well this time. Before he could take a sip, Liang's voice came from behind him, Chow, you're here? You've worked hard, come to my office for a moment. The other people in the technical department felt incredible when they heard Liang Xiaojun fawning. What's wrong with Mr. Liang? Does he treat Chow like his father? Zhao Guowei, who joined the company in the same year as Chow Weidong, whispered. I heard that recently, Mr. Liang asked Mr. Chow to work on the BA project. A young man next to him explained to Zhao Guowei. That explains it. Chow Weidong strode into Liang Xiaojun's office, under the strange stares of his colleagues. Tianying Automation is, to be precise, an agency company. The technical department does not do research and development, but only pre-sales technical support and after-sales technical services for the products. Liang Xiaojun has just been promoted from manager of the technical department to vice president in charge of technology. The position of manager of the technical department is now vacant. Zhao Guowei and Chow Weidong are the 2 most promising candidates for the position. He learned that Liang Xiaojun had assigned Chow Weidong to work on the project proposal for the multinational group BA. Although he appeared to be calm on the surface, he was actually very anxious. If Chow Weidong's proposal is approved by BA, then the position of technical manager will be his. This is something Zhao Guowei cannot accept under any circumstances. He has worked hard at Tianying for many years, and now he sees the opportunity for promotion right in front of him. He will not give up. But he doesn't understand Chow Weidong. Chao Weidong's mind is not on the position of technical manager at all. He is more concerned about when he can be transferred to the sales department to meet girls. Liang Xiaojuan's office. Weidong, how's the new proposal coming along? Liang Xiaojun affectionately changed the way he addressed Chao. Weidong. Don't worry, once it's done, you'll definitely get the BA project. Chao Weidong was full of confidence. It was hard to say for other companies, but getting the BA project would be a piece of cake for Chao Weidong. After all, the executive vice president of that company was Lin Wanqing. Chao Weidong was Lin Wanqing's great benefactor. It may not be the right time for Chao Weidong to get Lin Wanqing's body, but he should be able to get his hands on a small project from her. Thinking about this, Chao Weidong remembered that extraordinary woman. Sweet and soft, golden treasure, when will I, old Chao, be able to hold it? Chao Weidong thought impurely, and a strange smile unconsciously appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chao Weidong, what are you lusting after? Liang Xiaojuan's words brought Chao Weidong back to reality. Nothing. Chao Weidong felt a little embarrassed and took a sip of his coffee to hide his embarrassment. Liang Xiaojun also took a sip of his espresso. Fuck, it's fucking salty. Liang Xiaojun pursed his lips. Salty? Boss Liang, you're sick, drinking coffee without sugar or salt? It's sea salt. What do you know? Young people like it nowadays. I asked Wang Xiaolu to buy it for me, he said. I've never had coffee with salt, but I have added it when I went to a foot massage parlor. Chao Weidong said indifferently. Liang Xiaojun, fuck. By the way, Mr. Liang, you said that this Wang Xiaolu is one of Mr. Li's people? Mentioning Wang Xiaolu, Chao Weidong remembered what Liang Xiaojun had said before. Shoo. Keep your voice down, or someone will hear you through the wall. Liang Xiaojun looked alarmed and hurriedly reminded him. Chao Weidong didn't take it seriously and snorted lightly. He was now completely unimpressed by these office power struggles. It's a small company with just a few dozen people, and every day it's like the TV series Empresses in the Palace, you plot against me, I plot against you. Isn't it exhausting? That Wang Xiaolu is Li Huaizhou's young cousin, and he is specially placed in our technical department. Liang Xiaojun said mysteriously. General Liang, not that I'm saying this to you, but our technical department and his sales department have a clear division of labor, and there is basically no competitive relationship, okay? You are guarding against people like you are guarding against thieves. Is that necessary? Chao Weidong, you haven't even gone to the sales department yet, and you're already so eager to speak up for Li? Liang Xiaojun looked at Chao Weidong with a sinister expression in his eyes. That's not what I meant. I just think that you are both vice presidents, and there is no need for hostility between you. Chao Weidong was afraid that Liang Xiaojun would misunderstand him, and that he would be in trouble if he was not allowed to go to the sales department. Chao, you don't understand the things that the higher-ups are thinking about, that's why you have these kinds of thoughts. Liang Xiaojun looked inscrutable and started to put on airs. He even changed the way he addressed Chao. Chao Weidong was annoyed at first glance. But Liang Xiaojun had already started to put on airs, and it was out of control, so how could he easily stop? Do you want me, your boss, to teach you a good lesson? Liang Xiaojun was inscrutable. If you don't want to talk, I'll leave. Chao Weidong finished speaking and stood up. Liang Xiaojun quickly stopped him and said, Boss, I plan to reform the technical department and sales department. Reform? Yes, reform. In the future, our company will no longer have a technical department or a sales department. 2 product divisions will be established. Our technical department will be Division 1, and their sales department will be Division 2. The product business units will be fully staffed and will have their own pre-sales technicians, after-sales technicians, and sales staff. The performance of the 2 product business units will compete directly, and will be compared on a quarterly basis. The winning business unit will also receive a much larger quarterly bonus. This reform can greatly enhance team cohesion and improve employees' awareness of cooperation and win-win. The company's efficiency will also continue to improve under the competition between the 2 departments, and everyone's income will continue to increase. The boss is really brilliant. Liang Xiaojun spoke eloquently, and at the end, he didn't forget to flatter his boss. Chao Weidong couldn't bear to see him like this, and wanted to remind him that the other person wouldn't feel the flattery from afar, but before the words left his mouth, he stopped. It was pointless to say this, he didn't care about any reforms or business units. Chao Weidong just had a vague feeling that his plan to go to the sales department might fall through. He quickly asked Liang Xiaojun, Mr. Liang, after hearing what you said, you promised to let me be a salesman, but instead of transferring to the sales department, you're letting me stay in our department and switch positions to sales? Yes, that's really smart, you deserve it. Liang Xiaojun gave him a thumbs up and praised him. Fuck, no way. I don't want it. Chao Weidong quickly shook his head to refuse. He wants to be a salesman, and lying down is one of the goals, and also because of the girls in the sales department. Now that he is going around in circles, he is back in the technical department, and he is still trying to woo a girl from the hammer department. This technical department is just a monk temple, and he, Chao Weidong, is not going to do it. Why? Are you one of Li Huaizhou's men? Liang Xiaojun is quite capable of making up stories. Chao Weidong was so angry that he swore directly, I'm your uncle, Liang Xiaojun, I don't care about your bullshit business divisions, anyway, I'll take the BA project, and you have to transfer me to the sales department. I want to go to the sales department to pick up girls, I don't want to stay in your monk temple. Liang Xiaojun suddenly realized. So that's what it's about. You should have said so earlier. Don't worry, just tell me which one of the sales department you like, I'll transfer him to you, what's the rush? Transfer? Since we've set up a business unit, we need sales, and he, Li Huaizhou, also needs technical personnel. The boss told us to ask each other for people, as long as you take the BA project, you can transfer whoever you want. Liang Xiaojun once again assumed the leadership posture of someone who says he's in charge. Okay, fine, I'll see how I do tomorrow. Chao Weidong finished speaking and got up to leave Liang Xiaojun's office. Chapter 12, She Really Didn't Make Me Cry. Li Huaizhou, in his 40s, was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and was covered in designer brands. He was standing with his arms behind his back in front of the French windows in his office, looking out at the view. On the leather sofa behind him, sales manager Kai-Si, who weighed about 200 pounds, was reclining, a cigarette in his mouth. You and I don't understand technology. For the review meeting of the BA project tomorrow, how are we going to find the loopholes in Liang Xiaojun's plan? Li Huaizhou asked. Mr. Li, didn't you get Liang Xiaojun's plan for the meeting tomorrow? Since we have the plan, wouldn't it be better to find someone who understands technology to help find the loopholes? Chase flicked the ashes off his cigarette and said. Who? The boss's plan to set up a business unit has not yet started, and we don't have anyone who understands technology at the moment. Li Huaizhou said helplessly. Let's find someone in private, first tell him about the company's plan to set up a division, so that he can help us with peace of mind. After the division is set up, let him come to work for us as a technical manager. Chase came up with an idea that he thought was pretty good. Do you have someone suitable in mind? Li Huaizhou asked. I think Chao Weidong is quite good. This kid always works hard and is honest. Chase suggested. He had actually worked on quite a few projects with Chao Weidong, and at that time Chao had worked hard and been particularly proactive, and Chase had a good impression of him. No, this time Liang Xiaojun is asking him to do the plan, we can't let him pick on his own mistakes. Li Huaizhou rejected Chase's choice. Chase didn't ask Li Huaizhou how he knew about this. After thinking for a moment, he continued, that only leaves Zhao Guowei. He and Chao Weidong joined the company at the same time, and their technical skills are about the same. Good, go and ask him to talk. Be careful not to let Liang Xiaojun find out. I understand. After saying this, Chase left Li Huaizhou's office. As soon as he had left, a tall and beautiful woman walked into Li Huaizhou's office. This person was the #1 beauty in the sales department, Su Ruoyun. Su Ruoyun had long, chestnut-colored, wavy hair and was wearing a pair of red high heels, which highlighted her pair of snow-white, slender legs, making her look exceptionally sexy and charming. If the lecherous Chao Weidong were here, his heart would start pounding uncontrollably. Su Ruoyun entered the office and, without any courtesy, directly sat on the sofa, elegantly crossing her left leg over her right leg, a pose that was both provocative and sexy. Her beautiful eyes looked at Li Huaizhou with a sense of grievance. What's wrong, my beauty? Li Huaizhou saw how his beauty looked, and a carefree smile unique to a mature man appeared on his face. He walked over to Su Ruoyun and sat down next to her. His left hand skillfully rested on Su Ruoyun's slender jade-like hand, which he kept stroking. Su Ruoyun shook off Li Huaizhou's large hand, moved aside, separated herself from Li Huaizhou, and then looked at him with a sad expression in her eyes and said, I sent you a message yesterday, why haven't you replied to me yet? Did that really happen? Li Huaizhou pretended not to know. Give me your phone. Su Ruoyun said, reaching out to grab Li Huaizhou's phone. Li Huizhou suddenly got up, left the sofa, and quickly inserted the phone into his pocket. Then he walked to the desk, leaned back against it, and stared gloomily at the woman in front of him, who had a delicate complexion. Li Huizhou of course remembered the message Su Ruoyun had sent him, "Get a divorce and marry me." Faced with such a message, Li Huizhou simply didn't know how to reply, so he pretended not to see it and deleted it. Li Huizhou and Su Ruoyun looked at each other in silence. In the end, Li Huizhou spoke first. "Yun Yun, let's be good, don't make trouble, okay? The company is about to undergo major reforms, and I'm focusing all my energy on that." "Li, what do you mean I'm causing trouble? You told me your marriage was dead. So you can end it with her and start it with me, can't you? Su Ruoyun, please, we're both adults. We're just having fun together, don't take it too seriously, okay? So you're not getting a divorce?" "No. So what am I? A lover? A mistress?" Su Ruoyun was on the verge of a breakdown, and she shouted in a tearful voice. Li Huizhou was anxious, and he quickly shouted at her, "Su Ruoyun, will you stop? Keep your voice down." Su Ruoyun completely broke down and screamed, "So what if I won't stop?" The sound carried outside the office, and the people in the sales department turned their heads and looked at Li Huizhou's office, then whispered to each other. "What's going on? I don't know. Who's in there?" "I think it was Su Ruoyun who just went in." TSK, I've heard for a long time that they have an unusual relationship." Manager Kai Si, who had just come out of Li Huizhou's office, coughed lightly and said, "What are you looking at? What's there to see? What are you talking about? Have you called the customers today? I'll dock your performance if you don't." The crowd quickly turned back and stopped talking. In the office of Li Huizhou, the vice president of sales. With a slap, Li Huizhou gave her a hard slap. Su Ruoyun's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the man before her with horror. "Li Huizhou, how dare you hit me?" As soon as he had hit her, Li Huizhou regretted it and quickly held out his hands to support Su Ruoyun's shoulders, saying, "Yun Yun, I'm sorry, I was wrong, let's not make a scene, okay?" Su Ruoyun flung Li Huizhou's hands away, covered the half of her face that had been beaten, and cried as she stormed out of Li Huizhou's office and then left Tianyi and Company directly. Li Huizhou, with a face full of anger, walked to the office door and kicked the glass door. With a loud bang, the office door closed. In the elevator, Chao Weidong, who had finished work early, ran into Su Ruoyun, who was crying her eyes out. This beauty, Chao Weidong, is someone he knows. In the past, as an honest and good-natured man, Chao Weidong was afraid to say more than a few words to the beautiful Su. But times have changed, and today's Chao Weidong is no longer the same as the Chao Weidong of the past. He is a handsome, kind-hearted young man, and when he sees a beautiful woman who has been wronged, how could he not go up to her and offer her some comfort? "Su, what's wrong? Is there anything I can do to help?" Chao Weidong said as he placed one hand on the beautiful Su's shoulder. "Get lost!" Su Ruoyun shouted, shaking off Chao Weidong's hand. At that moment, the elevator opened at an inopportune time. At the elevator entrance, there happened to be Lin, the administrative assistant, returning to the company after running an errand. Su Ruoyun rushed out of the elevator in tears. Assistant Lin looked at Chao Weidong's hand, which was frozen in midair, and instantly understood what had happened. She gave Chao Weidong a cold stare. "Humph, scoundrel. What the hell is this?" Chao Weidong withdrew his hand from midair and glanced at Assistant Lin. The latter turned around and ignored the rogue Chao Weidong. Chao Weidong helplessly smiled wryly, shook his head, and walked out of the elevator. Before the elevator door closed, Chao Weidong turned back and defended himself. "She really wasn't made to cry by me." Humph. Chapter 13, Chased for 2 miles. When Chao Weidong walked out of the office building, he found Su Ruoyun sitting on the curb by the roadside, her head buried between her arms, still crying in distress. Chao Weidong walked over and sat down next to her. This time he did not extend his again. Instead, he took out of his pocket a pack of Huazi cigarettes that he had stolen from Liang Xiaojun, popped one out, and held it to his lips to light it. Halfway through the cigarette, Su Ruoyun's crying had stopped. She looked up at Chao Weidong, who had been sitting with her for a long time. Chao Weidong also looked at the beautiful woman next to him and smiled slightly. "Give me one," Su Ruoyun said. "Girls' skin will become rough if they smoke." Saying words of persuasion, Chao Weidong still handed Su Ruoyun a cigarette. Su Ruoyun placed the cigarette between her beautiful red lips, and Chao Weidong lit it for her. Cough, cough, cough. After taking the first drag, Su Ruoyun coughed uncontrollably, obviously not used to smoking. Chow Weidong was about to lift his hand to pat her back, but then he withdrew it. Forget it, this girl doesn't like people she doesn't know to touch her, Chow Weidong analyzed in his heart. After the first drag, Su Ruoyun slowly adapted to the second and third drags and stopped coughing. However, she was not inhaling deeply, and the smoke simply circled around her mouth before being spit out. Chow Wei watched her slowly become more at ease, and asked, "Feeling better?" Su Ruoyun glanced over and then spat a mouthful of smoke in Cao Wei's face. "No. How are you going to comfort me?" Chow Weidong blew out the smoke drifting towards his face, then said, "I'm poorly educated, so I'm not very good at spiritual or psychological comfort. As for physical comfort, you wish." Su Ruoyun stubbed out the cigarette in her hand, stood up and left directly. Chow Weidong also immediately stood up and followed the beautiful woman Su. The two of them, one in front of the other, walked aimlessly for 2 kilometers. Su Ruoyun looked indifferent, and didn't even glance back at Chow Weidong. Chow Weidong didn't say a word either. He casually threw one of his thin jackets over his left shoulder, and kept following, with a cigarette in his mouth. After passing by a subway station, Su Ruoyun didn't choose to enter the station, but suddenly turned around and stared at Chow Weidong, who pretended to look left and right, and said, "Why are you following me? Do you want to sleep with me?" Chow Weidong was choked by the smoke and coughed uncontrollably. "What are you thinking? We worked together, and I followed you because I saw that you weren't feeling well and I was afraid something might happen to you," Chow Weidong explained, once he had recovered. "What could happen to me? You were crying so sadly just now, so I think you've probably just broken up with someone. If you suddenly can't take it anymore and jump in the river, I can go in after you." "You're the one who jumped into the river. Even if you didn't jump into the river, if you're in a bad mood and go to a bar to drink, and someone picks up your body after you've drunk too much, I can still save you." Su Ruoyun took another look at her colleague, someone she didn't know very well. She had known Chow Weidong before, but in her impression, he was an honest man who buried his head in work all day long, and would only steal a few glances at women, never taking the initiative to strike up a conversation. Overall, he was a very boring man. But the person in front of her now was completely different. A slick, flirtatious guy. He had followed her shamelessly all the way here. He also had an oily smell about him that didn't match his age. Su Ruoyun spoke to Chow Weidong indifferently, "Don't follow me anymore. I'm not going to jump in the river, I'm not going to a bar, and I'm definitely not going to a hotel room with you. Am I that shallow? Do I have to go to a hotel room every time? Besides, does having sex in a hotel room mean that's all you do? There are many other things you can do." Chow Weidong looked like a proper gentleman. Su Ruoyun was amused by Chow Weidong, and her smile was so beautiful that CD Chow Weidong was directly mesmerized. He felt in his heart, this is the ultimate, this is another type of ultimate. It was not in vain that he chased after her for 2 li. Su Ruoyun and Chow Weidong eventually went to a hotel, the name of which was very romantic, the Roman Holiday Hotel. They drank in the hotel all night. What was infuriating was that Chow Weidong didn't get any advantage. The saleswoman could drink. Chow Weidong had his first blackout in his life. When he woke up, the beautiful woman was no longer by his side. His upper body was stripped by the beautiful woman, and her lips were written with all kinds of abusive words. What a sex fiend! What a bottomless pit! What a pervert! What a dirty old man! What a 3-second man! Finally, this woman drew a turtle in his belly button. Chow Weidong ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. He was even more angry. There was a red footprint on his handsome face. The space under his nose was also blackened with eyebrow pencil by this perverted woman. This was an image that Chow Weidong could not accept under any circumstances. "Damn it, Su Ruoyun, if I don't get you, I swear I won't be human anymore." Chow Weidong in front of the mirror rubbed his back teeth and swore viciously. Then Chow Weidong began to wash off the graffiti on his body. After taking a shower, Chow Weidong realized that his shirt was gone. The jacket and shirt he wore yesterday were taken away by that woman. Chow Weidong could only walk out of the hotel room wearing a pair of black trousers and a bare upper body. Fortunately, he had a pair of sunglasses in his handbag. Wearing sunglasses could cover half of his face. It's better to lose a little face, Chow Weidong thought. After walking into the elevator and going downstairs, Chow Weidong handed his room card key to the receptionist and then left the hotel. The receptionists were quite attractive, but Chow Weidong had no face to linger, let alone add them as friends. The receptionists, who were all pretty, couldn't stop laughing when they saw Chow Weidong's attire. Chow Weidong hurriedly walked out of the hotel door, and behind him came the unrestrained laughter of the beauties. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Why isn't this person wearing a shirt? Did his lover tear it? What a mess. What do you know, maybe this kind of attire is popular now, and he's deliberately not wearing it. Then why is he wearing pants but not clothes, and not the other way around? Giggle giggle. You're so horny. Chow Weidong felt embarrassed, so he quickly started running on the road, pretending to be doing a morning jog, and only then managed to avoid the surprised stares of the passers-by. Su Ruoyang, I'm going to strip you naked too, I promise. Chow Weidong made a wish as he ran. Soon, he saw an open clothing store, and without thinking, he ran in. Sir, you're early. The shopkeeper had just opened the door when he saw a lump of flesh run into his shop. Seeing Chow Weidong's strange attire, the shopkeeper suppressed a smile. I was exercising in the morning and hung my shirt on the horizontal bar in the park. When I left, I forgot to take it, and when I went back, it was gone. I don't know who took it, it's so annoying. Chow Weidong said to the shopkeeper, making up an excuse. The shopkeeper's face showed an expression of I see. If Chow Weidong hadn't said anything, the shopkeeper would have thought he was running away after being caught cheating. The shopkeeper pointed to a row of men's clothing and said to Chow Weidong, just pick whatever you like. This was a trendy men's clothing store, and there were no formal men's clothes. After looking for a long time, Chow Weidong still couldn't find the right suit for today's project meeting. In the end, he just picked a flowery shirt at random. At this time, Liang Xiaojuan's phone rang. My ancestors, why haven't you arrived at the company yet? Everyone from Ba is almost here. President Liang, lend me a shirt, I'll rush back to the company right now. Chapter 14 Explanation PPT. Tianying Automation Company, Liang Xiaojuan's office. Chow Weidong put on Ma Yaohui's white shirt. Ma Yaohui put on Chow Weidong's flower shirt. Liang Xiaojun was angry when he saw Ma Yaohui's clothes. He said to Chow Weidong, you obviously know that today's meeting is very important, and you still dress like this? Chow Weidong ignored him, buttoned up his white shirt, and turned half a circle in front of Ma Yaohui. Xiaoma, what do you think? Does it fit? Brother Dong, it's a bit. Chow Weidong looked at Liang Xiaojun. Liang Xiaojun covered his collar and said, don't you dare think about the one I'm wearing. He didn't want to attend such an important meeting today in ill-fitting clothes, and he still had to put on a good show in front of the beautiful CEO of Ba. President Liang, I'll be presenting the plan today, so I need to look good, especially since the CEO of the other company is a woman. You know, women pay the most attention to their appearance. Fuck. Liang Xiaojun cursed, then reached up and unbuttoned his shirt. After Chow Weidong and Liang Xiaojun had swapped clothes, the phone in Liang Xiaojun's office rang. Hello, this is Liang Xiaojun from the technical department. You're here? Okay, I understand. I'll come downstairs to greet you. Liang Xiaojun hung up the phone and said to Chow Weidong, you're here. Hurry up and get the projector set up in the conference room. I'll go downstairs to greet them. After he finished speaking, Liang Xiaojun walked out of the office first. When he reached the door, he remembered something and turned back to say, tell Zhao Guowei to attend the meeting together. The guy in the flowered shirt doesn't need to go. Ma Yaohui looked aggrieved. Chow Weidong patted the flower-shirted man on the shoulder and walked out of the office. After arriving at the meeting room, he copied the plan onto the computer of the projector and waited for the arrival of the stunningly beautiful CEO. After a while, Zhao Guowei and the sales manager of the sales department, Kai Si, walked in together. When Kai Si entered the meeting room, he saw that there was only Chow Weidong there. A sneer flashed in the corner of his mouth. He found the seat with his name on it, sat down and said, Chow, it's up to you to show your stuff today. The sales department is very smooth, even though they know that the two departments are competing with each other, they are still very polite when speaking to each other. Chow Weidong of course saw Chase's sneer, but he didn't care and responded enthusiastically, Manager Kai is joking, I'm just going to talk about the PPT, in the end, whether the customer can be talked down or not, it still depends on you leaders. Ha, you kid is getting better and better at talking. As Chase finished speaking, the door to the meeting room was pushed open by Liang Xiaojun, who entered with Li Huizhou and the Ba company staff. Liang Xiaojun was beaming, please come in, Mr. Lin. Today's preliminary review will be conducted here. Chow Weidong saw the sweet, soft gold brick he had been thinking about day and night. Today, Lin Wanqing was wearing a light blue suit dress, with a white shirt and a light blue blazer on top, and a name tag hanging from her chest. Her feet were encased in a pair of black high heels, and her legs were clad in Chow Weidong's favorite black stockings. The whole outfit was extremely refined and capable. She is the best of the best. Chow Wei-dong thought with emotion. Compared to Su Ruoyun, that crazy woman, she has so much better temperament. Chow Wei-dong gritted his teeth viciously when he thought of that woman. Behind Lin Wanqing were 3 women and 4 men, all of them dressed in standard business attire, the women in shirts and suits with skirts, and the men in shirts and trousers with ties. Everyone's face had the kind of confidence that comes from working for a multinational corporation. When they saw the guests enter, Chow Wei-dong, Zhao Guowei, and Kai Si all stood up from their seats. Lin Wanqing froze for a moment when she saw Chow Wei-dong. Chow Wei-dong gave her a slight smile. Lian Xiaojun, who was accompanying them, saw Lin Wanqing freeze for a moment and thought she was unhappy with the meeting room. He quickly explained, "Lin Zong, I'm sorry, our Tianying is a small company, and the conditions are a bit simple, please forgive me." After confirming that it was Chow Wei-dong, Lin Wanqing gave a faint smile and then turned to Liang Xiaojun and said, "Never mind, let's just get started quickly." Liang Xiaojun didn't know that Lin Wanqing's faint smile was directed at Chow Wei-dong. He thought that the beautiful CEO was smiling at him, and his heart melted. Seeing Liang Xiaojun's foolishness, Li Huizhou on the side despised him in his heart. Liang Xiaojun, the king of bullshitters, is so stupid that he doesn't even let the guests sit down? He smiled and said, "Please sit, Ms. Lin." Liang Xiaojun then reacted, and quickly agreed, "Please sit, Ms. Lin, please sit everyone." Everyone took their seats, and Ms. Lin, the administrative assistant, went into the room and poured everyone attending the meeting a cup of hot tea. In the sales department, a short-haired beauty came to attend the meeting. This person, Chow Wei-dong, was very familiar with sales Hu Jing. With a refined man's head, he is decisive and extremely capable. He is the company's best-performing salesperson after Chase. Chow Wei-dong knows her well because Hu Jing used to work with him a lot. Whenever Hu Jing landed a new project, she would ask Chow Wei-dong to provide pre-sales technical support. Because Chow Wei-dong used to be hard-working and diligent. Hu Jing sat down, and Liang Xiaojun began introducing the participants. "President Lin, let me introduce the participants to you. This is our vice president in charge of sales at Tianying, Li Huizhou." Li Huizhou stood up and nodded, and at the same time said, "Welcome, Mr. Lin, and the distinguished guests from Ba, to our Tianying company." After Li Huizhou finished speaking, he sat down in his seat. "This is our sales manager, Kai Si." Kai Si stood up and nodded, then sat down. "This is Ms. Hu Jing. This is Zhao Guowei from our technical department. This is Chow Wei-dong from our technical department, and he is also the keynote speaker for this project." Liang Xiaojun finally introduced Chow Wei-dong. Lin Wanqing was a little surprised. She didn't expect to meet here the person who had saved her son the other day, but who she had mistakenly slapped. Moreover, he was the keynote speaker at this review meeting. Fate is quite a strange thing. Chow Wei-dong had no idea what Lin Wanqing was thinking. He opened the PPT and began to give a serious explanation. The project that our company, Tianying, and Ba are collaborating on is an automated control system for container loading at docks. Our company, Tianying, is very experienced with this type of control system, and we have no less than 10 successful cases. For this project, I have incorporated the concept of energy conservation and environmental protection into the original successful solution, and formed a new plan. Chow Wei-dong opened the PowerPoint and spoke eloquently. Li Huizhou and Kai Si felt a tightening in their hearts at the first glance of the plan. The 2 men exchanged glances. Li Huizhou took out his phone and sent Kai Si a message under the table. "What's going on? Did he change the plan?" "I don't know." Kai Si replied. "Tell Zhao Guowei that the plan is wrong, and let him do whatever he wants. Don't care about Liang Xiaojun's reaction, I'll protect him." "Got it." No one at the meeting noticed the small actions of Li Huizhou and Chase. Zhao Guowei, who was next to Chow Wei-dong, quickly received a message. After opening it and taking a quick look, he quickly turned off the screen and listened carefully to Chow Wei-dong's explanation. The people from Ba were all focused on Chow Wei-dong's PPT. After all, they were from a big company and were very focused. Lin Wanqing, on the other hand, was a little distracted. She looked at the PowerPoint on the projection screen for a while, then shifted her gaze to Chow Wei-dong's handsome face as he concentrated on his work. Yes, the way a man works with focus really adds to his appeal. Lin Wanqing thought to herself. Chapter 15, this is called professionalism. Chow Wei-dong's explanation of the project plan lasted 45 minutes. Lin Wanqing didn't interrupt him, and he was able to finish his explanation smoothly. His immediate superior did not interrupt to ask questions, and the others from Ba did not easily raise their hands to ask questions either. This made Zhao Guowei a little sweaty with anxiety. The client did not ask any questions, so he did not dare to speak easily either. Li Huizhou and Kai Si were also quite anxious, but they likewise did not interrupt Xiao Weidong for the same reason as Zhao Guowei. The other reason was that they didn't understand technology. Hu Jing, on the other hand, looked like she was listening attentively. Liang Xiaojuan's heart was already filled with joy. Little Chao is not bad, this plan is watertight. The beautiful president on the other side was unable to ask a single question. Excellent, excellent, worthy of being my disciple, Liang Xiaojun thought. Liang Xiaojun thought happily. At the same time, he glanced over to Li Huizhou, and seeing the faint bitterness on the other person's face, Liang Xiaojun felt even more pleased. He even crossed his legs under the table and started to shake with glee. Xiao Weidong's explanation came to a smooth end. He smiled at Lin Wanqing and said, "My explanation of the plan is finished. I wonder if you have any questions." Lin Wanqing took the lead in applauding for Xiao Weidong, and the others from Ba quickly responded. Liang Xiaojun followed suit with a smug smile, his applause the loudest of all. Li Huizhou, Kai Si, Hu Jing from the sales department and Zhao Guowei from the technical department could only reluctantly follow suit. After the applause stopped, Lin Wanqing smiled and said, "Thank you, Manager Qiao, for your introduction. I am quite satisfied with this plan, especially the integration of the concepts of energy conservation and environmental protection. I really like it." Then she turned to her colleagues and said, "What about you? If you have any questions or comments, you can raise them." The leaders all said they really like it, so what problems could they have? One of the beautiful women spoke up and said, "We agree with General Manager Lin." "Ha ha ha, thank you for your recognition, Mr. Lin. You have no idea how seriously we at Tianying take this project. Manager Qiao and I have been working overtime for a week on this proposal." Liang Xiaojun began his boasting. What he didn't notice was Zhao Guowei sitting next to him, whose face had turned a livid shade of red since hearing the words "Manager Qiao." No, something must be done, or else Manager Qiao Weidong is going to get the real hammer. Zhao Guowei kept reminding himself. Finally, he gritted his teeth and spoke, Liang Zong, I have a small suggestion." Liang Xiaojun, who was talking loudly and wildly, preparing to take all the credit for himself, looked back blankly at Zhao Guowei. "A suggestion? What suggestion?" Lin Wanqing on the other side also looked over with interest. Li Huizhou from the sales department glanced at Kai Si next to him, and the meaning of that look was, "You told him to make a suggestion?" Chase shook his head slightly. "I didn't. My suggestion is that the inverter that Mr. Qiao installed with the hoist motor is a 4-quadrant inverter, which I don't think is necessary. A 4-quadrant inverter is more than twice as expensive as a normal one, so I suggest using a normal inverter, which will lower the cost considerably." Zhao Guowei nervously finished his suggestion. Li Huizhou was delighted. Professional, awesome. He got right to the point, even though he didn't understand a word. He turned to Chase, who was sitting next to him. Chase nodded in response. He agreed that Zhao Guowei's suggestion was good. It wasn't too aggressive, and it wouldn't make the client feel that there was discord within Tianying. It also addressed a point that no client would ever ignore: cutting costs. Well, professional matters should be handled by professionals. Liang Xiaojun was furious. He had never expected Zhao Guowei to make such a non-committal suggestion. "You dare to interrupt me when I'm giving such an insignificant suggestion about reducing costs? Damn you!" Liang Xiaojun gave Zhao Guowei a sneaky glare, and his legs stopped shaking under the table. He turned to Qiao Weidong and waited for him to explain. The other people at the meeting also turned their attention to Qiao Weidong. Qiao Weidong gave a frank smile and said, "Engineer Zhao's suggestion is very good, but it's not quite suitable for this project because my plan incorporates energy conservation and environmental protection. The 4-quadrant inverter is used to feed back some of the electrical energy into the power grid during the hoisting process, which saves energy. Therefore, this 4-quadrant inverter cannot be easily replaced." After Qiao Weidong had finished speaking, the knowledgeable Zhao Guowei instantly wilted. He bowed his head and stopped talking. Liang Xiaojun was extremely happy. Professional. This is what I call professional. The leg under his desk started shaking again. Lin Wanqing led the applause again. After the applause stopped, Lin Wanqing spoke, "Thank you, Zhao Gong, for your suggestion. Saving costs is definitely a good idea, but I really value the energy conservation and environmental protection concepts in Manager Qiao's plan. The country is now vigorously promoting energy conservation and environmental protection, so Manager Chow's original plan should not be changed. We will take it back and study it carefully, and then our two companies can talk about the next step of our cooperation. Lin Wanqing definitely spoke up for his acquaintance, not to mention his great benefactor. Chow Weidong nodded slightly to Lin Wanqing. Thank you, Mr. Lin, for your recognition. Liang Xiaojun laughed heartily, and then, regardless of whether the others liked it or not, he launched into another self-aggrandizing tirade. It lasted for more than 10 minutes. After seeing Lin Wanqing slightly becoming impatient, Liang Xiaojun ended his speech with reluctance, and the meeting came to an end. Before leaving the conference room, Lin Wanqing came over specifically to shake Chow Weidong's hand. Chow Weidong felt the smoothness of Lin Wanqing's hands and his heart fluttered. Manager Chow, let's have dinner tonight? Lin Wanqing said with a smile. Yes, Chow Weidong was a little incoherent. The bad mood from last night, when he was tossed around by that crazy woman Su Ruoyan, was now gone. Our golden brick is still the best. Lin Wanqing smiled and then turned and left. In the conference room, everyone else from Tianying heard what Lin Wanqing had just said to Chow Weidong. Everyone had an expression of surprise. Liang Xiaojun thought to himself, so, he's been asked out? This guy is something. Li Huizhou thought to himself, what's this Chow Weidong's game? It was President Lin who took the initiative to ask him out. Zhao Guowei, it's over, I'm done for, I've lost my manager. Hu Jing looked at Chow Weidong's handsome and imposing face a few more times, and thought to herself, interesting. Li Huizhou and Liang Xiaojun walked out of the meeting room to see Lin Wanqing and the others downstairs. Chow Weidong followed them out of the meeting room. He looked at Lin Wanqing's charming back and thought to himself, should I bring my ID with me tonight? Chapter 16, Weidong, Financial Freedom, Rich, Chow. Liang Xiaojun returned to the company after seeing the others off. He called Chow Weidong and Ma Yaohui into his office. The three of them exchanged their shirts in Liang Xiaojun's office. As soon as they had taken off their shirts, the door to the office was pushed open by a tall and beautiful woman. It was Hu Jing from the sales department. Seeing three grown men with their shirts off in a room together, Hu Jing looked surprised. She thought she had wandered into a northern men's bathhouse by mistake. Excuse me? Am I interrupting your party? Shit. Chow Weidong held up the clothes he had just taken off to cover his chest. Liang Xiaojun did the exact same thing as Chow Weidong, and he whispered, fuck. Ma Yaohui, on the other hand, did one more thing than the other two. He turned around to face Hu Jing. Hu Jing knew she had seen something she shouldn't have, so she immediately withdrew her head, which she had just poked in, and then closed the office door. In Liang Xiaojun's office, the three men with their upper bodies exposed let out a sigh of relief. The young Ma Yaohui was now blushing. Chow Weidong and Liang Xiaojun had thicker skin, and their faces remained unchanged. At that moment, the damned office door was pushed open again, and Hu Jing poked her head in again and said, nice figure, keep it up. Snap. The woman even raised her phone to take a photo. Get out of here. Liang Xiaojun threw the clothes in his hands at Hu Jing. Hu Jing smiled and closed the door, avoiding Liang Xiaojun's clothes cannon. President Liang, it's all your fault. Chow Weidong said to Liang Xiaojun as he put on his flowery shirt. My fault? Yes, you don't have any leadership at all, and just about anyone dares to enter your office without knocking. Chow Weidong said. Liang Xiaojun couldn't sit still when he heard someone say that he didn't have the demeanor of a leader. He hurriedly said, don't you know that wild girl Hu Jing? She goes to the boss's office without knocking on the door. Ha! Chow Weidong sneered. You don't believe me? Chow Weidong didn't respond. He stood up, buttoning up his flower-patterned shirt as he walked out. When he reached the office door, he turned back and said, General Liang, I need to go out for a while this afternoon with pay to prepare for the dinner tonight. Liang Xiaojun was angry when he saw that this guy could put on an act better than he could, but then he thought, there was nothing he could do about it. After all, who could blame the beautiful CEO for falling for this little rascal? Superficial pretty women only care about the good-looking skin on the outside. She will never understand how rare a mature, stable man with substance like him is. Liang Xiaojun let out a deep sigh, and resumed his manner of a company vice president. He got dressed, leaned back on the sofa, and with full of leadership, waved his hand and said, Go, remember to change into a decent outfit, don't ruin the image of our Tianying company. Chow Weidong went out and ran into Hu Jing, who was waiting outside the door. He looked up and down at this man-head beauty. Chao Weidong thought to himself, Hu Jing, you've got a great body, not to mention your long legs, and your skin is white. And you've got a man's head, which is quite attractive. Unfortunately, I heard she doesn't like men. But never mind, I'll find a way to let her try being with a man. She won't be able to stop. Hu Jing looked at Chao Weidong's strange expression and felt a little puzzled, so she said, Chao Weidong, I feel like you're not the same as you used to be. Why? Are you interested in me? Shall we go on a date and have an in-depth communication and exchange? Although I'm quite busy recently, I can change my plans for my old partner, the beautiful Hu Jing. As Chao Weidong spoke, he coquettishly put on sunglasses and a smile appeared on his face. With the cover of the black sunglasses, his one-color eyes frantically scanned Hu Jing's whole body. Hu Jing gave Chao Weidong a disgusted look and said, I don't like men with just one six-pack. Chao Weidong thought to himself, damn, didn't you just compliment her on her figure? Why did she change her mind so quickly? Women. He shrugged at Hu Jing and turned to leave. Chao Weidong had no intention of asking Hu Jing why she had come to see Liang Xiaojun. He didn't care about work at all. He now had to go back and get ready for his date that night. At 7 p.m., at Minqing Square, Chao Weidong, who had brought his ID, was having dinner at one of Yangcheng's most famous seafood restaurants, number 69 Fishing Boat, for the first time. In the past, when he was poor, the most seafood he could afford to eat was the Zhanjiang grilled oysters sold in the city's villages, and the kelp sold by the caddy in supermarkets and vegetable markets. Chao Weidong, who had just walked into the lobby of number 69 Fishing Boat, saw a variety of seafood laid out before him. There were lobsters that Chao Weidong couldn't name, crabs of unknown species, and all kinds of fish, shellfish, and so on. Anyway, for Weidong, financially free, rich, and Chao, none of these things were familiar to him. Chao Weidong simply ignored the crowd of people pointing and gesturing around the seafood, looking at them like they were really strange. He walked up to a waitress in a restaurant uniform with a sweet and cute face and asked, Where is the Jasmine private room? The sweet girl smiled slightly, revealing a cute dimple, and said, Please follow me. The sweet girl led the way, and Chao Weidong followed behind. At this time, he was in no mood to scan the girl in front of him up and down. Instead, his mind was full of other things. How could that shrimp with a pair of long whiskers be so big? Walking into the Jasmine private dining room, Chao Weidong felt like he had forgotten his ID card at home. Lin Wanqing didn't come alone, she also brought along her son, Lin Luoluo. As soon as they entered the box, Lin Luoluo made a face at Chao Weidong, a little, Azu, stop it. Lin Wanqing looked at her mischievous son and smiled, saying to Chao Weidong, Manager Chao, please sit down. Manager Chao? Chao Weidong felt that this title was very awkward and could not bring him any closer to the divorced young woman Lin Wanqing. However, he could not let her call him Chao Zong, or Liang Xiaojun would come and kill him. Chao Weidong smiled and extended his hand to Lin Wanqing. He wanted to take the opportunity to shake hands with the ultimate beauty again and get a little closer. At that moment, a small hand grasped Chao Weidong's outstretched hand. It was little Azu Lin Luoluo who had finished shaking hands for her mother. Chao Weidong made a face and then sat down. This Jasmine box was a small private room with a rectangular table for four. Lin Wanqing and Lin Luoluo sat opposite Chao Weidong. Chao Weidong sat alone on the other side. As soon as he sat down, he wondered if he could eat the prawn he had just seen. At that moment, Lin Wanqing's phone rang. Hello, you've arrived? Oh. We're in the Jasmine box. After hanging up, Lin Wanqing explained to Chao Weidong, we still have one person coming. Chao Weidong thought to himself, why is there another person here? Before long, a figure that Chao Weidong was familiar with pushed open the door to the box and walked in quickly. She was a beautiful woman wearing a long black dress with suspenders. When she got to Chao Weidong's side, she didn't care whether he was happy or not, and just sat down, pushing Chao Weidong inwards. Go on in, what's your bottom got to do with it? It's taking up so much room. The beauty said to Chao Weidong without any courtesy. The moment she had just entered the door of the box, Chao Weidong had seen who it was. Su Ruoyun? Chapter 17, Sister-in-Law? It was none other than the beauty who had tossed Chao Weidong around all night last night, Su Ruoyun. Looking at Chao Weidong, who was stunned, Su Ruoyun gave him a kiss through the air with her flaming red lips. Moi. Sister-in-law, I want a moi too. Little Azu on the other side yelled. Su Ruoyun also sent a moi through the air to little Azu. Little Azu giggled happily. Chao Weidong looked at Lin Wanqing and then at the crazy woman by his side, Su Ruoyun. He was completely confused. little sister-in-law? Lin Wanqing saw his confusion and explained with a smile, Ruoyan is my cousin, and she also recommended your company, Tianying, to me. I purposely asked her to come today, thinking that since you are colleagues, you could have dinner together and strengthen your relationship. Chao Weidong was furious. Enhancing the relationship, my ass. There's nothing for me to enhance with this crazy woman. Lin Wanqing is a supremely intelligent woman, and she could tell that there was something between the two of them. So she took her son, Lin Luoluo, and walked towards the door. Luoluo, mommy's going to go order food outside, do you want to come? Let's go look at the big crabs. Yes. Lin Luoluo happily jumped off his chair and followed Lin Wanqing out of the private room. Lin Wanqing casually closed the door of the box, leaving only two handsome men and beautiful women with their hearts in their minds. Su Ruoyan leaned over, rested her left arm on the back of the chair, and facing Chao Weidong, she whistled. Chao Weidong pretended to be calm, picked up the teapot, and slowly poured himself a cup of chrysanthemum tea, taking a sip. You want to sleep with my cousin? Su Ruoyun spoke. Hearing the frenzied words of the woman, Chao Weidong almost choked on the chrysanthemum tea he had just drunk. Cough cough. Are you fucking sick? Lin and I are just good friends. Really? Su Ruoyun didn't believe him. Believe it or not. Chao Weidong turned his face to the side, picked up his teacup, and continued drinking his tea. He didn't want to deal with this crazy woman. You're flirtatious and attractive, and my cousin is so pretty, you definitely have designs on her. But I'm warning you, as long as I'm around, you won't get anywhere. Su Ruoyun issued a warning to Chao Weidong. Chao Weidong didn't take it seriously. He turned around and stared at Su Ruoyan's stunning face and said, Su Ruoyan, in your eyes, are all men like animals, with only two options when it comes to women, wanting to have sex and not wanting to have sex? Of course, you men are all the same, none of you can control your thing. When Su Ruoyan said this, she thought of Li Huaizhou, who made her feel resentment. You're wrong, I, Chao Weidong, am different. I'm an upright, kind and handsome man, not as despicable as you think. Chao Weidong was serious. He wanted to correct Su Ruoyun's view of him. You were looking at my cousin with a dirty look just now, said Su Ruoyun. That was a normal look a man gives when admiring beautiful things, Chao Weidong defended. You keep looking at her breasts and mine, said Su Ruoyun again. I'm shy, and when I look at a beautiful woman, I get embarrassed, so my gaze naturally drops. This is very reasonable and normal, Chao Weidong continued to argue. You mean, I'm pretty too? Su Ruoyun deliberately thrust her chest out at Chao Weidong. SOSO. Chao Weidong was stubborn and he didn't want to flatter this crazy woman. Heh, stupid man. Heh, crazy woman. The two of them just kept on, back and forth, having a great time arguing. After a long time, the door to the private room was pushed open and Lin Wanqing and Lin Luoluo returned. Lin Luoluo bounced into the seat opposite Chao Weidong and said excitedly, Uncle Chao, you didn't go there. There was a huge shrimp. I told Mummy I wanted to take him home as my pet, but she said no. Chao Weidong laughed and rubbed Lin Luoluo's head, saying, that's food, you can't keep it as a pet. Lin Wanqing then looked at Su Ruoyan and asked, Yun, how did your chat go? It was pretty good. Manager Chao even asked me to go to the movies after dinner. I want to go too. Lin Luoluo exclaimed. Movies at night aren't suitable for children. Su Ruoyan held out her right hand and gave Lin Luoluo's nose a little nudge. Lin Luoluo stuck out her tongue and made a face. Soon, the beautiful waitress brought them their food. Chao Weidong noticed that Lin Wanqing had not ordered the seaweed he usually ate. In the end, the waiter actually brought the prawn that he had been thinking about. During the meal, Su Ruoyan also ordered a bottle of foreign wine, and she invited Chao Weidong to drink with her. How would Chao Weidong dare? He had seen how much this crazy woman could drink, and he chose to drink milk like Xiaozu. Men love to drink. Su Ruoyan finished the bottle of foreign wine by herself. Yun, is there something on your mind? The brilliant CEO Lin Wanqing could tell from the reckless way Su Ruoyan was drinking that the woman must be troubled. I'm in love with a colleague, but he doesn't love me. Su Ruoyan, already 3/4 drunk, said lightly. When she said this, she glanced at Chao Weidong, who was drinking milk nearby, deliberately or not. Chao Weidong felt baffled. He said to Su Ruoyan, why are you looking at me? Scumbag. With an innocent look, Chao Weidong turned to Lin Wanqing and said, Lin, don't listen to her nonsense. I have nothing to do with her. Lin Wanqing smiled and nodded. She knew that it was her cousin who was teasing Chow Weidong. Lin Wanqing more or less knew about the ambiguous relationship between Su Ruoyun and Li Huaizhou, the vice president of sales at Tianying Company. However, now she looked at the two handsome men and beautiful women across from her, who seemed like they hated each other, and suddenly Lin Wanqing felt an urge to match them up. The more she looked at them, the more she felt that they were a good match. "I'll go pay the bill." After they had eaten and drunk their fill, Lin Wanqing took Lin Luoluo and walked out of the private room. The private room was left with just Chow Weidong and Su Ruoyun. The wine was getting to her, and Su Ruoyun's courage was growing. She looked straight at Chow Weidong, hoping that he would say something. She wanted to give him a piece of her mind. But Chow Weidong could see what Su Ruoyun was thinking. He didn't want to deal with the drunk woman at all, and instead, he mindlessly swiped his phone, waiting for Lin Wanqing to come back and settle the bill so that he could escort the beautiful CEO home. As for Su Ruoyun, whoever wanted to escort her, they could do it, but he, Chow Weidong, was not going to do it. But after waiting for a long time, Lin Wanqing did not return. Chow Weidong was a little anxious. He was just about to get up and go look for Lin Wanqing when his phone rang. "Hello, Manager Chow, I've already finished paying the bill and left. Ruoyun has had quite a bit to drink, so could you please help her home?" It was Lin Wanqing's gentle voice on the other end of the line. Chow Weidong hung up the phone and looked at Su Ruoyun, who was drunk and disoriented. He cursed under his breath, "Fuck." But Su Ruoyun heard him. She said defiantly, "Come on. You don't think I dare?" "You just don't dare, Mr. Mouthwaterer." Chow Weidong helped Su Ruoyun up and walked out of the private room. Chapter 18, This script is just too good. Chow Weidong was drunk again. It was destined to be another sleepless night. A recently divorced horny man and a charming woman. They vented their unhappiness and anxiety in the most primitive way adults can. The next morning, in room 8851 of the Hilton International Hotel, Chow Weidong and the beautiful woman next to him, who had just woken up, stared at each other for a long time. He asked, bewildered, "Who are you? Why am I here? What have you done to me?" The beautiful woman replied, "I'm your baby. Say something human." Chow Weidong lifted the quilt and saw something he shouldn't have seen, and quickly covered it again. The beautiful woman next to him laughed lightly, "Boss, you're still shy? You saw everything last night. Who are you?" "Xiao Shui. Why am I here? I don't understand. When I arrived, you were already in the room, drunk and looking for something. Who asked you to come?" "Your friend. She ordered a night's worth of service and hasn't paid yet." "Su Ruoyun, I'm not finished with you." The owner of Tianying Automation Company rented 2 floors of office space in the Science Building in the Yangcheng High-Tech Development Zone, where many high-tech companies are located, as the office location for Tianying. The 26th floor of the Science Building is home to the Administrative Department and the Technology Department where Chow Weidong works. The 27th floor is where the Sales Department and Finance Department of Tianying Company are located. At 10 a.m., when he returned to the Science Building, Chow Weidong did not go back to the Technology Department on the 26th floor, but took the elevator directly to the Sales Department on the 27th floor. As soon as he got out of the elevator, he met Hu Jing, who had short hair and was wearing hot pants. "Hey, what brings our big boss Chow here?" Hu Jing looked Chow Weidong up and down. She sensed that the guy seemed to be hiding anger, so she deliberately stared at him with a provocative look. "I'm looking for Su Ruoyun." Chow Weidong got straight to the point. "Su Ruoyun? What do you want with her?" Hu Jing stared at Chow Weidong, as if she wanted to dig some unscrupulous secrets out of his gaze. "Su Ruoyun is a great beauty in the sales department of Tianying Company. Why is Chow Weidong, who has just changed from an honest man to a womanizer, looking for her? Could it be that he also wants to woo Su Ruoyun? That shouldn't be the case, as this guy and Su Ruoyun don't really interact much." Chow Weidong politely glanced at Hu Jing's snow-white long legs under her shorts, then stuck his head out and looked over Hu Jing's shoulders to the sales department's office area, searching for the madwoman's figure. At the same time, he very perfunctorily replied to Hu Jing, "It's our General Liang who told me to find her." Without even thinking, Chow Weidong used Liang Xiaojun as a shield. At that moment, Li Huaizhou happened to pass by the two of them. He heard Chow Weidong's words, so his eyebrows furrowed slightly, and he asked, "What does Liang Xiaojun want with Su Ruoyun?" "Hello, Mr. Li, I don't know why Mr. Liang wants to see her either, maybe it's because of the Ba Company." Chow Weidong didn't expect to run into Li Huaizhou here, so he quickly made up an excuse. She's on vacation and didn't come to the office. Li Huizhou's tone was not good. Chao Weidong could feel Li Huizhou's cold attitude, and he smiled awkwardly and said, "Oh, that's fine, I'll come back next time." He turned and left. Hu Jing raised her eyebrows and returned to her own workstation. Li Huizhou, on the other hand, walked into his office with a gloomy face. With a bang, he slammed the door of his office shut, grabbed the phone on his desk, and dialed an internal number. "Yes, this is Liang Xiaojun." Liang's authoritative voice came over the phone. "This is Li Huizhou." "Oh, it's you, Li. What's up? Why did you send Chao Weidong to our sales department?" Li Huizhou did not mention Su Ruoyan directly, but used Chao Weidong to lead the conversation. Although Liang Xiaojun was usually arrogant and loved to act like a leader, he was not stupid. He could feel the displeasure in Li Huizhou's tone. If Li Huizhou is unhappy, Liang Xiaojun is happy. He quickly came to a conclusion. Chao Weidong must have gone to the sales department to look for beautiful women for the establishment of the business department. Moreover, this guy must have his eye on Su Ruoyun from the sales department. Chao Weidong probably doesn't know yet that Su Ruoyun is in a relationship with Li Huizhou. This is interesting. Liang Xiaojun's mouth curled up into a wicked smile. "Oldly, I asked Chao to learn from you in the sales department, and now that the business unit is about to be established, I'm going to train him to be an excellent salesperson." "Oh, yes, our Chao is so handsome, so to be fair, you should assign 2 beautiful saleswomen to teach him." "Oh, I think Hu Jing and Xiao Su would be good." With a loud pop, Li Huizhou hung up on Liang Xiaojun. Liang Xiaojun, on the other hand, felt extremely happy as he listened to the beep sound on the phone. He smiled as he walked out of the office and just happened to see Chao Weidong, who looked gloomy, walking back. "Chao, you're here? Hurry up, come into my office for a second." Chao Weidong gave Liang Xiaojun a look, wondering why the guy looked so happy. But he still walked into Liang Xiaojun's office. "Chao, you were just in the sales department?" Liang Xiaojun asked as soon as Chao Weidong sat down. Chao Weidong was a little surprised. How did this guy know he had just gone to the sales department? But he didn't want to delve into it, and instead said, "Didn't you say that our company is going to set up 2 business divisions? It's just a matter of the next couple of days. Once the boss gets back, there will be a meeting to announce it," Liang Xiaojun said. "At that time, how will the personnel in our business division be arranged?" Chao Weidong asked. "I'm the director of the first business division. You can choose either the technical manager or the sales manager of our business division, depending on your preferences. I don't care if I'm a manager or not. You promised me that I could pick a few people from the sales department. Lao Liang, I always keep my word. Okay, I want you to transfer Su Ruoyun over here. Chao Weidong must transfer that crazy bitch to work under him. By then, he'll have a good time getting his revenge." Liang Xiaojun shouted in his heart, "Nice." He couldn't wait to go up and hug Chao Weidong and kiss him. This kid is actually eyeing Li Huizhou's girl, the plot is just too good. Liang Xiaojun laughed heartily, walked over to Chao Weidong, patted him on the shoulder and said, "Little Chao really has good taste. Little Su in the sales department is indeed a rare talent. It is more than appropriate to have her come to our division to cooperate with your work. Don't worry, I will definitely get her to come over." Liang Xiaojun also gave Chao Weidong a thumbs up with a smile on his face. Chao Weidong was puzzled. What had gotten into Lao Liang today? "I'm just transferring Su Ruoyan, and look at him, so happy." "Lao Liang, are you having an affair with that crazy woman Su Ruoyun?" Lao Liang had just taken a sip of tea, and nearly spat it out. "What nonsense is this? Then why are you so excited? Don't you know? That's Xiao Su and Li Huizhou." Lao Liang used both thumbs to make an ambiguous gesture. Chao Weidong understood everything at once. However, Xiao Su is actually a talented person. Not only is she beautiful, she is also very capable. She uses sales techniques very appropriately, and she is also very good at reading people's expressions. Whatever the customer is thinking, it will not escape her pair of peach blossom eyes. Liang Xiaojun also suddenly praised Su Ruoyun. "He can fucking drink a lot." Chao Weidong added with gritted teeth. Chapter 19, A Graceful Lady, A Gentleman's Desire. I didn't get to meet Su Ruoyun. Chao Weidong was preparing to sneak out in the afternoon. Coincidentally, the boss of the company returned. The boss of Tianying Automation Company is Zhu Yongjun, and like sales manager Kai Si, he is a big fat man weighing more than 200 pounds. He has been on a business trip to the capital for more than a week, supposedly for a major project. Upon returning to the company, Zhu Yongjun immediately called Liang Xiaojun and Li Huaizhou into his office. Even though he suspected that Liang Xiaojun was after Su Ruoyan. In front of his boss, Li Huaizhou still hid his hostility towards Liang Xiaojun very well. The two of them appeared in Zhu Yongjun's office like comrades in arms who had fought together for many years, in a harmonious manner. Huaizhou, Xiaojun, long time no see, how is the company doing lately? Zhu Yongjun smiled as he motioned his two trusted subordinates to the sofa in his office. President Zhu, as the saying goes, a day apart is like a year apart. You've only been on a business trip for a week, but it feels like a month to me, he. Liang Xiaojun didn't care about that, he just started flattering Zhu Yongjun. Ha ha ha. Zhu Yongjun laughed heartily. Li Huaizhou was disgusted by Liang Xiaojun's low-level flattery, but seeing that Zhu Yongjun was in a good mood, he could only laugh with him. I went to the capital this time mainly for a major client. If we win this major client, our company's profits will at least quadruple this year. Zhu Yongjun said with a smile. Really? That's great. The boss is the boss, and every time he steps in, it's a big deal. If we add in the project we're about to get from Ba, won't the benefits of our company Tianying Automation multiply 6 times this year? Liang Xiaojun continued to flatter, and at the same time, he deliberately or unintentionally brought up the Ba project. Li Huaizhou was not happy at all. He muttered to himself, did you fucking close the deal? Multiply 6 times? Oh. The Ba project has been negotiated? Zhu Yongjun's smile grew even wider as he looked at Liang Xiaojun and asked. Although he was on a business trip, he had been keeping an eye on the project. Ba is a multinational company. Regardless of the size of the project. As long as they have cooperated, Tianying Company's external publicity will have a very successful case to showcase in the future. The final agreement has not yet been signed, but it is basically the same. Last night, I even sent Chao to have dinner with the vice president of the South China region. Zhu Yongjun doesn't know the truth. But Li Huaizhou does. It was Vice President Lin who invited Chao Weidong. How did it become that you, Liang Xiaojun, sent Chao to dinner with him? Can we at least pretend to be a little bit embarrassed? Li Huaizhou's sneer at the corner of his mouth was fleeting. But Liang Xiaojun happened to see it, and he silently despised him in his heart. I told you you'd be embarrassed. But the 3 people at the table are all 1,000-year foxes, so how could what they're thinking be shown on their faces? Chao. Zhu Yongjun couldn't think of anyone for a while. Chao Weidong, he's been with the company for many years and usually works very hard. Liang Xiaojun hurriedly reminded him. Oh, I remember, this young man is usually very hard-working, but he doesn't like to talk much, he's too shy. Zhu Yongjun remembered. Liang Xiaojun's eyes revealed a trace of strangeness, which quickly disappeared. He thought to himself, shy? This kid is now completely incompatible with that word. No longer shy, the young man has made great progress, and I plan to promote him recently. Liang Xiaojun said. Well, outstanding young people really need more opportunities. Zhu Yongjun nodded. Mr. Zhu, what about our establishment of a business unit? At this time, Li Huaizhou asked a question that both he and Liang Xiaojun had been concerned about recently. Liang Xiaojun cursed himself inwardly, damn, my mouth is slow. I should have brought this up. That old fox Li Huaizhou is just trying to steal my thunder. I asked you here to talk about this. Go back and let everyone know. There will be a company-wide meeting tomorrow, and I will announce this at the meeting. Liang Xiaojun, yes, Mr. Zhu. Li Huaizhou, yes, Mr. Zhu. The two of them walked out of Zhu Yongjun's office together. Li Huaizhou followed Liang Xiaojun into his office uninvited. What brings you here, Mr. Li? Liang Xiaojun asked with a smile as they entered the office. What do you mean, Liang Xiaojun? Li Huaizhou's expression was gloomy. What do you mean what? Liang Xiaojun pretended to be ignorant. You know the answer and you're asking? Li Huaizhou's tone became colder. Liang Xiaojun shrugged his shoulders at Li Huaizhou and folded his arms. He has no intention of telling. Why are you asking her about Su Ruoyan? In the end, Li Huaizhou gritted his teeth and said it. So it turns out that Li always wanted to ask about Su. Liang Xiaojun laughed. Humph. Aren't we going to set up a business unit? I'm very optimistic about Su's sales level and I'm going to transfer her to our business department one, so I told Chao to go find her and ask for her personal opinion. Don't even dream about it, she's not coming to you. Really? Does General Manager Li know her so well? I said he won't come, so don't bother. Li Huaizhou gave Liang Xiaojun a warning look and then pushed open the door. Liang Xiaojun looked at the office door that had closed again and a sneer curled the corner of his mouth. Ha, the writer Franz Kafka once said, the sparrows are on the river island, the lady is beautiful and a gentleman would like to court her. Sorry, Mr. Li, but we want Su Ruoyun. Liang Xiaojun walked to the door, pushed it open, and shouted in the direction of Chao Weidong's workstation, Chao Weidong, come here for a second. Chao Weidong staggered over. His face was full of resentment at not being able to leave work early in the afternoon. Ah Chao, it's not that I don't want you to leave work early, it's just that the boss is back today, so we can't be too reckless. Liang Xiaojun changed his attitude from just now when dealing with Li Huaizhou, and patiently explained to Chao Weidong. Not for anything else, but Chao Weidong's plan to woo Li Huaizhou's girlfriend made him feel very happy, and he didn't care if he was humble or not. Then tomorrow. Chao Weidong hadn't finished speaking when Liang Xiaojun interrupted with a wave of his hand. Tomorrow is also not possible, the boss is going to hold a meeting to announce the establishment of the business unit. Liang Xiaojun explained with a smile. Fuck. Chao Weidong was unhappy. The establishment of the business unit was a major event, and it was not good to be absent. Also, after the meeting, our business unit will be established. Do you plan to be the manager of the technical department or the sales department? I want to be the director of the business unit. Is that okay? Cough cough. Chao is joking. Humph. Getting down to business, which person from the sales department do you want to transfer? Give me a list, so I can ask Li Huaizhou for the person. After Liang Xiaojun said this, he looked at Chao Weidong with great anticipation. Chao Weidong saw Liang Xiaojun like this and knew that this guy was not holding back any good farts. Trying to discuss Li Huaizhou with him? That's pretty nice. I'm not going to cooperate with you. Everyone except Su Ruoyun is fine. Chao Weidong slumped onto the sofa and sneered. Liang Xiaojun roared, Chao Weidong, are you fucking sick? How can you turn your face faster than turning a book? Chapter 20, Storm Clouds Gather. The next day, 9 a.m. A staff meeting was held in the large conference room of Tianying Automation. Chao Weidong found the figure of the crazy woman Su Ruoyun in the crowd of the sales department. She was sitting with Hu Jing, keeping her head down the whole time, hiding half her face with her long hair, and not even glancing over to Chao Weidong's side. Fuck, putting on airs. Chao Weidong sneered at the corner of his mouth and muttered. Sitting next to Chao Weidong were Liang Xiaojun and Zhao Guowei. Liang had dressed up today, looking smart and well-groomed. He had also sprayed himself with perfume, which made Chao frown. Zhao looked distracted, and Chao couldn't tell what he was thinking. Now that everyone was here, the meeting could begin. Zhu Yongjun's usual style was to get straight to the point without any nonsense. I'm sure you've all heard about it before, but our company is going to undergo a reform. We'll be setting up 2 business divisions. Vice President Liang Xiaojun will be in charge of the first division, and he will be the director of the first division. Vice President Li Huaizhou will be in charge of the second division, and he will be the director of the second division. After Zhu Yongjun finished speaking, Liang Xiaojun straightened up slightly. Li Huaizhou's expression was relatively calm. Chao Weidong was distracted, and he kept looking over at Hu Jing and Su Ruoyun. Zhu Yongjun continued, the purpose of establishing these 2 business units is to better motivate everyone. The 2 business units will create healthy competition within the company, so that our company can develop even better. At this point, Chao Weidong's phone vibrated. He put the phone under the table, opened the screen, and Hu Jing sent him a message, have you seen enough? Chao Weidong gave the tomboy a look. None of your business? Then he sent Hu Jing an arrogant expression in return. Each business unit will have its own sales department and technical department. Then there will be some recent job changes within our company. Everyone should try to cooperate with the work of the 2 directors, Mr. Liang and Mr. Li. Mr. Zhu, can we choose which business unit to go to? At this time, Hu Jing, who was straightforward in character, asked directly. Zhu Yongjun smiled and praised her, Xiao is very good, I like it when you speak your mind. Then he continued, regarding the transfer of personnel, in principle, first of all, it must be voluntary, but the staffing of our 2 departments must be balanced. We can't have a group of salespeople doing technical work and a group of technicians doing sales. Wen Zhu Yongjun said this, he looked at Li Huaizhou and Liang Xiaojun intentionally or unintentionally. These 2 old foxes knew exactly what Zhu Yongjun meant. Zhu Yongjun was telling Liang Xiaojun and Li Huaizhou that the personnel transfer was definitely going to be implemented, and they should not cause any problems because of their own petty concerns. Liang Xiaojun was definitely going to cause problems, and he was determined to get Su Ruoyun. This was a chance to humiliate Li Huaizhou in a fair and above-board manner, so how could he let it go? As for Li Huaizhou, he definitely would not let Su Ruoyun go to Liang Xiaojun. Give his woman to that pretentious criminal? How could he? This means that we can choose which division to go to, but it also depends on whether the personnel structure of the two departments is reasonable. Hu Jing made a summary. Zhu Yongjun gave Hu Jing a thumbs up in front of the whole company, who was really smart. He gets it in one go. Okay, the meeting is over, and the two new directors will have to work hard to discuss the list. Zhu Yongjun withdrew his gaze and nodded to the two new directors Liang Xiaojun and Li Huaizhou. Li Huaizhou said, "Okay, Mr. Zhu." Liang Xiaojun smiled, "We're not working hard, boss, you are." Zhu Yongjun got up and left. As he passed Chao Weidong, he actually patted him on the shoulder and said, "Ah Chao, I heard, the Ba project is doing well, keep it up." "It's only right, thanks boss for the praise." Chao Weidong got up and responded. He still has to eat and lie down at Tianying Company, and he must always be respectful to the company's boss. As for the one next to him who sprays perfume, well, when it's time to knock him down a peg, I'll do it. After Zhu Yongjun left the meeting room, the participants began to leave one after the other. In the end, only Li Huaizhou, Liang Xiaojun, and Huang Qin, the administrative manager of Tianying Company, were left in the meeting room. Liang Xiaojun leaned back in his chair and crossed his legs. Li Huaizhou tilted his head and looked at Liang Xiaojun, who had started to shake his legs. Huang Qin always feels like she's superfluous in this meeting room. After a moment of hesitation, she spoke up, "Mr. Li, Mr. Liang, you discuss it among yourselves. Once you've reached a decision, I'll draft the list." After saying this, Huang Qin got up and left the meeting room as if she were escaping. As soon as she exited the meeting room door, she let out a long breath. "What's wrong, Qin?" Xiao Lin, the assistant sitting near the meeting room, asked her immediate superior. "Nothing, there's a storm coming." After saying this, Huang Qin walked straight back to her office. In the meeting room, the wind was blowing. "Old Li. I'm younger than you, old Liang. And Xiao Lin? That's not appropriate. Liang Xiaojun, if you've got something to say, just spit it out, don't beat around the bush. I want Su Ruoyan and Hu Jing, and you can give me whoever else you want." After saying this, Liang Xiaojun stared at Li Huaizhou's expression, not wanting to miss any uncomfortable feelings on the other person's part. As long as Li Huaizhou was uncomfortable, Liang Xiaojun would be happy. Li Huaizhou seemed to have been prepared for Liang Xiaojun's request, his face showing no emotion. He coldly replied, "Fine." Liang Xiaojun frowned, thinking to himself, "What does this guy mean? Trade Chao Weidong for him?" Li Huaizhou smiled coldly and continued, "Dream on." Liang Xiaojun knew that Li Huaizhou was deliberately trying to anger him. He also knew that if Chao Weidong were to be transferred to Li Huaizhou's team, with Lin Wanqing of Ba Company taking the initiative to invite Chao Weidong to dinner, the Ba Company project would be handed over to Li Huaizhou. How could that be? The Ba Company project was the first project after the establishment of their business department. Although this Chao Weidong is a bit of a jerk now, there is no way we can let him have the project. Liang Xiaojun thought this and began to smile hypocritically again. "Mr. Li, Chao Weidong is my right-hand man, I can't let him have it. We have two young newcomers here who are very good, Wang Xiaolu and Ma Yaohui." He deliberately brought up Wang Xiaolu, who Li Huaizhou had placed on his side. He wanted to tell Li Huaizhou, "Don't think that I, Director Liang, won't find out if you pull any tricks. Xiao Wang and Xiao Ma are both very good, but they are too young. I, Li Huaizhou, like older people. Older people have experience." Li Huaizhou raised his eyebrows, as if implying something. Liang Xiaojun cursed in his heart, "You're the one with the experience. When you go to the club to find a masseur, you don't look for an older one. Mr. Li, my Xiaoguo here is quite in line with your requirements, although I am reluctant in every way, but I can bear the pain and let you have him. Just don't hit on my Xiao Chao." Liang Xiaojun continued to play Tai Chi, knowing that it was not yet time to break the face. "That's fine, but don't hit on our Xiao Su and Xiao Hu either." "No, Mr. Li, I really like this girl Su. She was the first person I asked to transfer to my department. Just let her be mine." Liang Xiaojun deliberately provoked Li Huaizhou. The phrase, "I really like this girl Su" seemed to have touched Li Huaizhou's sore spot. He sat up abruptly and slammed his hand down on the table. Liang Xiaojun, will you stop it? People who like to put on airs often hate it when others do the same. Liang Xiaojun also snapped, slamming his hand down on the table and getting up. Li Huaizhou, what are you pretending with me? Lin, the assistant, who was eavesdropping outside the meeting room, realized that things were not good and quickly ran to the office of the administrative manager, Huang Qin, to report. Chao Weidong also heard the arguing and the slapping of the table in the meeting room. He silently said to himself, Old Liang, hang in there, I have confidence in you. Chapter 21 Tomboy Says Everything. Administrative manager Huang Qin did not wade into the mess herself, but instead called in the boss of Tianyi & Company, Zhu Yongjun. After Zhu Yongjun and Huang Qin entered the meeting room, the two men, Li Huaizhou and Liang Xiaojun, who had been glaring at each other, reluctantly sat down. Zhu Yongjun looked at the administrative manager Huang Qin next to him and smiled slightly. Manager Huang, you see, the two business divisions have only just been established, and there is already such a strong sense of rivalry. Huang Qin was speechless. They are about to fight, and you call that a good sign? However, competition is a good thing, but it must not damage harmony. We are all part of the same company, and we must all work for the company's interests. As Zhu Yongjun spoke, he turned his head and looked at Li Huaizhou and Liang Xiaojun. What President Zhu is saying is that just now, President Li and I were just a little loud, and there is nothing between us. Liang Xiaojun first smiled apologetically to show his stance. As soon as Li Huaizhou thought about Liang Xiaojun, who was currently in front of him, being a pretentious criminal who was thinking about Su Ruoyan, he felt indignant, but since Zhu Yongjun had come, he didn't want to continue to vent his anger. He just nodded weakly towards Zhu Yongjun. Okay, tell me about their differences, and I'll handle it. Zhu Yongjun said to Huang Qin. At this time, Huang Qin whispered in Zhu Yongjun's ear, General Lian wants to transfer Su Ruoyan and Hu Jing from the sales department, and General Li wants to transfer Chao Weidong from the technical department. The two of them don't agree, so they're arguing. Go and get the three of them over here, Zhu Yongjun said to Huang Qin. Huang Qin turned around and left the meeting room. In a moment, Chao Weidong entered the meeting room first. Chao is here, sit, Zhu Yongjun greeted him with a smile. Chao Weidong sat next to Liang Xiaojun and asked him with his eyes, why are you looking for me? Liang Xiaojun did not understand the meaning of Chao Weidong's eyes and ignored him. Not long after, Huang Qin walked in with the two beauties from the sales department, Su Ruoyan and Hu Jing. Zhu Yongjun asked the three to sit down. He got straight to the point, you three are all young talents at our Tianyi Company. Not only are you handsome and beautiful, you also have strong business skills. Now our two new directors are at loggerheads over you three. For the sake of the company's unity and common prosperity, I'm now asking for your own wishes to see which division you want to go to, so as not to let the two directors fight over you. After he finished speaking, Zhu Yongjun gave Li Huaizhou and Liang Xiaojun a sharp glance each. The meaning couldn't have been clearer. Both of you, Zhu Yongjun, just shut up. Chao Weidong, you go first. Zhu Yongjun directly named the person. I'm fine with either. Chao Weidong flinched a little. Liang Xiaojun suddenly froze upon hearing this. He turned his head and glared fiercely at Chao Weidong, then whispered, what do you want, kid? Don't be so ambiguous. Just say which division you want to go to, Department 1 or Department 2. Zhu Yongjun was slightly dissatisfied with Chao Weidong's answer. I'd rather stay under General Manager Liang. Chao Weidong said with a smile as he watched Liang Xiaojun, who was desperately trying to hold back his laughter. Liang Xiaojun let out a sigh. This brat is really a bastard. What about you, Su? Zhu Yongjun turned to Su Ruoyan, who was expressionless. Li Huaizhou's hands were trembling with nervousness, but he still pretended to be indifferent and did not look at Su Ruoyan. Su Ruoyan glanced at the pretentious Li Huaizhou and then at Chao Weidong, and said, I want to go to General Liang's side to learn. As soon as Su Ruoyan said this, not only did it surprise Li Huaizhou, even Liang Xiaojun was surprised. He looked meaningfully at Chao Weidong beside him and muttered to himself, you little rascal, you've got it made. Hu Jing first glanced at Li Huaizhou, who looked as if he had eaten shit, and then at Chao Weidong and Su Ruoyan. She shook her head slightly, a faint sneer curling the corner of her mouth. Chao Weidong also had no idea why this crazy woman had suddenly chosen to come over to their side. Su Ruoyan, you. Li Huaizhou couldn't hold back any longer and asked Su Ruoyan. Mr. Li, thank you for your training over the years. I want to change to a new environment to improve myself. Su Ruoyan's tone was flat and indifferent, but Li Huaizhou heard resentment in her words. Mr. Zhu, I also want to go to learn from Mr. Liang. Hu Jing didn't wait for Zhu Yongjun to ask her, and directly spoke up to express her thoughts. This caused everyone present to be slightly surprised. Except for Li Huaizhou. His thoughts were entirely on Su Ruoyun. For some reason, Zhu Yongjun was very polite whenever he spoke to Hu Jing. He smiled and said, "Hu, you want to go to Division 1 too?" Chao Weidong, who was standing nearby, noticed this detail. "Huaizhou, look at what a mess this is. All three of them want to go to Xiao Jun's division. We still have to respect the opinions of our employees. How about this? The three of them go to Division 1, and you can pick whoever you want from the rest of the people to work in Division 2. Zhu Yongjun's tone had improved a lot, and he was trying his best to appease Li Huaizhou. After all, he was also one of his top lieutenants. "Mr. Zhu, since you said so, what else can I say?" Li Huaizhou said grimly. "So we're done?" Zhu Yongjun laughed heartily and said. Li Huaizhou was the first to walk out of the office. "Have a nice day, Mr. Li." Liang Xiaojun would not let go of any opportunity to make Li Huaizhou feel sick, and he yelled at Li Huaizhou's back. Zhu Yongjun gave Liang Xiaojun, who was gloating, a glare. He then went back to his work. 2 days later, Liang Xiaojun kept his word. He gave Chao Weidong the position of sales manager of the business department 1, and also placed Su Ruoyan and Hu Jing under his command. Chao Weidong also asked Liang Xiaojun for Ma Yaohui. Zhao Guowei and Wang Xiaolu were transferred by Li Huaizhou to the business department 2. Zhao Guowei became the technical manager of the second business department, as he had wished. "Manager Chao, as you wished, the beautiful who is here to report for duty. When will you start wooing me?" "How?" Hu Jing's first words after moving from the 27th floor to the 26th floor of the science building stung Chao Weidong. "What are you talking about? We're all working hard for the company, so that Tianying can go public soon and our boss can retire early." Chao Weidong responded. "Working hard? You're starting to sound more and more like Liang Xiaojun." After saying that, she glanced at Ma Yaohui, who was standing nearby, and added, "Not surprisingly, these are three men who often go out partying together." Chao Weidong. This tomboy really says whatever comes to her mind. Chao Weidong didn't want to argue with her. He looked left and right, but never saw Su Ruoyun move down. "Looking for Su Ruoyun? She's taken leave, she won't be coming down today." Hu Jing saw Chao Weidong's expression and knew what the guy was thinking. "Who said I was looking for her? I've been liking girls with short hair lately." Chao Weidong looked at Hu Jing with a teasing expression and teased. "Really? I don't discriminate, I'll go for a ride in any Ferrari, any color. Whenever you bring one around, I'll go for a ride with you." Hu Jing said with a smile. "Just going for a ride is so boring." Chao Weidong responded with a pout. Chapter 22, Is it because I've been flirting with too many women lately? Instead of getting into Chao Weidong's Ferrari, Hu Jing got into the Buick business car from Tianying Company. It had been more than a week since she had come down from the 27th floor of the science building to the 26th floor. During that week, Su Ruoyan had only shown up once, which happened to be on Thursday morning when Chao Weidong was sleeping in and hadn't come to work. She had moved her things from the 27th floor to the 26th floor next to Hu Jing's seat, and then she had continued to take leave. Chao Weidong couldn't even find Su Ruoyan to cause trouble, as the woman simply ignored him. She asked Liang Xiaojun to take the leave, without going through Chao Weidong as the manager. In the Buick business car, in addition to Hu Jing, there were Chao Weidong, Liang Xiaojun, and Ma Yaohui. "Mr. Liang, where are we going this time? Why do I have to come too?" Chao Weidong, who was in the rear passenger seat, asked Liang Xiaojun. He had an appointment with a used car dealer to look at a cheap Ferrari that had been driven for 20 or so times, but Liang Xiaojun kept calling him. He had no choice but to go back to Tianying Company. As soon as he returned to the company, Liang Xiaojun dragged him into the Buick. "Last week, because of the personnel adjustment in the business unit, Li Huaizhou and I had a few words, and President Zhu had a small party at his house, asking us to go over, and he would be the mediator, asking Li Huaizhou and I to ease up on our relationship." Liang Xiaojun in the passenger seat turned around and patiently explained to Chao Weidong. "Is that it? Well, for such a trivial matter, you could have called me dozens of times. Lao Liang, I really should have blocked you." "Chao Weidong, do you understand? Can this be a trivial matter? A leader's matter is a huge matter." Liang Xiaojun did not understand Chao Weidong. "If I were Lao Zhu, I would take you two to the big sword together once, and everything would be resolved. What a stupid party, it's all that Western stuff, so fake and insincere. Zhu Yongjun's so-called party has disrupted his car buying plans, and Chao Weidong is very unhappy about it. Hu Jingqing, who was pretending to sleep, coughed beside Chao Weidong. Chao and Liang wisely stopped discussing the big sword. You don't know, this time, President Zhu specifically asked for you to come over, and he really thinks highly of you, Liang Xiaojun reminded him. President Liang, in the future, when you're bragging in front of President Zhu, don't ever mention my name. Chao Weidong was annoyed. He didn't want to be in the limelight like Liang Xiaojun. As they spoke, the Buick commercial vehicle pulled into a high-end residential area. The driver found a parking space, parked the car, and then led a few people into a small villa with an attached house. Ha, Xiaojun, your people have arrived too. Come in. Zhu Yongjun was dressed in loose-fitting loungewear and greeted Chao Weidong and the others at the door. In the lobby on the first floor, Li Huaizhou, Kai Si, and the others had arrived before them. Chao Weidong looked up and down at the small villa with 4 floors above ground and 2 underground, and he liked it very much. It was because he had also been paying attention to houses recently. He was currently renting a place in the city village in Yangcheng. He had not moved out yet. Originally, he had thought about buying a not-too-expensive house in Yangcheng and moving there. But recently, there had been so many things going on. He had not even had time to look at houses. It was all Liang Xiaojuan's fault. Mr. Zhu, can we take a look at your house? Chao Weidong asked, walking up to Zhu Yongjun. It's Chao, of course you can. I don't live here often, and the upstairs hasn't been cleaned yet. If you don't mind, feel free to look around, Zhu Yongjun said generously. With permission granted, Chao Weidong began to walk up the stairs to take a look at the small villa that made him envious. Hu Jing, with her long legs, didn't really like a bunch of people bragging together. When she saw Chao Weidong walking upstairs alone, she followed him. Do you like these small villas? Hu Jing asked, following Chao Weidong. Of course I do. Who doesn't like them? Chao Weidong said without looking back. What you like, others may not necessarily like. Hu Jing responded carelessly. She then walked to a study on the second floor and looked through an album on the desk. Chao Weidong came over and peeked, then snatched the album. Let me see. Hu Jing was annoyed that she had been robbed of her belongings, and she shouted at Chao Weidong, you have no quality at all. What's the use of quality? It's worth a few cents. Chao Weidong turned to the last page of the photo album. There was only one photo, of a young Zhu Yongjun with a young woman. The background looked like the Temple of Heaven Park in Beijing. Judging from the age in the photo, Chao Weidong judged that the young woman must be Zhu Yongjun's first love. And this first love looked a bit familiar to Chao Weidong. Chao Weidong used his mobile phone to secretly take a photo of the photo when Hu Jing wasn't looking. At this time, Liang Xiaojuan's loud voice sounded from downstairs. Chao, Hu, what are you doing up there? Come down. Chao Weidong looked at Hu Jing. Hu Jing shrugged at him. Chao Weidong shrugged. He reclosed the photo album and put it away. Then he followed Hu Jing downstairs. Zhu Yongjun's party was a success. Thanks to his persuasive matchmaking, Liang Xiaojun and Li Huaizhou had at least superficially overcome their differences. Liang Xiaojun once again addressed Li Huaizhou as old Li. Li Huaizhou also unreservedly called Liang Xiaojun Liang Big Gun. During the party, Li Huaizhou even came over to have a few drinks with Chao Weidong, asking him to take good care of his 2 disciples, Hu Jing and Su Ruoyan. Chao Weidong, of course, readily agreed. However, after the party was over, Hu Jing told Chao Weidong in private that the reason Li Huaizhou had let go of his anger and shook hands with Liang Xiaojun was because Zhu Yongjun had given the big project in Beijing to Department 2. No wonder. Chao Weidong sneered. It turned out that everything was about interests. That night, Chao Weidong, who had returned to his rented room, tossed and turned, unable to sleep. It wasn't because of the renewed handshake between Li Huaizhou and Liang Xiaojun. Nor was it because of Zhu Yongjun's large villa. And it wasn't because of Hu Jing's long legs. Instead, it was inexplicably because of that photo. The photo of Zhu Yongjun and his first love. He always felt that the girl in the photo looked familiar. But for the moment, he couldn't think of where he had seen her. For some reason, Chao Weidong felt like he had an obsession. He couldn't sleep until he figured out who the girl looked like. Had he been flirting with too many women recently? Was that why he was like this? Chao Weidong didn't know. He opened his phone's photo album, clicked on the photo he had taken earlier that day, and looked at it carefully. He racked his brain, trying to remember. Who did the girl in the photo look like? He never got a clue. At 2300 hours in the middle of the night, Chow Wei-dong, who really couldn't sleep, got dressed again and went downstairs. He lit a cigarette and wandered around. Finally, he walked into the recreation clubhouse. He had just changed his shoes and taken his hand tag. Chow Wei-dong's furrowed brow suddenly relaxed. He remembered who the girl in the photo looked like. Sir, what program would you like? We have 168, 288, 388, 488, and 688. 688. Chow Wei-dong didn't hesitate to choose the most expensive one. Okay, sir. Do you have a preferred masseuse? Yes. I want masseuse 68, Xian. I'm sorry, sir, masseuse 68 is busy at the moment. Would you like to choose another one? No, I'll wait for her. Chapter 23, Sex for Sex. Chow Wei-dong grinned from ear to ear the moment he saw Xian. Xian got goosebumps all over. Why is it him again? This client has special fetishes. Sorry, I can't serve you. Xian turned around and ran. Manager, find someone else, I'm not taking this client. Xian said to the reception manager as she ran. Why? He's a pervert. Chow Wei-dong was also baffled. Why is this girl running? However, soon after, Xian was persuaded by the manager to come back. She reluctantly entered the private room where Chow Wei-dong was. After entering the room, she looked around to see if Chow Wei-dong had brought his laptop. When she didn't see it, her heart sank. After the manager left, Xian closed the door to the private room and said to Chow Wei-dong with a frosty expression, "Why do you have to order me? I'm not going to type anymore." Xian was determined this time, and she was not going out with this pervert, no matter what. Chow Wei-dong laughed to himself, this girl still holds a grudge. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you for a night out this time. Chow Wei-dong smiled and invited Xian to sit over. Xian reluctantly sat over and began to massage Chow Wei-dong's legs. She had decided that she would not say a word this time. Would you like to be rich? Chow Wei-dong asked. No. Xian refused outright. Look at you, you work so hard here, staying up late every night, sometimes having to deal with the unreasonable demands of some perverted customers. It would be so much better to go with a rich man and make money easily. Chow Wei-dong began to persuade her earnestly. Xian kept her head down as she massaged his legs, silently thinking to herself, the most perverted person is you. Chow Wei-dong worked for 2 full extra shifts. But he was dry-mouthed. This woman, who had already suffered, would never believe what he said, no matter what. Chow Wei-dong was so angry. There was nothing he could do. He had no choice but to go home. In fact, Chow Wei-dong's idea was very simple. He was going to give Xian, who looked a bit like Zhu Yongjun's first love, a bit of a makeover and then present her to Zhu Yongjun. Wouldn't he then be in a much better position at Tianyi & Company? But this girl called Xian was still upset about the overnight typing job. No matter how Chow Wei-dong painted a rosy picture for her, the girl wouldn't listen. She was afraid of falling for Chow Wei-dong's tricks again. This matter can only be discussed at length. First, take care of Xuan's business for a few days. Get closer and closer. For 5 consecutive days, Chow Wei-dong came to the Recreation and Leisure Club to spend money every day. Every day, he must order from Xian and order an extension. On the 5th day, Xian was finally moved by Chow Wei-dong's sincerity. Brother Dong, is what you said true or not? Xian asked while serving Chow Wei-dong. Of course it's true. He's my boss and he's loaded. Chow Wei-dong suddenly sat up straight and said seriously. So if you tell me to seduce him, and if I succeed, won't I become his mistress? Do you care? Of course I care. How can I get married in the future? What if he gives you 30,000 yuan a month? 30,000 yuan. Then I can be his 4th mistress. Brother Dong, are you sure there's really 30,000 yuan? It'll never be less. Chow Wei-dong said in an affirmative tone. Xian smiled contentedly after hearing this, then Xian will listen to Donga in the future, Donga can tell me to do anything. While saying this, Xian also reached out to Chow Wei-dong's crotch. Chow Wei-dong slapped Xuan's hand, Tisk, behave yourself. You'll soon be the big boss's personal secretary, you can't keep lowering yourself like that. Got it. Xian said in a deliberately cute voice. Having dealt with Xian, Chao Weidong decided to go back to work the next day. First, he wanted to see if the crazy woman Su Ruoyan had come to work, and he wanted to go to her place to get back some face. Second, he wanted to ask Liang Xiaojun about Zhu Yongjun's first love. The next day, at 10 a.m., Chao Weidong arrived at the company and passed by Assistant Lin's workstation. As usual, he stared at Assistant Lin's screen for a while to see what the girl was up to. Assistant Lin frowned when she saw it was Chao Weidong and said, "Chao Gong, you were so late." "I wasn't late. I went to see a client in the morning and only just got back. I haven't even had breakfast yet." After saying this, Chao Weidong shamelessly grabbed some bear-shaped biscuits on Assistant Lin's desk and began crunching them. Then he turned around with a flourish and walked towards his own workstation. Tianying Company is still a small company, and currently only people of Liang Xiaojun and Li Huaizhou's level have their own offices. Administrative Manager Huang Qi needs to keep the company's administrative seal and some labor contracts in order to have her own office. Sales managers with as much seniority as Chase don't even have their own offices yet. And Chao Weidong can't even talk about it. However, Chao Weidong doesn't care. He feels that as long as he fixes the girl Xian up and gets Zhu Yongjun under control, he'll ask for Liang Xiaojun's office then, and maybe Zhu Yongjun will even give it to him. With a satisfied smile on his face, Chao Weidong returned to his workstation. Hu Jing couldn't stand Chao Weidong's lecherous appearance and directly confronted him. "Which girl have you victimized this time? Why are you so happy?" Chao Weidong glanced at Hu Jing's long legs. "What nonsense are you talking about? I, Chao, only love young wives, not girls." Hu Jing snorted and ignored Chao Weidong, instead brushing up on some short videos from travel bloggers. Chao Weidong glanced at Hu Jing's phone screen and said lightly, "I advise you to stay honestly in the country. No country is safer than ours right now. If you have the money to travel abroad, you might as well find a city to play in domestically and increase our country's GDP." "I can't believe it, you horny devil actually has patriotic feelings?" Hu Jing looked at Chao Weidong with a little surprise and said, "Being horny is fine, but it doesn't stop me from being patriotic, okay? Just look at Xiao Ma, he keeps looking at your thighs while you work, but it doesn't stop him from doing his reports." Cough cough. "Dong Gu, what are you talking nonsense about?" Ma Yaohui next to him coughed in a flustered manner. "Humph." Hu Jing glared at Xiaoma, who was now blushing, and then tucked her long legs under the desk. She vowed that she would definitely wear long trousers to work tomorrow. This rotten company has more perverts than there are con artists in northern Myanmar. After watching a video of some young lady dancing on her workstation, Chao Weidong saw Liang Xiaojun return from outside. He said hello and then followed Liang Xiaojun into his office. "Weidong, you're here? Is there something the matter?" Chao Weidong closed the office door for Liang Xiaojun and then said mysteriously to him, "I want to show you a photo." Chao Weidong opened his phone and found the photo of Zhu Yongjun and his first love. "Do you know this person, Mr. Liang?" Chao Weidong pointed at the girl in the photo. Liang Xiaojun replied, "Of course I do." Chao Weidong was delighted. Chapter 24, Wounds. What's wrong? This is Mr. Zhu's first wife and his first love. She had a short life. She died of a strange illness at a very young age, as Mr. Zhu told us. Liang Xiaojun put on a face in front of Chao Weidong, as if to say, "With my relationship with Mr. Zhu, how could I not know her?" Chao Weidong felt speechless. Liang Xiaojun would never let slip a chance to show off. But since he could provide some useful information, Chao Weidong would let it pass. "Mr. Liang, please tell me more. I believe that not many people in the company know about Mr. Zhu's past, and only someone close to him like you would know something about it." "Ha ha ha ha. You understand me, Chao." Liang Xiaojun excitedly patted Chao Weidong on the shoulder. He was getting carried away. President Zhu and his first wife were truly in love. You should know that, to this day, neither President Zhu nor his second wife has ever had a marriage certificate. No certificate? What do you mean? It means that President Zhu and his second wife are only married in name only. They have never had a marriage certificate, and are not legally recognized as husband and wife. In President Zhu's own words, he can only marry one person in his life, and that is his first wife. So you're saying that legally speaking, President Zhu is still single? Yes. What about his current wife? Does she have a problem with it? Zhu will not let her lack for money or material things, so what problem could she have? And even if she did have a problem, what could she do about it? In other words, if Shu were to find another woman, his second wife would not dare to say anything.
Chao Weidong added. Chao, you understand your boss. Liang Xiaojun looked at Chao Weidong with a meaningful expression.
Mr. Liang, I'm sure Mr. Zhu has only told you about the first wife. I'm curious about what kind of amazing woman she is that can make our Mr. Zhu treat her so passionately.
Chao Weidong continued to press Liang Xiaojun for more information in order to get more information. Pound away.
Liang Xiaojun felt so good. It had been a long time since Chao Weidong had flattered him like this. It really felt good.
He began to tell him everything he knew.
The first lady is from the Formosa, Taiwan, and the daughter of a wealthy family. It is said that when she and President Zhu got together, her family was against it. Perhaps it was because President Zhu was more attractive when they were young. The first lady simply ignored her family's opposition and secretly promised her life to President Zhu. Although this story is very cliché, Chao Weidong still found useful information, namely that the first lady is from Formosa.
He can let Xian practice speaking in a more feminine way. Mr. Liang, do you know what your wife does? Chao Weidong asked again. She teaches English, Mr. Liang replied. Chao Weidong was in a bad mood.
He thought to himself, shit, I have to make that foot-washing girl learn English for a few days, this is a bit difficult. Chao Weidong and Liang Xiaojun chatted for a while longer.
After discovering that Liang Xiaojun only had bragging to do, Chao Weidong found an excuse and left Liang Xiaojun's office. I'm free this afternoon.
Chao Weidong left work early and went directly to the recreation club to buy all of the tickets for today's beauty Xian, and asked her out to dinner.
What? Learn English? Brother Dong, have you gone crazy?
I don't serve foreigners, especially those blacks, they're said to be particularly fierce, I'm scared. At the table, as soon as Chao Weidong said he was going to learn English, Xian shook her head and refused.
What are you thinking?
You're not being asked to serve foreigners, you're being asked to seduce our boss and find a way to become his personal secretary.
Why do you need to learn English?
You're going to pretend to be our boss's first love, and that first love was an English teacher.
What a hassle.
I don't want to be a secretary anymore, I'd rather stay at the foot spa.
Xian gave up.
The thought of learning words made up of letters made her head spin. If she could learn that stuff, she wouldn't be giving foot massages and back rubs at the foot spa. The beautiful Xian began to bury her head in her rice and not think about the elusive 30,000 monthly income.
I can't afford it, I really can't afford it.
What a waste of words. I'll find you a teacher, just study hard. And you'd better change all those catchphrases of yours. You need to know that I'm asking you to imitate a teacher, so don't hang on to every word you hear every day.
I've already spent so much money getting information for you, you can't just quit without saying anything, can you? Chao Weidong added angrily.
Whether he spent money or not, Chao Weidong deliberately said this, knowing that Xian was more concerned about it. If she knew that I had spent a lot of money, she would not easily refuse Chao Weidong's arrangement. After dinner, he sent Xian back to the club and then returned to his rented house.
The simple house.
Chao Weidong lit a few cigarettes and felt very bored. He suddenly remembered that he hadn't seen that crazy woman for a long time. He picked up the phone and dialed her number.
The phone rang for a long time before the other party picked up. Hello?
Su Ruoyun's lazy voice came from the other end of the phone.
Su Ruoyun, why haven't you come to work these few days?
Chao Weidong didn't really have anything to talk about, so he took the attitude of being the other person's leader and asked in a disguised way what the other person had been doing recently.
Who do you think it is? It's Chao Weidong, the big manager Chao.
Su Ruoyun's voice suddenly sounded a little excited on the other end of the line.
Don't be so weird. What? After being transferred to our department, you're afraid to come to work? Afraid to see me? Chao Weidong asked back 2 questions in a row.
Yes, I'm afraid that you'll abuse your power and, after I start working here, you'll arrange for me to go on business trips with you and get me drunk so you can take advantage of me.
After saying this,
the 2 people on either side of the phone suddenly ran out of things to say, and they both fell into silence with perfect tacit understanding.
After a long while, Chao Weidong whispered, "Are you still there?" After a long while, the voice of Su Ruoyun came from the other end of the line. "Can you come over and keep me company? Send me the address." Do. The other end of the line hung up. Not long after, Su Ruoyun sent Chao Weidong an address.
Without a second thought, Chao Weidong went downstairs, hailed a taxi and headed straight for the address Su Ruoyun had given him.
Hai Sha Bridge.
By the time Chow Wei-dong arrived, Su Ruoyan didn't know how long she had been standing on the bridge. Chow Wei-dong silently walked up to her side, leaned over the railing together and looked at the rolling river below.
Have you changed your mind and jumped into the river? Chow Wei-dong asked.
Su Ruoyan turned her head back and her beautiful eyes scanned Chow Wei-dong for a long time. Then she said lightly, "You're really no fun."
What's wrong with someone standing on a bridge and feeling sad for a while? Why do you always think that someone is going to jump off a bridge? What's so sad about it? Because of that old man? Well, none of your business. You, young as you are, find someone bad, and you find an old man? What do you want from him? Is he weak? You're not weak? Of course not. Do you want to try? Heh. The two of them ran out of things to chat about. For a long time.
This time, Su Ruoyan broke the silence first.
She pointed to a Harley-Davidson motorcycle behind her and said to Chow Wei-dong, "Dare you go for a ride with me?"
Chow Wei-dong then noticed that a motorcycle was parked behind him, but he hadn't noticed it before. Many roads in Yangcheng are off-limits to motorcycles, Chow Wei-dong said.
This road is not off-limits, and besides, it's exciting to ride on a motorcycle that's off-limits. Aren't you afraid that I'll run into you from behind?
You're so weak, I'm not afraid.
Chapter 25, I forgot what it felt like just now.
Chow Wei-dong successfully embraced Su Ruoyan's slender waist. The roar of the Harley attracted the attention of many passers-by.
Su Ruoyan twisted the throttle, and the motorcycle, like a runaway horse, sped off in a flash. Due to inertia, Chow Wei-dong and Su Ruoyan's backs pressed even closer together.
Su Ruoyan's long hair fluttered in the wind. A few strands of hair drifted onto Chow Wei-dong's face, sending a tingling sensation through him.
He tightened his grip on the handlebars. Su Ruoyan in front of him curled the corner of her mouth, gave a wicked smile, and turned the throttle on her right hand all the way. The speed of the motorcycle beneath her increased to the extreme. Are you sick? Why are you riding so fast? You want to die?
Chow Wei-dong's voice came from behind him, a little nervous.
Su Ruoyan didn't pay any attention to him at all.
When they passed a curve, they took an extreme turn. Chow Wei-dong was so scared that his face turned green. "Auntie, please, go slower, slower," Chow Wei-dong begged. Su Ruoyan saw a bigger curve ahead and said to Chow Wei-dong behind him, "Hold on tight, something even more exciting is coming." Chow Wei-dong gripped the handlebars even tighter, and he moved up a little.
Su Ruoyan shouted, "Where are you grabbing it?"
Chow Wei-dong shook his head, "I don't know, I'm so scared."
The grip on the handlebars did not weaken at all.
At this moment, the big curve was right in front of them. Su Ruoyan slammed on the brakes, and the motorcycle made a beautiful drift.
Ah!
Chow Wei-dong's screams had become a little hoarse.
"Stop the bike! Stop the fucking bike! I want to get off, I'm not playing anymore."
Chow Wei-dong, who had just caught his breath after the corner, begged for mercy. Su Ruoyan paid him no heed, twisted the throttle on her handlebars and continued on. They had not gone more than a few blocks when a piercing siren sounded behind Su Ruoyan and Chow Wei-dong. The motorcycle in front quickly pulled over to the side to stop and be inspected.
The traffic cop used a loudspeaker to give Su Ruoyan instructions. "Did you hear that? The cop is telling you to stop, you fucking stop. You crazy bitch." Chow Wei-dong, who was behind Su Ruoyan, yelled loudly as well.
Su Ruoyan pretended not to hear and continued whizzing forward.
The traffic cop in the back kept up the chase. "You want to go and step on the sewing machine, but I don't. You stop the car now." Chow Wei-dong continued to yell in the crazy woman's ear.
Su Ruoyan was unmoved. Chow Wei-dong made up his mind, moved his hands from Su Ruoyan's waist up, and then grabbed hard.
"Ah! Scoundrel!"
Su Ruoyan slammed on the brakes. The car almost lost control, but Su Ruoyan managed to bring it to a halt in a safe place by the roadside. Chow Wei-dong jumped off the motorcycle as soon as possible, sat down on the curb by the road, and gasped for breath. Su Ruoyan took off her helmet, got off the motorcycle, took the helmet and smashed it hard on Chow Wei-dong's helmet, yelling, "You jerk." At this time, the traffic police officer also came to the two of them. He parked the motorcycle, saluted Su Ruoyan, and then said, "Please show me your driver's license and vehicle registration." Su Ruoyan glared at Chow Wei-dong, who was holding his chest, and then took out two documents from a storage compartment on the motorcycle and handed them to the traffic police officer. The traffic police officer took out a small notebook and said while taking notes and looking up, the young lady looks weak and feeble, but why is she riding such a fierce bike?
She looks weak and feeble?
He just attempted to kill someone, you traffic police officer, cuff her up quickly and lock her up for 3 to 5 years.
Chow Wei-dong, who was sitting on the ground, said angrily.
He finally came back to his senses at that moment.
Attempted murder?
The traffic police officer cautiously reached for his baton at his waist.
Yes, I almost died at the hands of this crazy woman just now.
The traffic police officer shook his head and smiled bitterly, knowing that the two young people in front of him were just messing around.
He then turned to Su Ruoyan and said, You were speeding seriously just now, do you know that?
Oh, I'm sorry, traffic police officer, I know I was wrong, I can accept any punishment you see fit.
Su Ruoyan was now as obedient as a Snow-White princess.
Chow Wei-dong really wanted to warn the traffic police officer, don't be fooled by her appearance, this woman is very bad, lock her up quickly.
3 points deducted and a fine of 200 yuan.
Be careful next time, if you drive so fast again, you will be charged with dangerous driving.
The traffic police officer very skillfully issued a fine to Su Ruoyan.
Su Ruoyan scanned the code to pay the fine and watched the traffic police officer leave.
She put on her helmet, straddled her long legs and got back on the motorcycle.
She turned her face to Chow Wei-dong, who was still sweating, and said, Come again.
I'll never get in your car again. Aren't you coming up here to continue your dirty hands? Su Ruoyan seduced. Life is more important. Chow Wei-dong refused.
Chow Wei-dong lit a cigarette and got up, slowly walking in the direction he had come from. He had almost peed his pants just now, and he had barely become rich and had not had time to enjoy it before he almost died at the hands of this crazy person, Su Ruoyan. What a scare! Chow Wei-dong cursed in his heart, damn, I forgot what it felt like just now, fuck. Su Ruoyan saw Chow Wei-dong leave, pouted, turned the car around, and followed him again.
Don't follow me, I've said it before, I won't get in your car again. Chow Wei-dong exhaled smoke rings, and his chest, which had been pounding, was now much calmer. Are you still a man? You can't stand this little excitement? Whether you're a man is not proven by being in the car, but in bed. If you get in the car again, I'll go to a hotel with you. Su Ruoyan continued to seduce Chow Wei-dong. Save it, I know you well. We're going for drinks again, I'm not going.
Chow Wei-dong had been cheated enough before, and this time he would never trust this crazy woman around him again. Su Ruoyan accelerated, stopping the car in front of Chow Wei-dong, shook her hair, and I don't know if it was intentional, but a glimpse of her snow-white chest caught Chow Wei-dong's eye.
I won't drink this time. Su Ruoyan gave Chow Wei-dong a provocative look.
Chow Wei-dong looked at the snowy white area, then at Su Ruoyan's delicate face, while trying hard to recall the feel of her just now. He licked his lips, then once again placed the cigarette in his hand near his mouth, taking a strong drag. Then, Chow Wei-dong crushed the cigarette butt in his hand against the roadside trash can, and then took a long stride, sitting behind Su Ruoyan. Without thinking, he wrapped his arms around Su Ruoyan's waist and pressed his body against her back.
I'm going for broke. Chow Wei-dong gritted his teeth behind Su Ruoyan's ear.
Su Ruoyan slammed the accelerator and the car sped off again. This time, she didn't speed, but drove at a comfortable speed on the streets of Yangcheng late at night. Chow Wei-dong stood behind her, not saying a word, but holding her tightly.
Chapter 26. My cousin really liked this English teacher. That night. It was a long night.
The next morning, Chow Wei-dong got up contentedly. The beautiful woman was no longer by his side, but her fragrance lingered on his body. He hummed a tune as he got up to wash up. People have been drifting in Guangdong for 10 years.
Sometimes I miss the beginning when we were together.
It has changed.
Let this sky connect us. I miss you. The sky is still willful when the clouds have gone. Does it believe that caring is the easier way to give up? Must one be left with nothing at the end to be fearless? Guangdong love story.
When Chow Wei-dong arrived at the company, Su Ruoyan was still on leave and had not come to work. Ma Yaohui saw that Chow Wei-dong had arrived and quickly greeted him, Brother Dong.
Chow Wei-dong gestured for him to continue with the report.
Hu Jing, with her long legs and long trousers, didn't even look at Chow Wei-dong. She was still concentrating on the little green book, brushing up on strategies for traveling abroad.
Chow Wei-dong didn't like being ignored, especially by a woman, let alone a leggy beauty with a strong personality.
He leaned over and saw Hu Jing watching a video about the top 10 tourist attractions in a foreign country that everyone must visit.
What are you looking at? Do you know anything about it?
Hu Jing gave Chow Wei-dong a look.
Are you kidding? Do I know anything about it? Don't you know that you're standing in front of the #1 travel expert at Tianying? Chow Weidong started to put on an act in front of Hu Jing. Go away, sister, I'm not in the mood to play with you today.
Hu Jing reached out to push Chow Weidong away, but her eyes never left the screen of her phone.
Hu, I really know a lot about travel.
And I know that the foreign tourist attractions you're watching can be found in China, so there's no need to go abroad and waste money.
Which country is safer than ours these days?
Chow Weidong said seriously. Hu Jing paused the video, then placed her phone on the table, twisted her body, and turned her chair halfway around so that she was facing Chow Weidong head-on.
She said, okay, then tell me all about it. If I don't like it, you can just get lost and leave me alone. Chow Weidong reached out and clicked on the video on Hu Jing's phone to play it again. Must visit attraction abroad #1, Iceland's black sand beach. Chow Weidong paused the video and said, there is also a black beach on Fushing Xiaopu's Flying Eagle Island.
Hu Jing's beautiful eyes looked at Chow Weidong, clearly expressing doubt. Chow Weidong hurriedly said, take notes, and later check to see if I'm right.
No need, I'm smarter than you and can remember.
Hu Jing pointed at her head and said.
Chow Weidong continued to play the video. Must visit foreign tourist attraction #2, California, USA. Wanting Ryuan. Must visit attraction #3, Maldives. Let's go to the Shisha Islands, you'll be satisfied. Must visit attraction #4, Thailand. Zishuangbana and Mongshur. Must visit attraction #5, South Korea. Yenji. Must visit attraction #6, Switzerland. Illyrica. Must visit attraction #7, Morocco. Ening. Must visit attraction 8, Russia. Go to Harbin. Interesting fact, Harbin Pharmaceutical Factory #6 looks just like the Louvre. Must visit attraction 9, skiing in Hokkaido. Forget about the small town. For skiing, go to our Altai. Must visit attraction 10, Northern European Aurora. Mode also has Aurora.
Chow Weidong finished speaking. Hu Jing took the phone with a suspicious look. You make it sound
so real.
Chow Weidong gave a small smile. The National Day holiday is coming up soon, so if you go directly to one of the scenic spots I mentioned, you'll know for sure.
What if I go and find it's different? Then when I get back, I'll let you suffer as much as you like. Chow Weidong gave a wicked smile. Suffer? Who needs that?
Hu Jing turned in her chair and continued to go back to watching travel videos.
This time, she didn't choose any videos of traveling abroad.
Chow Weidong returned to his workstation and continued to watch videos of little girls dancing.
At this time, Su Ruoyun sent him a message, are you going home on the 11th? If not, what are you going to do? Chow Weidong sent a reply. I'll take you on a motorcycle trip.
Su Ruoyun also added a smirking emoticon. Chow Weidong simply replied with a rolling face and a middle finger.
Are you going or not? If not, I'll just go ask someone else. Su Ruoyun sent another message. As long as we don't ride a motorcycle, I'll go wherever you go. It's a deal. Chow Weidong sent a face with a thumb up. 11 had plans to go out.
Before going out, Chow Weidong planned to arrange the English learning plan for the beautiful woman Xian.
Beautiful lady Hu, do you know any English teachers? I have a cousin who is looking for a tutor.
Chow Weidong knew that Hu Jing had a wide range of contacts, so he asked her for advice.
Of course I do. Introduce me.
A cup of coffee, I'll push into you.
Ma xia. Hey, brother Dong. Go get 3 coffees, on me. Chow Weidong said generously. Got it. Donga, what do you guys want to drink? I'll have an iced latte. Chow Weidong said. Iced Americano. Hu Jing said. Ma Yaohui went out of the door with a smile on his face. He didn't take long to come back.
After Hu Jing took the coffees, she pushed someone over to Chow Weidong.
Black guy? Chow Weidong asked Hu Jing after seeing the person's profile picture. What's that look on your face? Can't I have a black man? Don't tell me you're racist?
Hu Jing said while drinking her coffee. Chow Weidong was speechless when he remembered the look on Xian's face when she was scared of the black man. I'm not racist, it's just that my cousin was harassed by a black man at university and she still has psychological scars, so it's best not to have a black man. Chow Weidong made up a reason. He didn't have the face to tell the real reason.
That's fine, the Steve is of high quality, he won't harass her.
Hu Jing spoke up for her black friend. No, beautiful woman, please help, change one.
Chow Weidong insisted on changing it.
Hu Jing had no choice but to look again among her close friends and resend another person to Chow Weidong.
Another foreigner? Chow Weidong asked.
This time Hu Jing sent him a white guy named Jack.
No?
Hu Jing was obviously a little impatient.
Hu Mini, don't mess with me, okay? Let's just find a part-time domestic English tutor. My cousin's English isn't good enough to use a foreign tutor. In fact, Chow Weidong really wanted to say that his cousin was afraid that a foreigner would be too big. But he definitely couldn't say that.
In the end, Hu Jing once again pushed someone over to Chow Weidong.
This is my good friend, I didn't want you to meet her originally, Hu Jing said. Why?
Chow Weidong was puzzled. You're too horny, I'm afraid you'll harass my friend.
Is she pretty? Chow Weidong said disdainfully. No, but she's G. Chow Weidong quickly clicked on the English teacher's circle of friends. Well, my cousin really likes this English teacher.
Chow Weidong carefully browsed the English teacher's circle of friends and said to Hu Jing without looking up. Hu Jing regretted it, feeling as if she had set her friend up.
Chapter 27, Along the River During the Qingming Festival.
Unfortunately, Chow Weidong was unable to meet his cousin Xuanxuan's new English teacher for the time being. She would only be available to start her part-time job during the November holiday. However, Chow Weidong had already communicated with her in advance over the phone. The teacher's name was Chen Gu, and her voice was the kind of commanding older sister's voice that could make Chow Weidong fall head over heels. It was the kind of commanding older sister's voice that would end every sentence with a little emphasis. Chow Weidong told teacher Chen that his cousin Xianxian was a complete beginner and hoped that she could give her a little extra attention during the 7-day holiday. As for tuition fees, Chow Weidong assured her that they would not be a problem. He also made an appointment with teacher Chen to have dinner with her after the holiday to discuss the matter in more depth. With a sense of regret that he had not been able to meet teacher Chen right away, Chow Weidong and Su Ruoyun set off on their 11-day road trip. Su Ruoyun had sold her motorcycle and bought a second-hand Wuling van. She also made a small modification, removing the back seat of the van and replacing it with a mattress, turning it into a simple RV. Chow Weidong looked confused when he received the keys to the van from Su Ruoyun. No, let's just set off in this broken van.
If you'd said so earlier, I could have gone and rented an RV, Chow Weidong said, puzzled. No RV, just this one, I think it's fine. Su Ruoyun insisted. The position is too small, there's no room for many positions. All you can think about is that, don't you think it's romantic for us to go out like this?
Su Ruoyun was as excited as a girl in her first relationship. Chow Weidong silently thought to himself, I still prefer a king-size bed. In the end, the two of them set off in the van, which made a lot of noise everywhere they went.
Su Ruoyun had set their destination as the grasslands of Inner Mongolia. The entire journey from Yangcheng to Inner Mongolia was over 2,000 kilometers. They set off on the 11th day. On the first day, they didn't even leave Yangcheng City.
The holiday expressway was free, and the cars leaving the city were so dense that they were completely jammed.
Chow Weidong was driving a manual shift Wuling, and he was exhausted from constantly pressing the clutch.
He looked at his passenger, Su Ruoyun, who kept complaining about the poor air conditioning, and asked, Are you still in the mood for romance? Su Ruoyun gave Chow Weidong a cold stare and ignored him.
It took 24 hours for the two of them to get out of Yangcheng, in the province of Handong.
Once they were out of the province, the traffic on the highway improved significantly, and it wasn't so crowded.
The minivan could also speed along the highway without restraint.
Once the car was running, the air conditioning worked much better, and Su Ruoyun stopped complaining. Whenever Chow Weidong shifted gears, he would always stick his hand out to feel if the air conditioning was too cold, for fear of freezing Su Ruoyun's bare legs. When the passion is strong, the two will find a service area with few people and try out what kind of positions they can get into in the little Wuling. When the itch is unbearable, Chow Weidong will find an exit off the highway and then find a forest path with few people to try out whether the torsion beam suspension of the little Wuling still works.
The first stop for the two on their long car trip is Yeyang. Chow Weidong and Su Ruoyun are like two first-time lovers, holding hands as they visit the Minglu and Yuyanglu. Did you know that? Yeyang Tower was the parade building of Lu Su, the Eastern Wu governor during the Three Kingdoms period. Later, Tang Zijing rebuilt Yeyang Tower, and Fan Zhongyan wrote the famous Yeyang Tower record. Chow Weidong stood in front of Yeyang Tower and introduced it to Su Ruoyun.
I can't tell, you know quite a bit.
So, Who says I'm a travel expert at Tianying? Bullshit. Okay.
The two of them drove north in their battered wooling car.
Their second long stop was Kaifeng, one of the 8 ancient capitals.
Chow Weidong rattled off his travel trivia again.
Do you know what else Kaifeng is apart from an ancient capital?
Chow Weidong asked Su Ruoyan, who was dressed like a young lady, on the Imperial Street in Kaifeng.
Tianboi Yangfu. There is also. Su Ruoyan shook her head. The riverside scene at Qingming Festival. I know, it must be related to the riverside scene at Qingming Festival, right?
Su Ruoyan said.
Yes, there is a beautiful love story in it, did you know that? Chow Weidong said.
Su Ruoyan was excited at the mention of a love story and quickly grabbed Chow Weidong's arm and said, tell me, my little travel expert.
Chow Weidong said slowly, the boy in the story was the eldest worker in a landlord's household. He was hardworking and kind. The girl was the daughter of the landlord's 4th concubine, and she was very pretty and had a gentle and obedient personality.
Once, when the girl was shopping with the 4th concubine, she was molested by some ruffians on the street. The girl fell in love with the boy because of his bravery. The boy also fell in love with the girl because of her beauty. The two secretly got engaged. Because of the boy, the girl also rejected the marriage proposals from several wealthy young men arranged by her landlord father. The girl also kept waiting for her landlord father to give her permission for the long-term worker boy to marry her. However, the sudden appearance of a painter made the girl's dream come to nothing. It was a dark night with heavy rain. A painter who was staying overnight stayed in the landlord's house. He had an elegant manner of speech and outstanding temperament. The moment he entered the house, he painted a portrait of the landlord, which was so lifelike that it shocked everyone in the landlord's household with its skill. The landlord was very happy to have met such a talented person. That night, he invited the painter to drink a lot of wine, and the drunken painter fell asleep at midnight. Waking up in the middle of the night, the painter, who was still drunk, wandered around the landlord's courtyard for a long time. He was in a painting mood and immediately picked up his brush to paint a picture. The painter painted until dawn. When the painting was finished, the painter walked directly out of the landlord's house and left in style. In the morning, the first hired boy to wake up was the first to see the painting on the stone table. The moment he saw the painting, the hired boy directly sat on the ground with weak legs. In the end, he rolled up the album, went back to the house to pack his luggage, and also left the landlord's house. He has never returned since. Chow Weidong paused deliberately at this point and looked at Su Ruoyan. Is that painting the riverside scene at Qingming Festival? Su Ruoyan asked. Yes. Chow Weidong nodded. This story is not very interesting either. Su Ruoyan said. Yes, if you look at it that way, the story is not very interesting. Chow Weidong admitted. So, is there a sequel to this story? Su Ruoyan asked, not willing to give up. No, the story ends when the boy leaves the landlord's house, Chow Weidong said.
Then the story is really not interesting at all. Su Ruoyan was full of disappointment. The story is indeed very boring and meaningless on its own. But if you know the names of the two people in the story, you will find that the story is very interesting. Chow Weidong gave a mysterious smile. What are the names of the two people? Su Ruoyan asked hurriedly. The name of the boy and the name of the 4th concubine. The boy and the 4th concubine? Why them? Shouldn't it be the names of a boy and a girl? No. Chow Weidong shook his head. Okay, then what are their names? The boy is Qingming, and the 4th concubine is he. Chow Weidong said, laughing wickedly. Su Ruoyan blushed. Chow Weidong, you rascal. Chapter 28, Miss Aizhu. After a long journey, Chow Weidong and Su Ruoyan finally arrived at the Inner Mongolian grasslands. This was the place Su Ruoyan had been longing to visit. The two rented a yurt from a local herder. After parking the car next to the yurt, the two began to release all their pent-up frustrations and desires. Whether it was inside the yurt, in the wooling car, in the haystack, or in the grass on the pasture, they left traces of their battles everywhere. Even the second night they arrived here, a heavy rainstorm broke out on the grassland. These two perverts actually ran outside the yurt and had a passionate rain battle in the dark grassland. On the last day before the holiday ended, Chow Weidong and Su Ruoyan lay together on the haystack next to the yurt, staring at the sky full of stars. Chow Weidong, do you know why I came to the grassland? Su Ruoyan asked. Do you like the smell of sheep? You stink worse than the sheep. Chow Weidong, I don't want to go back.
I want to stay on this grassland and herd horses and sheep every day.
Can you stay with me?
Su Ruoyun suddenly said to Chow Weidong in a very serious tone.
Chow Weidong was dumbfounded. You're not serious, are you? You just want to hang out for a couple of days, but you want to stay? And herd horses and sheep? You've read too many Jin Yong novels, haven't you? Isn't this the line of Aju and Xiaofeng?
Chow Weidong couldn't understand why this beautiful woman liked this place, which smelled of sheep.
You're right, I want to be that Aju, and I want you to be that Xiaofeng.
Together we'll herd horses and sheep here.
Don't worry, I'm rich, enough for us to live here for the rest of our lives. Su Ruoyun stood up directly on the haystack and said excitedly. What a nutcase. Chow Weidong ignored Su Ruoyun, thinking that the silly girl must be joking with him.
I'm not joking with you, this is the life I've always dreamed of, no backstabbing, no scheming, and number 996 fast pace of the city, here I can do whatever I want, no one can control me.
And
Su Ruoyun brought her face close to Chow Weidong's, their noses just a centimeter apart. With a smile on her face, she slowly said, Do you know why I chose you? Chow Weidong was a little scared of her like this, and shook his head.
I've discovered that I'm in love with you.
Su Ruoyun smiled sweetly. Chow Weidong's heart skipped a beat. Come on, we're adults, just having a bit of fun, let's not talk about that disgusting word, shall we?
Do you love me?
Su Ruoyun asked. She stared expectantly into Chow Weidong's eyes.
I love you. Chow Weidong replied. Chow Weidong, behave yourself. I am behaving myself. Answer me again, do you want to stay here with me and herd horses and sheep?
Sorry, Miss Xu, I don't know the 18 dragon poems, I only know the 18 touches.
Please don't make things difficult for me.
Su Ruoyun's face turned cold, and she jumped straight off the haystack and went back into the yurt without looking back.
It was a long night. Chow Weidong spent it alone in the van. Early the next morning, Su Ruoyun got up early.
Surprisingly, she put on a set of herding clothes and drove a flock of sheep away from the yurt.
Chow Weidong got up from the wooling car and watched Su Ruoyun's figure as she walked away. He cursed under his breath, is this woman for real?
Chow Weidong got up, got out of the car and chased after her.
Su Ruoyun, don't be crazy, okay? Su Ruoyun didn't say anything, but continued to herd her sheep.
They grew further and further apart.
Chow Weidong couldn't hold back any longer and yelled at her back, Su Ruoyun, are you done yet? What the hell do you want?
This was the first time Chow Weidong had lost his temper with Su Ruoyun since they had met. Su Ruoyun stopped in place. After a long time, she turned around and looked at the frustrated and exasperated Chow Weidong in the distance. At this moment, tears were welling up in her eyes.
Chow Weidong, I really wasn't joking with you.
Before I came with you, I cleared out everything in Yangcheng. I also handed in my resignation to Mr. Liang, I just asked him not to tell you yet. I really intend to live here, don't be surprised, I planned this months ago. I know it's selfish of me to ask you to stay with me, so what I said to you last night was all a joke. Only at this moment did Chow Weidong truly realize that the woman in front of him was serious. She was really going to be her Zhu girl in this prairie.
Chow Weidong, you can go now. I've had a really good time these past few days.
After saying this, Su Ruoyun stubbornly turned around and chased after her flock of sheep. Her steps were so determined at this moment. Chow Weidong hung his head, lit a cigarette, and stared at Su Ruoyun's back until she disappeared from view.
Crazy woman, impossible to reason with.
Chow Weidong shook his head and turned to leave. Before Chow Weidong returned to Yangcheng, he called Lin Wanqing.
Ruoyun told me about her plan to go to the grasslands.
I respect her choice, and I promised her that I would often take Lolo to visit her in the future.
Lin Wanqing explained to Chow Weidong over the phone. Find a strong grassland man, otherwise you'll be lonely.
After sending Su Ruoyun this message, Chow Weidong boarded the plane back to Yangcheng.
On the third day after the holiday, Chow Weidong returned to Tianying Company.
He saw that Su Ruoyun's desk had been cleared out. At that moment, Liang Xiaojun handed him Su Ruoyun's resignation letter with a face full of apologies. She told me not to tell you, Liang Xiaojun explained.
She told you not to tell, so you didn't tell? Are you having an affair with her? Chow Weidong yelled.
All the colleagues on the 26th floor heard him. Liang Xiaojun's heart sank, and he quickly dissuaded him from talking nonsense. No, don't say anything.
Boss Zhu Yangjun had just mediated a few days ago to improve the relationship between Liang Xiaojun and Li Huaizhou. If Li Huaizhou misunderstood again, wouldn't the boss's work be for nothing? Liang Xiaojun didn't want to take the blame when the time came. Chao Weidong returned Su Ruoyun's resignation report to Liang Xiaojun and sat down at his own workstation. Everyone tightened up the work in their hands. Liang Xiaojun greeted the other colleagues and then turned and went back to his office.
He knew that Chao Weidong was unhappy and didn't want to stay here and upset him.
Hu Jing didn't know any of this.
She waited until Liang Xiaojun entered his office and then slid her chair over to him.
Su Ruoyun has left?
Yes, she has.
Where has she gone? To act in a TV drama. TV drama? What TV drama?
The Demigods and Semi-Devils.
She's going to play Aizhu. You're lying. I've never heard that Su Ruoyun can act.
Have you heard that I can do the Shaolin's Dragon Claw grip? Chao Weidong said, and then he reached out to Hu Jing with his salted pig's claw.
Crack!
Hu Jing slapped his hand away.
Let's get down to business. How's my friend Chen Ji's English teaching going? Hu Jing asked. Shit. How could I forget about Mr. Chen? Chapter 29, I need to learn to say that my colleague is depressed is not a solution, and decadence is even less Chao Weidong's style.
A well-known writer, Franz Kafka, once said, "The best way to forget a relationship is to start a new one. The best way to forget a woman is to sleep with another woman."
Chao Weidong thought of Hu Jing's best friend, Chen Good, Xian's English teacher.
When he met with Mr. Chen, he also saw a sad-faced Xian.
Teacher Chen complained to Chao Weidong in secret, "Your cousin's English foundation is a bit weak. She can't say anything other than oh, yes.
She can also say, come on, baby, which I taught her."
Teacher Chen. Xian also complained to Chao Weidong in secret, "Why did you find a teacher with such big breasts to teach me? I've lost all confidence. You're learning English with her, not getting a massage with her, so why are you so self-conscious?" Xian. Teacher Chen, where are you up to?
Chao Weidong turned to Chen and asked. She had just been able to memorize the 26 letters of the alphabet, learned a few phonetic symbols, and a few greetings. Chen shook her head helplessly. Chao Weidong pulled Chen aside and whispered, "Actually, my cousin doesn't need to learn much. She just likes a handsome guy who has studied abroad, so she can learn a few common phrases and just pretend to know them." When Chen heard this, she looked at Chao with a reproachful expression. She said, "If that's the case, just teach her some everyday phrases. There's no need to start from scratch with the basics." With his big breasts, black-rimmed glasses, and reproachful expression, Chao was mesmerized. It made him think of some island romance movies.
Miss Chen, do you speak Japanese?" "No."
"Okay."
After reworking Xuan's study plan with Teacher Chen, Chao Weidong took the two beauties to a Western restaurant for dinner. Teacher Chen was clearly a petty bourgeoisie woman with exquisite curves who ate Western food a lot. She cut the steak with an elegant, skillful, and natural posture. Then he looked at Chao Weidong and Xian, and the movements of the two were very stiff. Chao Weidong mocked Xian as if she was sawing wood. Xian said Chao Weidong was cutting cowhide. The two of them arguing caused Chen to giggle. Her chest heaved as a result. Chao almost stood up to salute. Xian, however, was depressed. In fact, she was not young, but this Chen teacher was really too big, and ordinary people simply could not compare. It made her so angry. After eating and drinking their fill, Chao Weidong called a taxi for Chen and saw her off. He and Xian found a cafe with few people and sat down. "Brother, I don't want to learn English anymore, it's too hard." As soon as they sat down, Xian started pouring out her grievances to Chao Weidong.
Chao Weidong rolled his eyes, not wanting to hear her complaints, but instead took out his phone and found the youthful photo of Zhu Yangjun and his wife to show Xian.
"See? This is our boss's first love. Doesn't she look a bit like you?"
"Like? I'm much older than she is."
Xian puffed out her chest and said. She finally got her revenge.
She had been bullied by that Chen teacher for the past few days and had been afraid to speak up. "I was talking about her face, not her chest, you stupid woman."
"Oh." Xian refocused her gaze on the photo.
"You're right, they do look alike, except for the nose."
"So, I'm going to spend money on getting your nose done." "Huh? No way, that costs a lot of money."
"She did number 65 in our shop and it cost tens of thousands of dollars."
"And, will it hurt?" I didn't ask you to pay, why are you panicking? In that case, I'm going to have to trouble you again, Dong.
Xian wasn't unhappy to think that she didn't have to pay for it and could become more beautiful.
And, in the future, when you chat with people, you have to learn to say, my colleague, and not number so-and-so from our store, understand? Chow Weidong reminded him. Oh, I understand.
The two ended their conversation and returned to the recreation club together.
Chow Weidong wanted a good massage.
It would help him get rid of the fatigue of the past few days.
Thanks to Chow Weidong's relationship with Lin Wanqing, the joint project between Ba and Tianying soon got underway. Ba sent a representative to sign the contract with Liang Xiaojun.
As Chow Weidong was transferred to sales, Zhao Guowei went to work for Li Huizhou in the second division. The technical staff in the first division were stretched a little thin.
There were only 3 inexperienced after-sales staff left.
And they were all on business trips. Liang Xiaojun had no choice but to grit his teeth and call Chow Weidong, who was doing God knows what.
Ah Chow, the cooperation agreement with Ba has been signed, so shouldn't we move on to the next step?
I'll do whatever you say, Mr. Liang.
You arrange it. I have to go now. Do.
At the other end of the line, Chow Weidong was extremely perfunctory.
He hung up before Liang Xiaojun could say anything more. Listening to the
beep sound coming from the phone,
Liang Xiaojun felt very frustrated. Why did he get such a subordinate?
In the past, Chow Weidong was not like this.
Not to mention the hard work. He could also be verbally and physically abused at will. Now it's different.
If you say 2 words to him, he immediately turns against you.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Who can blame him? He has a close relationship with the female CEO of Ba. Sigh. Liang Xiaojun couldn't help but sigh with emotion.
At this time, he saw through the glass the young fresh meat outside the office, Niu Ma, who was working hard on the report. He walked out of the office and said, Niu Ma, come here for a second.
Ma Yaohui's heart tightened, shit. What's going on? How did Boss Liang find me directly? Has he found out that I'm pretending to do the report?
I'm done for, I should have downloaded more pages. Every day, only this page is displayed on the computer screen, no wonder I've been found out.
After Liang Xiaojun asked Ma Yaohui to sit down, he began to speak in a manner befitting a big leader. Ma, are you used to working with Manager Chow in sales recently?
I'm used to it. Manager Chow is very nice to me and has taught me a lot.
Well, young people should learn and practice more. Yes, Mr. Liang.
You know, our business unit has just been established and there are not many people. Your manager, Chow, is always running around for the company, so at this time, you need to help him share the workload. When Ma Yaohui heard these words from Liang Xiaojun, he understood immediately. This was a sign that he was about to be given work that did not belong to him.
Ma Yaohui was very anxious. He silently prayed, Brother Dong, help me. I have here a preliminary technical proposal for the Ba project. Take it home and study it, then refine it and bring it back to me.
Liang took out the technical proposal that Chow Weidong had presented at the meeting earlier and handed it to Ma Yaohui, wanting him to complete it. After all, what Chow Weidong had done previously was only a preliminary proposal, and it lacked many practical elements. This requires someone to follow the initial plan's thinking and come up with a technical plan that can actually be implemented.
Ma Yaohui took the information with trembling hands and then said, Mr. Liang, I'm currently in sales, this should be the job of the technical position. Young people need to learn more.
Although you have been transferred to sales, I have high hopes for your talent in technology and plan to cultivate you.
Ma Yaohui thought to himself, damn. This is the first time I've heard that you need talent to be a slave.
You should know that we still haven't found a candidate for the technical manager of the first division.
Liang Xiaojun secretly promised Ma Yaohui a pie in the sky.
Perhaps Liang Xiaojun himself didn't believe in this pie in the sky, and when he said this, his voice was much lower than usual.
How could the position of technical manager be given to Ma Yaohui, a fresh graduate? Liang Xiaojun just wanted Ma Yaohui to work. He knew that Ma Yaohui definitely would not. In the end, he would definitely go to Chow Weidong.
By then, under Chow Weidong's guidance, Ma Yaohui would definitely be able to get the plan right. There was also a good chance that Chow Weidong would do it himself.
Liang Xiaojun felt that his plan was pretty nice. He felt like he was back in business. Chapter 30, Calling for Help.
As soon as Ma Yaohui got the technical plan, he called Chow Weidong.
Dong, help me. What's wrong? Mr. Liang asked me to do the technical plan for Ba, but I don't know how. What technical proposal are you working on? Aren't you in sales? Where are the other technicians in the department?
Manager Liang said they're all on business trips.
Dong, I can't understand this proposal at all. What should I do? I know, just leave it on my desk. I'm busy right now, I'll talk to you when I get back. Do.
A busy tone came from the phone, and Ma Yaohui's heart leaped with joy. He placed all the proposal materials on Xiao Weidong's desk, then continued to open the sales report and study it carefully.
Ma Yaohui's every move was seen by Liang Xiaojun through the glass wall.
Liang Xiaojun was also overjoyed, and everything was proceeding as he had planned.
Liang Xiaojun smiled at the corner of his mouth, and silently thought to himself, Xiao Weidong, just do the technical work honestly for me, sales is not for you. Xiao Weidong was very busy.
He took Xianxian to the best plastic surgery hospital in Yangcheng for a small nose reduction operation. He also went to the community near the recreation club and rented a small house with 3 bedrooms and 1 living room.
Xianxian needed a month to fully recover after the operation.
A month was not a suitable period for her to live in the dormitory of the recreation club.
Xiao Weidong then thought of renting a house.
1 room would be for her to rest and recuperate.
The living room could provide a place for Chen to teach English. Of course, Xiao Weidong would also move into the other room. He didn't want to continue renting in the urban village either.
The most important thing was that he could see Teacher Chen here often in the future. Today, Teacher Chen was wearing a white turtleneck without sleeves, paired with black wide-leg pants, and a pair of black-framed glasses on her face. She crossed her arms and supervised the way Xianxian was memorizing vocabulary, almost stealing Xiao Weidong's soul. Xianxian had been holding her breath. This woman is all grown up, but why is she still wearing such a tight top?
She must be doing it on purpose.
And Xiao Weidong's gaze, Xianxian knows it all too well. Those men at the recreation club who want to extend their sessions have the exact same gaze.
Shallow men. During the entire hour-long lesson, Xiao Weidong's mind was filled with one question: can one hand really control everything?
The hour passed quickly, and Xiao Weidong reluctantly saw Chen off.
Xianxian went back to bed.
Don't sleep so much, or you'll get fat and our plans will be ruined, Xiao reminded his son.
At that moment, his phone rang.
It was a salesperson from a second-hand car dealership.
Xiao picked up the phone. Hello?
Brother, you finally answered the phone, came the excited voice of a young man.
Cut the crap and get to the point. Xiao Weidong doesn't like to chat with men.
Brother, the cheap Ferrari you wanted has just arrived at our shop.
Do you want to come and have a look?
The young man is straightforward.
Great. Xiao Weidong takes a taxi and heads straight for the used car dealership.
The young man is waiting at the entrance to the car dealership. Xiao Weidong gets out of the car and the young man greets him with a charming smile.
Brother, you're smoking.
The young man hands Xiao Weidong a Yushi cigarette between both hands. Xiao Weidong took it between his hands, put it to his mouth, and the young man skillfully lit it for him.
How is the condition of the car?
Xiao Weidong asked after taking a deep drag.
There have been some minor problems. It's fine, just tell me the truth.
The car has been in a flood, the whole body has been repainted, the headlights and taillights have been repaired, the front windshield is not original, and there have been 17 minor accidents.
Xiao Weidong nodded and then asked, what about major accidents?
Brother, as you requested, our shop has carefully checked, and there have been no major accidents with this car, let alone the kind of accident you are worried about. After the young man finished speaking, he looked at Xiao Weidong with a strange expression. He thought to himself, this customer is really picky. In order to drive down the price, he is even willing to accept a car that has been in a flood.
If we don't have the money, just buy a Wuling. What's the point of pretending to be rich and buying this used Ferrari?
In fact, the young man didn't know that this was just the kind of person Xiao Weidong was. He just likes to drive used cars. His surname is Qiao, and he has the spirit of Wei Wu in his bones.
Let's look at the car,
Xiao Weidong said to the young man. The used car dealership was not very big. The young man led Xiao Weidong past a row of Wuling Zhiguang and a row of Chan'an Xingcha vans, and they came to a silver-gray sports car.
This?
Xiao Weidong was extremely disappointed when he saw his future car. It was even more broken than the Wuling Zhiguang behind him.
The paint on your car isn't original, is it? Xiao Weidong asked the young man, feeling the bodywork.
Brother, didn't we just talk about this? The whole car has been repainted.
I know that, But I mean, the paint you've used isn't Ferrari's original paint, is it? It's not. That's expensive.
We just sprayed some of the paint from the cars behind it.
Wooling?
The young man smiled and shook his head.
Shot on?
The young man nodded.
Chow Wei-dong's face turned a little green.
Brother, as you know, our car dealership mainly deals in used vans. We can't do many luxury cars like yours in a year, and it's just too expensive to use original paint, so we've settled for the next best thing.
The young man smiles apologetically and explains. So you can spray van paint on a Ferrari? You haven't replaced the engine inside with a Wooling engine, have you? Chow Wei-dong asks worriedly.
No, the engine is still original, but it has been flooded and overhauled, and the sound is a little louder. If you don't believe me, just look.
The young man opened the bonnet and let Chow Wei-dong have a look. Chow Wei-dong couldn't make head or tail of it, so he waved the young man to close the bonnet again. Start it up for me to have a look.
He didn't want to dwell on the paint job, but to check the other functions of the car first. The young man opened the door.
It creaked. Chow Wei-dong held back.
The young man started the car.
Bobby ABA, a sound like a tractor started up.
Then a thick black smoke spewed from the exhaust pipe at the back of the Ferrari.
Chow Wei-dong couldn't hold back any longer. Brother, are you sure the engine hasn't been replaced? No, it hasn't. It's just a little louder. You call that a little bit? And what's with the black smoke? Did you guys use some cheap oil?
Brother, you're kidding, it's not some cheap oil.
The engine just had a major overhaul, some parts were replaced, it just needs a few days of running in.
Chow Wei-dong was speechless and shook his head. Seeing the customer's disappointment, the young guy quickly began to analyze the car's strengths and weaknesses.
Brother, the car is indeed lacking in performance in every way. You're not just lacking a little bit, you have absolutely no performance at all. But it's cheap, isn't it?
Just think, we only sell this car for 80,000 yuan in our shop.
What more could you want from a 80,000 yuan Ferrari? 80,000 yuan? Are you robbing people? For 80,000 yuan I could buy 2 new Wooling cars.
Only a fool would buy this broken down tractor.
Chow Wei-dong jumped up at the outrageous price.
The young man was speechless.
He thought to himself, you wanted to buy a Ferrari to show off, but you don't have the money, so you want to buy a cheap one, so this is what you get. If you don't have the money, don't try to act like you do. Seeing that the young man's attitude was a bit cold, Chow Wei-dong thought for a moment and said, 70,000?
Done. The young man immediately agreed.
Chow Wei-dong regretted it. Damn, I asked for too much.